Welcome everyone to my teaching learning session. We begin again with Unit 6 of BPCC 132 with me Sonal Singh Pawar of Introduction to Social Psychology. We continue with Unit 6 today talking about pro-social behavior. Speaking of pro-social behavior, it's one of those behaviors that we find around ourselves which allows us to help the other individuals. Pro-social behavior is very atypical where it talks about not a simple helping behavior. These are behavior and psychological, social psychology, where we intend to help others who are in needs. So, in the rights of feelings, in the right of attitude, in the right of our actions for the welfare of people. So, this is something where we look forward to helping others, look forward to do things for others, and behaviors that usually include some attributes in pro-social is being empathetic to other people. Remember, empathy is something which is greatly reflected, very greatly reflected in pro-social behavior, and it is not very similar to sympathy. Sympathy is where we show pity and concern to the other people from the outer end. Empathy, on the other, is a huge characteristic which is a part of pro-social behavior that talks about feeling the other person's pain like your own. So, like being in their shoe in a simple English phrase, that is what is pro social behavior. Also, pro social behavior includes a wide range of actions such as helping, sharing, comforting, and cooperating. And altruism is also very similar to pro social behavior. But remember, altruism talks about helping other people without looking forward to your own benefit. So it's about not looking for your own benefit and helping other people. So it's a simple helping behavior that we talk about, which is altruism. Also, there are some other kind of pro-social behavior also that we discuss. So we're probably discussing those behaviors today too. So pro-social behavior does not come in one form; it comes in multiple forms. So speaking of that, remember pro-social behaviors. These are pro-social actions that serve self-benefiting purposes. So proactive is a kind of pro-social behavior where you will helping other people who are in need, but also look forward to your own benefit. So this behavior does not only speak about you know just does not speak about helping other people, but proactively you are also expecting that my service or my deed or my attitude or my comfort that I'm providing to the other person will directly indirectly support you also. So it does have that self benefiting thought to itself. Then we talk about reactive pro-social behavior. Speaking of reactive pro-social behavior, reactive means that we immediately help people who are visibly in need. So, someone falling down in front of you, you probably will immediately go to them and help them. Also, at the same time, as someone asking for some request, which is like, they are asking for compliance, you probably go and comply to them. Any actions that are performed in response to individuals' need. So these are those actions that we usually perform to support other people, to provide to the ones who need it. And it's a reaction. You see someone is in need, you help them. You find someone is looking for help, you support them. So it's always a stimuli responding, which is stimulus response category that we talk about. Then we come to the last one, which is obviously that we've been discussing. There is also a kind which is called as altruistic pro-social behavior. This is a kind of pro-social behavior. We are helping others, but never thinking of our personal gain. So you might provide a service, you do an activity without any expectation that there's going to be any personal gain, anything which is going to be benefiting you, anything which is going to be providing you. So that's something that we talk about in terms of pro-social personal gain. Then, speaking of this, then we talk about some theories that we had lastly in the last category spoke about, which was the effect of similarity and dissimilarity of attraction. Remember, attraction was one of the most important thing that we did in our last session. Interpersonal attraction is guided by two things. Remember, one is the balance theory, which was by Newcomb 1961 and Heider 1958. They found out that if we are similar to each other, remember, there's a higher state of emotionally pleasantness that comes into play. Whereas when two people like one another and find themselves similar, there are more pleasant feelings that will come. Similarly, if there are two people who are so if for example we have people who do not find themselves similar, do not find themselves, feeling alike about values, about ideas, remember they might start developing a very unpleasant feeling about them. So that's something that we talk about the balance theory, that higher the similarity, higher would be the attraction, and lesser the similarity, lesser will be the attraction. Then we'll also talk about the explanation why similarity is taken as important. Fistinger explained us that why similarity is such an important thing. It is said that when we compare our attitudes and belief with other people, we tend to judge them with the fact of, a little bit of accuracy of beliefs and attitude. We tend to, find that more the person is similar to you, the more accurate their belief system is. Why? Because it's similar to you. Then the last theory was adaptive responses to potential dangers. That is another way that, interpersonal attraction is found out in 1966, according to Gall. He stated that according to this theory, we strongly inherit a tendency to fear and hate anyone who's different from us, which is very true. Survival of the fittest. It is whenever we find that people are not like us, not something the way that we are, not similar, not looking forward to things that we want, we tend to start fearing danger. And there's jealousy, there is hatred. So that's a very human nature that comes into play. So these were some theories when we discussed, which talks about interpersonal attraction. Now, let's talk about what motivates us to behave pro-socially. So does this feeling comes automatically in all of us? I'm sure in our day-to-day behavior, we might find people who help other people recurrently, time and again, and there are some people who do not help at all. So there are some people who are not supporting. There are some people who do not look forward to it. Also, there are some people who would see people needing help but might not help. And at the same time, there would be some people who would probably be very helping to other people, looking forward to them, and trying to be there for them all the time. So what are the reasons for it? Why do we find these two different kind of people? Someone who's always helping other people, and there's someone who really do not look forward to other people. That is empathy altruism hypothesis. So empathy altruism hypothesis states that feeling of empathy for other person produce an altruistic motivation to increase that a person's welfare. So one thing is empathy plays a very strong role to make you feel altruistic about people. So your tendency to feel like other people, your tendency to be like other people, your tendency to understand other people's gains and benefits and losses like other people make you feel more compassionate about them, make you feel more tender, more caring about them. So altruism is a motivational state in which the goal is to increase another person's welfare as as an end in itself. So altruistic acts, what are ordinarily called good deeds. So idly helping other people without any self benefit is considered to be one of the most important things around. Remember, altruistic behavior is very cherished in our society. Altruistic behavior leads to a lot of charity in our country. So altruistic behavior, one of the biggest reason behind being motivated is empathy. Empathy itself is an attribute that makes you feel like other people, make you feel compassionate towards them, make you feel their pain. So that completes with empathy altruism hypothesis. Then we talk about the NSR, the negative state relief model. It's a theory that attempts to describe how one situational factor, like let's take an example, sadness, feelings, sorrow, related to the willingness to help others. So specifically, this theory predicts that at least under certain circumstances, a temporary feeling of sadness is likely to result in increased willingness to help other people, which is very true. When you are feeling sad, when you're feeling uncomfortable, when you're feeling very low about something, remember the chances of supporting other people increases. Your willingness to support other people greatly, greatly increases. So, for example, a person who's sad because a close friend just cancelled a planned visit and would be more likely to help a stranger push his car or car out of a snowbank. Why would a sad person lead to an increased willingness to help? Ever think that? Why do you feel when we are not feeling good, we tend to support other people? When we're feeling very low about things, we tend to support other people. Why does that happen? And is it related to the fact that we are feeling sad so we can understand other people's sorrow? Yes. Negative state relief makes, the term itself says that when we are feeling negative about something and we're feeling very sad, very low about something, looking at people going through a tough time makes us feel that we should go and support them. So this is, that negative state, that sadness, that disappointment, that lowness makes us push towards other people. So that is something which is the two things, strong things which can motivate your behavior towards pro-social. Empathetic joy hypothesis is about when a person observes emergency situation leads him to desire to act and do something to have a positive effect on the victim. So person provides help, to call the ambulance or probably support them, give them food. So this has a successful outcome. You feel empathetic, you start care, thinking about the other person passionately, etc. So this is something which we talk about, strong 2 points that talks about why do we have altruistic behavior or pro-social behavior. Another reason is competitive altruism. There are times that we end up being pro-social, there are times that we show pro-social behavior, and which is called the competitive altruism, is a hypothesis that attempts to explain that when we have cooperative behaviors like helping and sharing in organism that don't directly benefit the organism in performing the behavior, so which is very true. At times when we see people competing other people to help, when there is too much of charity happening around the world, we push ourselves to, don't we feel the world is providing, why am not I providing? That sense of competition makes you do a pro-social behavior and probably put yourself out in the world to support other people. Also, there's another way that we can introduce that why do we act pro-socially is kin selection theory. This kin selection theory was one of the most very old theory. It's been a foundation of the study of social behavior, and it was introduced by a British evolutionist, and he was a biologist also, Hamilton. Hamilton was the first person in 1963 who proposed that, noted that it plays an important role, evolution of altruism. He spoke about how altruism came into play in the society. He talked about what was cooperation, how cooperation in a social behavior could be a support, how sociality in a social behavior could be, seen and viewed. However, the term kin relation was coined in 1964 by another evolutionist biologist, which is Maynard Smith, suggesting that people or relatives more closer to our genes were helped. So, which is true. A family tends to help the family more. So that's a kinship relationship that we always, and that's true. Haven't doesn't this happen in Indian families, in every family in India, across the globe, across the country, that whenever we are suffering, we will look forward towards our parents. So that's like the family, and or probably our relatives, our siblings, people who are close to us, people who support us, people who are looking forward to us. So I feel kin selection theory is also very appropriate in our Indian countries. Whenever we are going through something wrong, something which is what do you call this? Something which is not well with our family, we usually tend to first approach our family. So that's skin selection. We tend to look forward to who will support us more. We always look forward to our parents. We always look forward to our brothers and sisters. We look forward to people in our family. So that's a kin selection theory, which also guides and also produces pro-social behavior. Now, there are some limitation and strength of kin selection theory, which we feel that pro-social behavior comes into play very correctly because of kin selection. So one reason that we tend to support other people is also because of the fact that it also happens because of the fact that it's the family. We tend to feel more secure. We tend to feel more reliable towards our family. in comparison to any stranger. So strength of kin selection theory is it has empirical evidence, so scientific evidence that reveals there are examples of animals and humans where we found that helping behavior usually shared within the clan. And similarly, another strength that we talk about is mathematical stimulation, supporting, which is Hamilton's equation, that it actually empirically stated that how we are always looking forward to support our family, irrespective of the lack of safety, lack of security, lack of dependency on a stranger. So this was empirically and also quoted by his equation. So these are our strength, which is very scientific. Now, what are the losses of this theory? Does not explain why people would usually help people who are related to themselves. So they did not say the why. The why is something that I am telling you. We feel secure, we feel that we know them, we know their family history, etc., etc. Let's take a simple example in today's time. Whenever there is people who are going through some struggle in their family, etc., and they have economic dependency, and they have problems in their economical, development in the family. They would need help. Before asking to a stranger, who's the first person? I'm sure it's the parents. The first thing that you do is ask your parents for any financial help. If not parents, you will ask your brothers, sisters, your relatives. So this is something which is scientifically proven, but we don't know why. So we don't know the reasons. The limitation is that we don't know the reason why do we choose a family. Why do we, for any kind of pro-social behavior, why do we choose our family? What's the need of it? Also, blood alone does not create kinship, lies communities also kinship. So it's a very wider range which we have not been able to, address. Also, it does not address why cooperation continues when, it offers little advantage. Also, another, problem here is we tend to cooperate with people when we know that this could go wrong. Like when we are too sweet to other people, haven't we seen that they take advantage of you? So we are still being sweet, still being cooperative, despite knowing that it's not the best policy. So this is something that we feel is also not explainable by the theory. So these are some losses of the kin selection. Otherwise, what do we feel that pro-social behavior is, motivated by or we lead to? First is empathy, which is very strongly related. The other that we took was negative state relief, which is just to burst your negative feeling, just to move out of it. You are willing to help, willingly wishing to help others. Then we had competitive altruism, and then we had kin selection theory that we just discussed in length. Now, there's a very famous concept of bystander effect. This was given by Bibb Lawton and John Darley. The concept of pro-social behavior and bystander effect usually came almost around the same time. And this was bystander effect is based on real life environment situations. So it's not something that is you know it's not something that is hypothetical. This was a very strong environmental conditions that happened, and it was seen by the environment, and then it was assessed. So let's talk about it. There was a girl called Kenny Guinea Roos. It was around 1964 in New York. It's based on a real life condition. And we need to know women were working at that point of time also in the outside world. And obviously, there was a high sense of urbanization in the outside country. And this is a very popularized bystander effect, which was famous by a very infamous murder of Kitty Guinea Roos. And this is a story of 28-year-old woman who was stabbed to death outside her own apartment. At the time, there were multiple people reported who saw this from the balconies but did not report to the police or ask for any sort of community help. So this was something which was very strongly objected by the environment. It was a very difficult scenario, and I'll tell you everything. I'll just tell you the entire case study. It was found Kitty Guinea Roos had a proper time of coming back from her workplace around 6 to 7 in the evening. It was a normal, routine, monotonous ways of her coming to back to her house, and she was living in a, like today what we call as gated apartments. She was staying around that kind of a place only, and which was high, a little, I will not say very high rise building, but yes, high rise areas. and she was coming across for past 15 to 20 minutes, where it was found that some 2 to 3 men, and later turned out to be four, were following her for a very long time, from a very long distance from her workplace. And she used to walk till her apartment because it was closer. And she used to walk through that, I will not say a specific kilometer, but then she used to walk. It was close enough that she could walk every day from her work to her apartment, apartment to her work. So while walking back, initially she was teased by 2 men. Then they were trying to take away her money, the purse. Later, she, because of that, teasing, she started running very strongly. She started literally running, and they started teasing her more. There was a lot of eve teasing that happened, and by the time they reached near her apartment, it glorified. They took her money, they stabbed her to death, they misbehaved with her and left her there. Now, by the time that she was shouting for help, there were multiple people who came out of their apartment, saw her, saw her going through this teasing, saw her going through this tiff between the men, a little bit of fight here and there, but none of them reported anything. No one reported anything to any sort of guard, any sort of support security. No one called the police. None call any support to 911. It is one of the most amusing, scene that happened in New York at that point of time in 1964. You can even Google it. You will get more specific details about it. So bystander effect was, or a bystander apathy, we call them both, is a social psychological phenomena theory that states an individual's likelihoods of helping decreases when there are more passive bystander in a presence of an emergency which is taking place. So always remember that more the number of people that you will be around, lesser and like more passive number of people. So when I say passive, the ones who are not behaving, the ones who are not, someone's who are not willing to communicate anything, not talking, not doing it. When you find these people just standing and not helping, remember that all transfers. They are not helping, you feel the others will help. The other not helping, the other feels the other will help, and the other feels that you might help. So this passiveness just transfers from one person to another, and this is highly likely seen in an emergency situation. We do not move a bit, we do not move our feet because we feel it's emergency. Someone else will help. And when there are people who are passive, high chances no one will help. So that's why it's called the bystander effect, because there's a sense of passiveness which is there in the bystanders. And Lalton and Dale attributed this bystander effect to two factors. One was, now, attribute means what are the reasons that bystander effect is happening. First, diffusion of responsibility, which I just explained. The other is social influence. Diffusion of responsibility is one feels that the other will help, the other feel that the other will help. So this is what we are diffusing our responsibility from one person to the other and the other person to another. So speaking of this, remember that's how, when we speak about bystander, we tend to feel that the others will help, we feel that the others will help, and this leads to diffusion of responsibility. Next is social influence, a very simple thing. In the presence of people, we get influenced by the way they are behaving. So if they're passive, you just feel, okay, they are passive, probably this is not an emergency, or probably they know the girl, probably they know that this kind of behavior is very common. So other people's behavior influence you socially. So that's something that is called as bystander effect or bystander apathy. Please look at the screen, and being able to understand the concept, there's an image to support. So as it mentioned, look at the image, is so beautiful. 4 people not looking, hearing that the person is asking for help, he's distressed. They tend to, offer the person less onlookers, less help. So remember, more would be the onlooker, less likely we are able to help. Now, I'll give you another example to tell you that how that's not bystander. Now let's take an example. We have somebody who is asking for help, and there are just 2 people standing there, and there's another person who's asking for help, and there are 10 people standing here. Remember, possibility of help given is going to be highly likely in two people in comparison to 10. 10 will have diffusion of responsibility, social influence. The two people cannot merely have, so something which is called diffusion of responsibility. That's not possible at all. Why? Because you will say to the other person to help, the other will say to you to help. So there are highly likely chances that you are standing in front of each other and you question and you tend to help. So your social influence is less, any kind of audience is less, there is less diffusion. Now, another thing, why people, there are some times that apart diffusion, responsibility, and social influence, people know that's an emergency, but they fail to express it, they fail to communicate it. You know what's the reason? I'll give you an example for this. You guys can also observe it in your own behavior. Haven't you seen there are times that people have witnessing a road accident, a huge bloodshed happened in the road accident in front, and there's a lot of bloodshed that is there, and there's a lot of emergency that you see. The reason first is that people tend to freeze. They go to shock. They just feel what to do next. They know they have to call the ambulance. They just feel freezed because too much of bloodshed. There is so much of occupancy on the road that they feel confused about it. So this is usually a response to fear. The fear that you are you're too weak to help, that you might be there's a misunderstanding the context and seeing a threat where there is none, or even there are times that there is no threat. There are no threat and you get hyper vigilant about it. And there are times that there is a lot of threat and you're not able to identify it as threat. So apart diffusion, responsibility, and social influence, there are other ways where people panic, people freeze, they get into shock completely psychologically and they're not able to help. Also, there are times people don't understand that this is a context which requires help. It's emergency. So they feel that their life will be in danger. Let's not help. So that's like some another reason that why bystander apathy and effect takes place. Now, stage helping model. This is another five stage helping model that tells us that whenever we see a situation and whenever we see an environment that requires help, what and how it should be addressed so that you don't panic, so that you don't lose your see, because we know pro-social behavior, being vigilant alert in a society that we stay in is extremely important. Having a sense of presence, having a good sense of presence is equally important. So that talks about noticing an event, interpreting as someone in need of help, also taking responsibility, knowing how to help, and implementing it. So let's go through the image and understand that. Let's take an example where that we see a fire at someone's house. So first we have to notice and see what's happening properly. We today in today's time, one of the worst thing that we feel whenever there is emergency, there is so much of distraction. We are watching at our phones. We do not check the situation properly. We are not looking at the situation. Even if the fire is small, you know what we feel? No, 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 this is not important. We get back to our phones. Remember, we need to attend to that environment, because I feel if there's a fire and we tend to ignore it. Remember, in the second blink after 10 minutes after distraction of your phone, when you see that fire, it's an overblown big fire and is destroying the house. So we need to stop this distraction, which is stop fooling around. The kids here, we are here to, like for example, there's an emergency, a child has not been eating food. We need to remove all the distraction around the child, the toys, the television, the iPad, the things that you have it in hand. You need to remove them. Similarly, the same. Let's take the same example. We see a little fire, and we get distracted on the phone. You don't take a notice. Remember, you are finished on stage one. You will not go ahead. You haven't noticed anything. Now, if you notice it, you keep your phone aside. You particularly see what's happening. Is it a case of emergency? Do I need to focus it on? Similarly, happen on road accidents multiple times. Let's take an example. You are that kind of person that you help other people and you're always there for them. But you saw the fire and you're busy driving. Why would you? You're running late. your time to wait, reaching your workplace, you are neck to neck going as minute and minute, and you don't want to be late, you will not help. So that's another distraction, that's another not noticing the environment. But let's take an example that you're sitting in front of the same house, you saw the fire getting exaggerated and glorified, you take a notice of it and you understand this is not safe. This is an emergency. I probably is it's something that is very important. It's concernable. Then interpret as someone in need of help. So next is after interpret the event as emergency. The second is that you need to remove all the ambiguity. You need to remove all the confusion that this is fire, this is going to spoil the house. The fire might have happened because of something else before the house just gets blown away. Because there are so many other commodities which are in the house, the switches, the gas pipe, and everything else. So before anything happens, after you noticed it well, please, you need to interpret it as emergency. You need to understand that this is an emergency situation. For that, you need to probably, when I speak about that, you need to be, noticing it as not being ambiguous. You should not be very skeptical about it. Understand the relation that, how this has happened, and, then, then you'll be able to understand what could be the resolution. Do I need more help? It is emergency. Will I be able to help the house alone? If not, you will call for more people. So when you've interpreted the emergency, third step is to take responsibility. So see, bystander effect is a key. Diffusion of responsibility does happen, but many theories account that help at this step is very important, which is social learning, social biology. Making children understand that helping other people is important. So taking responsibility in providing help, knowing that you need to tell more people. So see, bystander is the key. Let's take an example. There are similar kind of people like you sitting and scrolling down their telephone or reading the newspaper and not listening to what you say. So bystander effect tends to take place when everyone is watching the phone. Fire is there, no one's reacting. This can lead to bystander diffusion responsibility. But once you understand that it's emergency, it's important to take responsibility. Diffusion responsibility will reduce when you know that you yourself have to take responsibility and call 911 and tell other people that you need to support, or call the ambulance that you need support, and tell the others that it's an emergency situation. So social learning, knowing what is the next step, understanding that you alone cannot do, is taking responsibility. Next step is deciding how to help. You understood that probably this is something, there are times what can go wrong here. At this time, you might feel that I'm lacking competence. I should not be calling the ambulance. I should not be calling the police. This is not my thing. I am not trained. I have a family and myself get into trouble. I should not be doing this. So this is the time, if you get again confused, you might trickle down again. You go back to understanding, being distracted on the phone. So if, for example, you're able to understand that it's not lacking competence, it is something which is very normal. It is something which is, going to speak about, what do you call this? Knowing that this is something that I need to do. You feel that I'm competent enough to help. I've taken up responsibility. This is how you decide to help. You make a call to ambulance. You tell 4 more people to throw water in the house. You tell them to let the other people who are stuck in the house to come out and push them out of the house. So that is how you decide how to help. The last is the providing help that I just told. If you feel that the audience is inhibited. So now, how can things go wrong at this stage? If you feel that the people that you're willing to help are not really willing to take help. So if you like asking them how it happened, they're just standing froze. Remember, it could be a possibility that you might feel setback and you move away from that. So, even at step 5, there could be possibility that we might not help people. We just move away from the situation. So we just move out. It's like a cost exceeds rewards. And this is something which is very simple, very normal. So I just feel that at times, we address the emergency, we interpret it as emergency, we take responsibility that we need to support this person, and we've decided this is the way. But when you feel the person that you want to help is not willing to take help, that's like, cost exceeds rewards. What if I do something wrong? and etc. etc. So this is like something where they feel okay if they blame me for the fire, you might not help. So this is the pathway of providing help, which can reduce the bystander effect if we address every situation like this by identifying, noticing it, removing distraction, interpreting it, and making sure that we interpret it correctly. Know that we stop blaming other people. There is something which is pluralistic ignorance. Stop doing that. You've identified the problem, interpret it well, take responsibility, what needs to be done. Diffusion should not happen here because of presence of other people. Once you've taken responsibility, decide what is to be done effectively, and the last is to provide help. This is how the stage helping model stays, that if it's fire, accident, people losing their life, stuck somewhere, you need to help them in this process so that bystander apathy or confusions, any kind of skepticism, any kind of fear does not freeze you and not make you move towards pro-social behavior. So this was stage model, a very important model which I feel we need to be, teaching our children, which I feel is very important in today's time. Social learning is such an important thing that will always help children to learn what is pro-social behavior. Now, moving ahead, the pro-social behavior depends also on many factors. So, when we speak about pro-social behavior, when we speak about what depends on it, what can make you change that thought about helping other people. See, first is pro-social behavior at times in people. Like the short thing is an inborn tendency. Some people are helpful from like day one. They have this tendency of helping other people. They have this tendency of supporting other people. They have this tendency of having it in them. They have it in them. They would want anytime, any go and support other people. Then pro-social behavior is also influenced by role modeling, influenced by positive reinforcement in the family. So if a child is helped somebody else in the in the school, or probably helped in the college, or anywhere the child is helped, and he or she is rewarded for this, and is told that this is something that you've done really well in the environment, and we appreciate you, caring is important, supporting other people is important. Remember, when such thing happens, this is learned by children. So once you positively reward them, they learn that this is important. They learn that helping other people is one of the most important factors that we have. So one of the reason that pro-social behavior can be appreciated, can be increased also at times, is that we positively reward them. We positively reward children for supporting other people. Then is cultural influence. At times we need to know lot of psychological factors are a result of the cultural influence. Factor influencing pro-social behavior is a culture that supports pro-social behavior, a culture who's looking forward to provide a lot of charity, a culture that is you know always looking forward, always teaching children, embedding a norm in their community to help other people, encouraging to help the distress. So anyone who stayed in any teaching of, in a cultural scenario, that helping is important, remember cultural sufferings reduces like this. So the reason that the culture initiates any kind of pro-social behavior is not because of it's not because of the fact that the culture is doing it just to role model children. No, they're also doing it so that the more that you help in your community, the more that you start helping, showing and expressing behaviors of supporting, helping the needy, the lesser is going to be the suffering in the society. So if a society helps one another a lot, remember, don't you feel the society is suffering? The imbalance in the society will reduce. So that's like a very good way of encouraging a community and allowing a community to grow. Another thing that we need to know, pro-social behavior is actually expressed when situation activates a social norm which requires to help others. So there are three norms which usually are, in the context of pro-social behavior are present, which is norm of social responsibility, which is we should anytime help anyone who needs help without considering any other factor. So this is something which is completely pro-social, which is a normal response. It is your responsibility to help people in need. So this could be a kind of learning that a cultural area and environment gives every time. The next is a norm of reciprocity, which is very common in society. You know, this person has helped you. It's your responsibility. It's your duty to help them. So it's a reciprocity. You should help people who have helped you in past. You should be available to people who have been available to you in the past. This is a very normal, I feel influence. Also a norm of reciprocity, which is followed in a society in a greater level. Also, norm of equity, we should help others whenever we find it is fair to do this. This is simple equity. Whenever we feel it is fair enough, just enough to help others, we should help them. So this is something that we should always keep in mind. These are three norms: norm of responsibility, norm of reciprocity, and the last is norm of equity. Norm of equity says justice. It says it's important to help people who are in need. It's unfair not to help others when you are at an economic advantage to them. Pro-social behavior is also more likely to be shown individuals who have a high level of empathy. That is the capacity to feel distress of the person who is to be helped. Like Mother Teresa is always been a greatest example that high. She's had the highest level of empathy towards anybody. So high level of empathy leads to high level of supporting other people. We've already dealt with this. Empathy does lead to more pro-social behavior. And the last factor that can depend our pro-social activity is feeling state of mind. We've already feel the people who are busy, are moody, bad mood. They are so busy with their own problems. They are never going to help other people. But the people who feel responsible, happy, contributing will help the other person. So this is something that we know about when we talk about pro-social behavior factors depending. So you need to know first is cultural influences, what the society and community is teaching you. Then we feel that even it's an inborn tendency, then there are learning, reward, and punishment that could be given. Then we talked about social three norms: norm of equity, norm of responsibility, and norm of reciprocity. And then we talk about pro-social behavior, where we talk about that it depends on the level of empathy a person has. And the last is the state of mind and mood. So remember, factors influencing pro-social behavior and just which is given on the picture: situational factors, social and personal. Personal is mood, situational is personal is mood and being an inborn tendency, and social is being rewarded, influenced, role modeling, etc. And norms, as we decided and studied right now. So these were some factors that we spoke about as pro-social behavior. Now we come to Unit 7 today. Unit 7 is a completely different, you will see it's on the different tangent that we talk about. We spoke about pro-social behavior. We are going to now speak about aggression, a completely different emotion which is catered in social psychology. Aggression, I feel, is a word which is very easy to use to characterize other people's behavior, perhaps even ourselves. There are people who tell themselves and introduce themselves, I'm very aggressively working towards this. So that's very highly used to address yourself and address other people's activity. So we say that people are aggressive if they yell, hit, misbehave, if they cut off something in the car, they smash some, their wrist off somebody, they throw things. But there are other harmful activities also, which is, a reflection of aggressive behavior, which is injuries to sports people while they play, war, riots, killing of the enemy. This is all again together considered as aggression. Aggression is what is defined Barron and Richardson in 1994, which is not very far, very new as a definition which is given, is a behavior that is intent to harm other individuals who do not wish to be harmed. So this is such a simple thing. It's harming people who are actually not involved in any scenario, anything. So that's considered as something that we talk about as aggression. There are some aggressive theories that tells us that why aggression comes to place, what leads to aggression, etc. So let's start with the first theory that we have in hand. The first theory is instinct theory of aggression. This is supported by Sigmund Freud, and in 1927, Sigmund Freud advanced this theory. He's the great psychoanalysis of the yesteryears, and Freud has always stated that our behavior is directly, indirectly influenced from a concept, instinct called eros, the life instinct. Life instincts are instincts which are responsible for survival. This comprises of basic needs, which is hunger, thirst, and sex, and it talks about satisfying these needs immediately. So this is life instinct. According to Sigmund Freud, we are biological beings which require to satisfy their immediate biological need immediately. So eros is life instinct, which is basic to us, and it helps in reproduction because it talks about hunger, thirst, and sex, basic biological sexual drives. So they say that aggression at times is completely influenced by your instincts, which is the life instincts, according to the biological sexual drive which we have in us. The second, in this background, also simply as a reaction to the libidinal impulse, which is thus it is neither an automatic nor blocking, neither an inevitable part of life. Freud said that death instincts restrains you. Death instincts talks about murder, talks about death, self-destruction, suicide, etc. Unrestrained activity which harms yourself. He indicated that the other mechanism, like displacement, the energy of Thanatos, aggression is directed outward, so it's eros. It's on the basis of what are you destructing? Like it's on the aggression which is shown to the others. Whereas when we talk about the death instincts, that's usually towards ourselves. So he tries to counteract and tell you that what's different and what's not. He tries to tell you that how when we speak about life instincts is responsible of aggressive activities because it is directed to other people. And when we talk about death instinct, these are those impulses which is usually directed to ourselves, which is ourselves within, and they serve as a basis of aggression onto ourselves. So which is thanatos. Eros is aggression towards others, destructing the others, not the self. So he tries to tell you there are two instincts in humans according to Sigmund Freud, eros and thanatos. Eros is aggression towards others, and thanatos is usually towards self. So that completes with something we talk about in introduction of aggression and the first theory. Then we have one of the most famous theory that we have, frustration aggression hypothesis. So Willard and Donard in their stimulating hypothesis yet said they had a book called Frustration and Aggression that they defined frustration is a condition where there is a goal which is not met. So you are suffering from a goal block. So ideally frustration is that blocking of needs. That's what leads to frustration ultimately. So frustrating events are those which are blocking your goals, not leading to goal directed behavior, threatening your self-esteem, depriving you to gratify your needs, something which is a goal right here, right now, immediate goal. So when a person is upset, is stressing out because they are frustrated, they have a goal which is not getting succeeded or not getting satisfied, and that leads to frustration. According to Dollard and Miller, Miller and Dollard hypothesis, they mentioned the concept that frustration at times leads to aggression. And some people, it leads to an outward burst. So, but a situation which is considered frustrating for one, remember, would not be frustrating for others. So I tell you, let's take an example. A child is failing in his examination and he knows that next year I need to have a good marking grade so that I'll be recommended to good university. But he or she is not able to grade well, leading to a lot of frustration because there's a goal block. And there's another person who's similarly going through the same thing, but the other person is not frustrated. The other person is not, what do you call this? The other person is not actually, feeling that kind of irritation and frustration. The reason probably the goal is not important, and secondly, it could be that they have a high, child training for frustration tolerance role plays have been great. The individual has a greater tolerance towards failure, and on the other end might be that the other individual is frustrated, does not have any other role to play, and it's leading to aggression. So remember, frustration is dealt with leads to aggression differently in different people. There would be some people who are frustrated in one situation, and there could be another bunch who is not at all frustrated in the same situation. So this was frustration aggression hypothesis, which tells us why aggression comes into play. It comes into because of frustration. Then there is social learning theory, which is Bandura, Berkowitz, and others actually propagated that social learning theory views that an arousal which results in frustration does not necessarily lead to aggression, but only creates a condition where you're ready to cope with threatening situation. So according to Bandura, frustration doesn't lead to aggression. Frustration prepares your body that now trouble is coming, I need to prepare myself. So a very different concept that Bandura came with when it came to aggression. And also he stated something else. According to Bandura, aggression is learned. It's socially learned. It could be learned by positive reinforcement. It could be learned by role modeling. It could be learned by, giving you rewards at a time, which is making you learn aggression. Also, Albert Bandura did a Bobo doll experiment to show that how aggression is imitated, how aggression is copied if it is rewarded. So remember, social learning theory always tell you how observational learning is important. So there are times that aggression might be learned. So in families where aggression is a big part, in families where aggression is a huger part of life, remember, it's going to be always found in such children that they are equally aggressive. So this is another theory that tells us what aggression could be a possibility from. Then there is a drive theory and a GAM model, which is general aggression model. And then we have causes. So drive theory is theories which was given by Berlowitz in 1989. Drive theory just says, which is also a contribution for Doob, Dollard, Miller, and Mewers and Sears in 1938. They argued there are a number of situation factors that make people aggressive. So this is that drive you towards it. Let's take an example. Two people are fighting. The other person is provoking, saying you wrong things, which literally pushes to hit them. Then there are times that people get aggressive because they have the weapons with them. They have things which is, might be availability of weapons, availability of things. So provocation could be one situation factor that drives you to that. Availability of weapons, also priming cues, which is weapon, items, stone, knife, etc. And at times we need to know, it is also at times when we say aggression can also be innate. As we are born with a tendency to help, we could be also born with highly hot-headed people. There are people who are born aggressive. So that's why another thing that is counterstated with drive theory. Now we have another theory which is a theory which is a model, which is the general aggressive model. It's a very comprehensive integrated framework which is given on the right hand side also that you can see. It does see the role of cognition, social and personality developmental biological factors on aggression. So how do they say that there are proximate processes of general aggression model? Detail how a person and situation factors can influence cognition, your feelings, your state of arousal, which might impact your appraisal, decision process, and which in turn influence your aggressive and non-aggressive behavioral outcome, which is very true. So, see, let's take an example from this only. Input, there is a person, and then there is a situation, and then there is a personality, biological modifiers, and environment. Let's take an example, a person is getting late, and the personality is person is very calm. They feel it's okay, now I've got late, there is no point, and the body is also calm. So, biological modifiers are what? The body is relaxed. The personality is a very, very humble and kind personality. Situation is that the environmental modifiers, there's a lot of traffic, there are a lot of people on the street, situation is very busy. So how do these contribute? When the personality is calm, when the person himself has low aggression, is not innately aggressive, the situation might not tire them down. So their personal state is what? They start thinking, what's the point of arguing with people here? I am already late for the day, there is no point increasing the state of arousal and body. So here the cognition is thinking, the arousal is leading to emotion, the emotion is leading to thought, the thought is leading to arousal. So the thought says that I am relaxed, it's okay, I'm already late today, it's only one day, I will probably reach on time and finish my task on time today. That thought does not arouses the body, does not make you emote anything. So when that doesn't happen, remember, the body will not immediately appraise anything, would not go out and impulsively think or act. Now let's take the same GAM model from the upper part, the green, which is the causes, to the proximate causes and processes. So there is a person who's stated to be innately aggressive, very hot-headed person, very hyper, does not think, very impulsive, and their personality is impulsive. They are called to be always aggressive, and now they've got late. This person is highly hyper. So they're impulsive, they're banging their car while driving. The situation has too much of environment modifiers. There are times when there's too much of traffic jam. It's a day after holidays, so much of busy road that we have. Remember, their body has a high state of arousal, which is leading to high state of emotion. They might use curse word, they might get out of their cars and hit other people. This is what? There's an immediate appraisal. You find that your resources are empty. I cannot do anything. I'm already late. People are on the road. There's an outcome which is obviously important and unsatisfying. You know you want to rush through this road and it's not happening, and that's how you start giving out impulsive action. You start misbehaving with people. The distal environmental factors are more concerning situation. So then also there is another person who starts saying you wrong things. Social encounters also happen. This aggravates and provokes you. This is how there is a possibility of violence. There is a possibility of, hitting each other. It could increase the amount of pain because you're irritated. I'm already late to the work, etc. So this is how aggression by the general aggression model takes place. So we have distal causes and then we have proximate causes. We have a person and a situation. We have three modifiers, which is personality, biological, and cognition. Then what is the internal state? The internal state appraises quickly, find that the resources are less. They do an impulsive action, or they find out that there is no result coming. I need to reappraise now. Then thoughtful action will come. So people who know that it's already time, there's no point, I'm already late, there's no point hitting, using curse word on people. They will be at a very simple state of mind. They will not be panicking, they'll be relaxed, their personality is relaxed, they have innate tendencies which are calm. So the input and output will lead to thoughtful process. So see, aggression actually happens like that. You can actually observe your own body when you get aggressive. So what are the other causes that we can look forward to when we are talking about aggression? Some causes instinctual. So survival instinct. I need to do this right now, right here. So aggressive continuously keep building up and keeps getting released in aggressive behavior, hitting, throwing things, etc. So when there is high survival of fittest, Sigmund Freud stated that aggressive comes out too much. Hormonal imbalance, there could be high level of testosterone. This is such a bodily and biological phenomena. And usually males are considered to have higher. Then genetic aggression can also be passed down genetically, which is said that it could be innate. It could be risk of adaptation. You are not adaptive. You are not surviving properly because of too much display of aggression, not socially liked by people. Another is physiological illness and temperament. See, it could be a lower state of mind, which is mentally suffering from something, psychological dysfunction, which could lead to greater aggression, lack of understanding. One's biological temperament is also like that. That could be. Another most important is social learning. Wrong reward, bad observation learning, wrong role models, and probably rewarding the child incorrectly can also lead to that. Social learning, observation, too much of video games, too much of aggressive environment, role models are bad, lead to aggression. Then there is a psychological phenomena that frustration leads to aggression when too much of our goals are blocked in our life. There is high possibility when we don't get what we love, what we want, what we are working for, higher chances it comes out in negative feeling of aggression. So these are some very solid points which makes us feel that aggression can be instinctual. It could be inborn, hormonal imbalance, genetic inborn. There could be psychological illness, temperamental also, social learning. It could be social, psychological frustration. So these are some ways we can identify in us. Whenever next time you're getting aggressive, next time you're like bashing somebody, you feel like very loud about somebody, please make sure you find out the cause. What's the cause? Remember, aggressive is different individually. Some people find it predict aggression too soon because of their personality. Some relate to it very less and reject it because of their personality. And perhaps people with low self-esteem are more aggressive. People with less higher self-esteem are relaxed. They're more tend to get unstable and they're lesser aggressive. Gender differences. Remember, it's stated that male tends to have higher testosterone, universal tendencies, than males are higher violent than females. Also, rumors are found that women tend to use more non-physical activity and males are more physical. So this was a little information about aggression today that we continue in Unit 7 of BPC 132, Social Psychology. Thank you.
Good morning to all. I am Dr. Krishna, Academic Counselor in Sociology. ఈరోజు మనము BSOE 173 రీథింకింగ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అనే బుక్ నుంచి యూనిట్ నెంబర్ 8 ఎన్వైర్న్మెంట్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్ అనే లెసన్ గురించి తెలుసుకుందాం. దీన్ని మనం తెలుగులో పర్యావరణము దృక్పథాలు అనేది చెప్తూ ఉంటాం. ఈ యొక్క యూనిట్ మొత్తం కూడా మనకి పర్యావరణము మరియు దానికి సంబంధించిన అంశాలు, పర్యావరణము అంటే ఏంటి, ఇది ఎలా ఏర్పడుతూ ఉంటుంది, మానవ చర్యలు మరియు పరస్పర చర్యల కారణంగా పర్యావరణం ఎందుకు ఎలా మారుతుందనేది కూలంకషంగా తెలుసుకుందాం. పర్యావరణము అనే పదము ఫ్రెంచ్ పదము. ఎన్విరోనర్ అనే వర్డ్ నుంచి ఇది రూపొందించింది. అంటే అర్థము ఇతర మాటలలో ఏదైనా జీవి చుట్టూ ఉన్న ప్రదేశము, వ్యక్తులు, వస్తువులు మరియు ప్రకృతిని పర్యావరణం అంటూ ఉంటారు. అందువల్ల పర్యావరణం అనేది జీవితంలో జీవ మరియు అబియోటిక్ అంశాల యొక్క పర్యవసానంగా మనం దీన్ని చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాం అన్నమాట. ఈ యొక్క మానవులు మరియు జంతువులు వంటి జీవులు ఈ యొక్క సెటప్లో జీవులు తమ జీవితాన్ని పొందుతాయి మరియు పెరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి, ఉత్పత్తి చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి మరియు తగిన వాతావరణాన్ని పునరుత్పత్తి చేస్తూ ముందుకు తీసుకువెళ్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఈ వాతావరణాన్ని సర్దుబాటు చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి మరియు నిరంతరము తన పునరుత్పత్తిని ప్రయత్నిస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఈ ప్రక్రియలో దాన్ని సవరించడానికి ఈ పునరుత్పత్తి ప్రక్రియ రోజువారీ జీవితంలో వారి జీవనోపాధి, ప్రణాళిక మరియు అభివృద్ధిలో ఎలా జరుగుతుంది అనేది ఈ లెసన్లో తెలుసుకుంటూ ఉంటాం. దీని ద్వారా ఇది పర్యావరణ మార్పుల యొక్క విస్తృత వర్ణపటాన్ని మనకి వివరిస్తూ ఉంటుంది మరియు ఏ మానవ కార్యకలాపాలు పర్యావరణ మార్పులకి కారణమవుతాయో కూడా చెప్తూ ఉంటుంది అన్నమాట. ఇక్కడ క్లుప్తంగా చెప్పాలంటే మన చుట్టూ ఉన్న వాటిని వాస్తవంగా మానవ కేంద్రీకృత ఈ యొక్క నాన్ బయోలాజికల్ అని చెప్పవచ్చు అన్నమాట. పర్యావరణాన్ని మనిషి జీవించగలిగే ప్రదేశంగా నిర్వహించబడుతూ ఉంటుందన్నమాట. ఈ యొక్క విశ్లేషణ ఆధారంగా పర్యావరణాన్ని 2 విధాలుగా మనం అర్థం చేసుకోవచ్చు. మొదటిది మానవ నిర్మిత వాతావరణం, రెండవది సామాజిక వాతావరణం అని చెప్పుకోవాలి. ముందుగా మనము మానవ నిర్మిత పర్యావరణం గురించి తెలుసుకుందాము. మానవులు తమ అవసరాలు మరియు అవసరాలకి అనుగుణంగా పర్యావరణంతో పరస్పర చర్యలు నిరంతరము జరుపుతూ ఉంటారు మరియు సవరించుకుంటూ ఉంటారు కూడా. మానవ జాతి వేటగాళ్ల నుంచి వ్యవసాయదారులు మరియు పశు పోషకులుగా మారినప్పుడు వారు తమ అవసరాలు మరియు సౌలభ్యము ప్రకారము పర్యావరణాన్ని మార్చడానికి ప్రారంభిస్తూ ఉంటారు. వారు పంటలను పండించడానికి మరియు స్థిరమైన జీవితాన్ని గడపడానికి పెంపుడు జంతువులను ఉపయోగిస్తూ ఉంటారు. దిగుబడిని పెంచేందుకు ఎరువులు, పురుగు మందులు వాడుతూ ఉంటారు. మానవ జాతి సహజ వనరులను మితిమీరి వినియోగిస్తూ ఉంది మరియు క్షీణిస్తుంది. దీనివల్ల పారిశ్రామిక విప్లవము పెద్ద ఎత్తున ఉత్పత్తిని ప్రారంభించినప్పుడు రవాణా, సమాచారము మరియు కమ్యూనికేషన్ ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తంగా వేగంగా మరియు వేగవంతంగా మారుతూ ఉన్నాయి. అభివృద్ధి ప్రక్రియలో మానవ నిర్మిత పర్యావరణము మేనిఫెస్టోలలో వ్యక్తీకరించబడింది. ఇది ఇందువలన పంట పొలాలు, నగరాలు మరియు పారిశ్రామిక స్థలాలు ఉంటూ ఉంటాయి. ఉదాహరణకు తీసుకున్నట్లయితే నగరాలు మరియు పట్టణ కేంద్రాలలో జీవితము మానవ నిర్మిత సంస్కృతికి ఒక ఉదాహరణగా మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. అయితే నగర వాతావరణము గ్రామీణ ప్రాంతాల కంటే కలుషితమైనది. ఫ్యాక్టరీలు, పవర్ ప్లాంట్లు, పరిశ్రమలు మరియు కంపెనీలు వాతావరణము మరియు గాలిని కాలుష్యానికి విపరీతంగా దోహదం చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఈ రకమైన మానవ నిర్మిత పర్యావరణము వల్ల అనేక ఆరోగ్య ప్రమాదాలు, వినియోగాలు లేదా అధిక మొత్తంలో పదార్థము మరియు శక్తి వినియోగము సంక్షోభం వైపుకు నిరంతరము దారితీస్తూ ఉంటుంది. మరియు రిస్క్ సొసైటీ యొక్క జడత్వాన్ని ఇది అభివృద్ధి చేస్తూ ఉంటుంది అనేది కూడా మనము గ్రహించవలసిన విషయం. మానవులు ప్రాథమిక అవసరాలు నివాసము, నీరు, పారిశుద్ధ్యము, రవాణా, కమ్యూనికేషను, ఆహారము, శక్తి, విద్య మరియు ఆరోగ్యము ఇవి సహజమైన పద్ధతిలో ఏర్పాటు చేయబడితే గ్రామీణ ప్రాంతాలలో మానవులకు పుష్కలంగా అందుబాటులో ఉండేవి. అయినప్పటికీ పారిశ్రామిక మరియు పట్టణ కేంద్రీకృత అభివృద్ధి అనే భావన మానవ జనాభాను నగరాలకు వలస వెళ్లేలాగా నిరంతరము ప్రోత్సహిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. ఫలితంగా కాలుష్యము, ఆరోగ్య ప్రమాదాలు మరియు వాతావరణంలో అసమతుల్యతలు మరియు దీంతో పాటు నగరాల్లో జనాభా రోజు రోజుకి పెరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. నగర జనాభా ఒత్తిడి, పేవ్మెంట్లో నివసించే వారి సంఖ్య మరియు అనేక సమస్యలకు ఇది దారితీస్తూ ఉంటుంది. అధిక ట్రాఫిక్, కర్మాగారాలు, మిల్లులు మరియు గృహ పొగలు వాతావరణాన్ని నిరంతరము కలుషితం చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఈ విధంగా గ్రామీణ మరియు పట్టణ సెటప్ మరియు సమాజం మధ్య విరామము మరింత ప్రముఖమైనదిగా మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. ఇది మానవ నిర్మిత పర్యావరణం. ఇప్పుడు సమాజ పర్యావరణం గురించి చర్చించుకుందాము. ఈ సమాజ పర్యావరణం అంటే బయోటిక్ మరియు అబయోటిక్ అంశాలు మానవ జీవితంలో అంతర్భాగం. అదేవిధంగా సామాజిక సెటప్ మరియు సంబంధ సామాజిక వాతావరణాన్ని సృష్టిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. ఈ యొక్క సామాజిక వాతావరణం అనేది నిరంతరము ఈ యొక్క సాంస్కృతిక నిబంధనలు, విలువలు మరియు రాజకీయ, ఆర్థిక మరియు మతపరమైన సంస్థలు ఉంటూ ఉంటాయి. ఈ సంస్థలన్నీ సామాజిక వాతావరణంలో ముఖ్యమైన పాత్రను పోషిస్తూ ఉంటాయి మరియు పర్యావరణ వనరులను దాని ప్రయోజనము మరియు జీవనోపాధి కోసము ఎలా ఉపయోగించాలో నిరంతరము నిర్ణయిస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఇంకా సామాజిక వాతావరణాన్ని సమాజం యొక్క విస్తృత నిర్మాణ అమరికల పరంగా అర్థం చేసుకోవచ్చు మనము. అందులో వివిధ సమూహాలు, సంస్థలు ఉంటాయి కదా. ఈ యొక్క సమాజంలోని ప్రధాన సంస్థలు మరియు సమూహాలు ఇటువంటి ప్రాథమిక జీవిత అవసరాలకు సంబంధించినవి మరియు అన్ని కలిసి సామాజిక వాతావరణాన్ని ఏర్పరుస్తూ ఉంటాయి. సామాజిక సాంస్కృతిక వాతావరణంలో పునరుత్పత్తి, సాంఘీకరణ, సాంస్కృతిక సాంప్రదాయాన్ని ఒక తరం నుంచి మరొక తరానికి బదిలీ చేయటము మరియు మరెన్నో వివిధ విధులను నిర్వహించే సామాజిక సంస్థ యొక్క ప్రాథమిక సంస్థల్లో కుటుంబము ఒకటిగా మనం చెప్పుకోవాలి. పర్యావరణం యొక్క మానవ నిర్మిత భాగము సంస్కృతి మరియు ఇది సామాజిక పర్యావరణము మరియు సామాజిక చర్యను కూడా నిర్ణయిస్తూ ఉంటుంది అన్నమాట. సామాజిక నిబంధనలు, ఇటు ఆర్థిక కార్యకలాపాలు, రాజకీయ మరియు మతపరమైన సంస్థలు ఎల్లప్పుడూ సాంస్కృతిక వాతావరణాన్ని నిరంతరము ప్రభావితం చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఆర్థిక కార్యకలాపాలలో వనరులు ఎలా పొందాలో మరియు ఉపయోగించాలో నిర్ణయించే మరొక ముఖ్యమైన అంశము ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థ. సహజ వనరులను సరైన లేదా సరికాని ఉపయోగము లేదా దోపిడీ పర్యావరణ విధ్వంసము మరియు క్షీణతకి ఇది దారితీస్తూ ఉంటుంది. ఆ తర్వాత అభివృద్ధి మరియు పర్యావరణం మధ్య సంబంధం ఎలా ఉంటుందో ఇప్పుడు తెలుసుకున్నాము. అభివృద్ధి భావన కొత్తది కాదు, అతి పురాతనమైనది. అభివృద్ధి అనేది సమాజము మరియు భావన యొక్క సూక్ష్మ వేదాలను నిరంతరము మార్పు చెందేటట్లుగా చేస్తూ ఉంటుంది. ప్రారంభంలో అభివృద్ధి అనేది మార్పుతో పాటు వృద్ధిని సూచిస్తూ ఉండేదన్నమాట. ఏది ఏమైనప్పటికీ ఆర్థిక అభివృద్ధి నుంచి మాత్రమే దూరంగా ఉండటం ద్వారా దీనికి విస్తృతమైన అర్థము ఉపయోగించాల్సిన అవసరము ఏర్పడింది. ఇంకా అభివృద్ధి అనేది పూర్తిగా ఆర్థిక దృగ్విషయము కాదు, బహుమతి ప్రక్రియ. ఇది శ్రేయస్సు, శాంతి మరియు ప్రశాంతత కోసము మొత్తము ఆర్థిక, సామాజిక, సాంస్కృతిక మరియు రాజకీయ వ్యవస్థ యొక్క పునర్వ్యవస్థీకరణ మరియు సంస్కృతీకరణలను కలిగి ఉంటుందనేది కూడా మనము గమనించవలసిన విషయము. ఇంకా అభివృద్ధి అనేది మానవ జీవితంపై దృష్టి సారించి అన్ని జీవుల జీవన నాణ్యతను మెరుగుపరిచే ఒక ప్రక్రియ. ఇది ఆధునిక దిశలో మరియు ముఖ్యంగా దేశీయ నిర్మాణము మరియు సామాజిక ఆర్థిక శ్రేయస్సు మరియు సమాజం యొక్క పురోగతి దృష్టిను వృత్తి ప్రక్రియగా మనం చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉండాలన్నమాట. అభివృద్ధి అనేది అనేక అర్థాలు ఉన్నాయి, కానీ ఇది సమస్యాత్మకమైన, వివాదాస్పదమైన, అస్పష్టమైన మరియు అంతు చిక్కని ఒక పదంగా చెప్పుకోవాలి. అయితే సరళంగా చెప్పాలంటే అభివృద్ధి అనేది సామాజిక మార్పు అని చెప్పవచ్చు. దీని అర్థము అభివృద్ధి ప్రజల వారి మానవ సామర్థ్యాన్ని సాధించడానికి అనుమతిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. అభివృద్ధి అనేది అభివృద్ధి నొక్కి చెప్పే మరొక అంశం ఏంటంటే రాజకీయ పదము మరియు అనేక అర్థాలను కలిగి ఉంటుంది. విభిన్న వ్యక్తులు లేదా సంస్థలు నిర్వహించే విభిన్నమైన ఎజెండాను వారి సందర్భంలో ప్రతిబింబించవచ్చు మరియు సమర్థించవచ్చు. ఉదాహరణ తీసుకున్నట్లయితే అభివృద్ధి ఆలోచన ప్రపంచ బ్యాంకుచే వ్యక్తీకరించబడింది. ఇది గ్రీన్ పీస్ కార్యకర్తల నుంచి చాలా భిన్నమైనది మరియు ప్రచారం చేయబడింది. స్థిరమైన అభివృద్ధిని అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి ఈ అంశము ముఖ్యమైన చిక్కులను కలిగి ఉన్నది. భౌతికంగా మరియు సామాజిక పేదరికము, పర్యావరణ వినాశనానికి 2 ప్రధాన కారణాలుగా గుర్తించబడ్డాయి. అయితే మరొక వైపు దిగజారుతున్న పర్యావరణ నాణ్యత పేదరికానికి కారణం కావచ్చు. పర్యావరణం మరియు అభివృద్ధి 2 కూడా కావచ్చు అనేది మనం ఇక్కడ గమనించవలసిన విషయంగా చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాము. పరస్పర ఆధారితంగా ఇది వర్గీకరించబడింది. అనుకూలమైన జీవన వాతావరణం లేకుండా అభివృద్ధి అనేది అసాధ్యమైనది. అందువలన స్థిరమైన అభివృద్ధి లేకుండా పర్యావరణము ప్రశాంతముగా మరియు నిర్వహించబడదనేది కూడా మనం ఇక్కడ గమనించవలసిన విషయం. అభివృద్ధి అంశాలపై ప్రభావం చూసే ముఖ్యమైన నిర్ణయాత్మక కారకాలలో పర్యావరణం కూడా ఒకటిగా మనం చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉండాలన్నమాట. ఈ యొక్క సానుకూల ప్రభావం ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే చిన్న ఈ యొక్క నీటి ఆనకట్టల నిర్మాణము, పర్యావరణము అనుకూలత, సాంకేతికతలు మరియు అనుబంధ అభివృద్ధి కార్యకలాపాలు పర్యావరణానికి నిరంతరము సానుకూలంగా ఉంటూ ఉంటాయి. అభివృద్ధి యొక్క అటువంటి ప్రభావము మరియు దాని ప్రభావాలు సామాజిక, సాంస్కృతిక సందర్భాలలో ప్రకృతి దృశ్యాన్ని సుసంపన్నము చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి మరియు ప్రస్తుత మరియు భవిష్యత్ తరాలకు పర్యావరణము సుస్థిరంగా ఉపయోగించుకోవడానికి వీలు పడుతూ ఉంటుంది. ఇది సానుకూలమైన ప్రభావాలుగా మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. ఇప్పుడు ప్రతికూల ప్రభావాలు ఎలా ఉంటాయో తెలుసుకుందాం. పెద్ద ఎత్తున రవాణా అవస్థాపన, గొప్ప నీటి ఆటికట్టలు, నగరాలు, ముడి పదార్థాలు మరియు శక్తి సహజ వనరులు, మైనింగ్ అభివృద్ధి ప్రతికూల ప్రభావానికి దారితీస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఈ ప్రభావాలు సహజ ఆవాసాల విచ్ఛిన్నము, సారవంతమైన నేల క్షీణత కోల్పోవటము, పర్యావరణ కాలుష్యము, స్థానిక వాతావరణ మార్పు మరియు మరెన్నో పర్యావరణాన్ని విధాలుగా ప్రభావితం చేస్తాయి. అనియంత్రిత పట్టణీకరణ, పారిశ్రామికీకరణ, అడవుల విధ్వంసము మరియు వ్యవసాయము యొక్క భారీ తీవ్రత కారణంగా భారతదేశంలో పర్యావరణ సమస్యలు నిరంతరము పెరుగుతూ ఉన్నాయి. క్షీణత, ప్రజా ఆరోగ్యము, జీవ వైవిధ్యము నష్టము, పర్యావరణ వ్యవస్థలో స్థితిస్థాపకతను కోల్పోవటము, పేదలకు జీవనోపాధి భద్రతపై ఇది నిరంతరము ప్రభావాన్ని చూపుతుంది. నీటి కొరత సమస్యలు, నేల అలసట మరియు కోత, అటవీ నిర్మూలన, గాలి అనే పర్యావరణ సమస్యలకు ఇది నిరంతరము సంబంధించింది. ఇవి ప్రతికూల ప్రభావాలను ఈ యొక్క పర్యావరణంపై నిరంతరము చూపుతూ ఉంటాయనేది మనం గ్రహించవలసిన విషయం. ఇక్కడ పర్యావరణ దృక్కోణాలను మనం పరిశీలించినట్లయితే దీంట్లో అనేక దృక్కోణాలు ఉన్నాయి. మొదటగా మనము క్లాసికల్ దృక్కోణం గురించి చెప్పుకుందాం. ఈ క్లాసికల్ దృక్కోణము మన దైనందిక జీవితంలో మనము దానిని ఎలా గ్రహిస్తాము మరియు ఎలా వ్యవహరిస్తాము అనే దానిపై పర్యావరణము నిర్ణయించబడుతూ ఉంటుంది. పర్యావరణంపై ప్రజల అవగాహన మరియు దృక్కోణాలు మరియు వారి యొక్క పద్ధతులు, అంటే ఇక్కడ వారి యొక్క పద్ధతులు అంటే ప్రకృతిలో సంబంధము సాంప్రదాయకంగా 4 వర్గాలుగా విభజించబడుతూ ఉంటాయి. ఈ యొక్క 4 వర్గాలు ఈ దృక్కోణాలను నేటికి పర్యావరణానికి సంబంధించినవి ప్రముఖమైనవిగా చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాం. మొదటిది స్టీవార్డ్షిప్ యొక్క దృక్పథం. అంటే మానవులు తమ పర్యావరణం గురించి సంపూర్ణ అధికారాన్ని మరియు బాధ్యతను కలిగి ఉంటారని దీని యొక్క అర్థము. ఈ దృక్పథము మనకు అనేక విధాలుగా మనకు వివరిస్తూ ఉన్నది. జీవులను చూసుకోవటము, వాటిని గౌరవంగా చూడటము మానవులుగా మన కర్తవ్యము. ఇటువంటి వైఖరి కొన్ని క్రైస్తవ మరియు యూదుల సమాజంలో ప్రబలంగా ఉంది. మరియు ఈ ప్రవర్తన అనుసరించే అనేక బైబిల్ సూచనలు కూడా ఉన్నాయన్నమాట. ప్రకృతి పవిత్రమైనదిగా భావిస్తున్నందున సాంప్రదాయ అధికారులు ప్రకృతిని నియంత్రించడంలో పంచుకుంటున్నందున తరచూ సైన్స్ మరియు టెక్నాలజీకి వ్యతిరేకంగా ఉంటూ ఉంటారు. ఇది స్టీవార్డ్షిప్ యొక్క దృక్పథంగా మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. తరువాత సామ్రాజ్యవాదం. ఇది యూదు మరియు క్రైస్తవ మతంలో లోతుగా పాతుకుపోయింది మరియు దాని సారథ్యము వహిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. ఏది ఏమైనప్పటికీ ప్రకృతిని నియంత్రించడానికి మరియు ప్రకృతి మరియు దేవుడు వేరువేరుగా భావించే హక్కును దేవుడు మానవులకు ఇచ్చాడనే అభిప్రాయాన్ని సామ్రాజ్యవాదులు నిరంతరము సమర్థిస్తూ ఉంటారు. దీనికి విరుద్ధంగా స్టీవార్డ్లు ప్రకృతిని మరియు దేవునికి మధ్య పవిత్రమైన బంధం ఉందని భావిస్తూ ఉంటారు. సామ్రాజ్యవాదులు భూమిని లొంగ తీసుకొని ప్రకృతిని నియంత్రిస్తే దేవుడు తమకు గౌరవం ఇస్తాడని వీరు నమ్ముతూ ఉంటారన్నమాట. ఈ యొక్క సామ్రాజ్యవాదము మరియు వారి సమకృతి యొక్క చారిత్రక దృక్కోణాలలో మొక్కు మరియు జంతు బలి దేవునికి అవసరం అన్నమాట. ఈ యొక్క సైన్స్ యొక్క ఆధునిక దృక్పథాన్ని అభివృద్ధి చేస్తూ ఉంటారన్నమాట. అతను ఈ యొక్క బేకస్ అనే సామాజిక శాస్త్రవేత్త సైన్స్ యొక్క ఆధునిక దృక్పథాన్ని అభివృద్ధి చేస్తూ విజ్ఞాన శాస్త్రము ప్రకృతిని క్రమశిక్షణకు గురి చేసే లక్ష్యముగా ఉందని సామ్రాజ్యవాదులు ప్రకృతిని విశ్లేషిస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఇది 18 మరియు 19వ శతాబ్దాలలో ప్రబలంగా ఉంది మరియు నేటికి కొన్ని ప్రాంతాల్లో ఇది ప్రబలంగా కనిపిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. మూడో పాయింట్ కొట్టేటప్పటికి రొమాంటిసిజం. ఈ యొక్క 18వ శతాబ్దం చివరి నాటికి కళాకారులు, కవులు మరియు రచయితల సమూహము ప్రకృతిని నియంత్రించాలని మరియు నిర్వహించాలని అనే సామ్రాజ్యవాద దృక్పథాన్ని స్వీకరించింది. కొత్త పారిశ్రామిక ప్రకృతి దృశ్యాలు, ఉద్యానవనాలు రొమాంటిక్లచే అసహ్యించబడినవిగా పరిగణించబడుతూ ఉంటాయి. వారి కొరకు పర్యావరణము మరియు దాని విలువలు రొమాంటిక్లు పరిగణించారన్నమాట. అంతేకాకుండా ప్రకృతిని వికారమైన మరియు ప్రమాదకరమైనదిగా చూడటానికి బదులుగా రొమాంటిక్లు ప్రకృతి సౌందర్యాన్ని భగవంతుని వలె భావించటం ద్వారా దాని గురించి సంతోషిస్తారు. రొమాంటిక్లు వివరించినట్లుగా మానవులచే ప్రభావితం కాకుండా దాని స్వచ్ఛమైన స్థితిలో ఉన్నప్పుడు ప్రకృతి నిరంతరము మనకి అందంగా ఉంటుంది, అందంగా కనిపిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. ఆ తర్వాత యుటిలిటేరియన్ లేదా హెడోనిస్ట్ అనే ప్రకృతిని అర్థం చేసుకోవటానికి 4వ దృక్పథంగా చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాము. జీవితము సంతోషముగా మరియు సంతృప్తిగా ఇది పరిగణించబడుతూ ఉంటుంది. ఈ యొక్క భావాలు ఎవరు అభినందిస్తారు లేదా అన్నది ముఖ్యం కాదు. మానవులు అలాంటి భావాలను అనుభవించే సామర్థ్యాన్ని నిరంతరము కలిగి ఉంటూ ఉంటారన్నమాట. ఎందుకంటే ఆనందము మరియు బాధను అనుభవిస్తాయి. కానీ మొక్కలు మరియు చెట్లు ఎటువంటి భావాలను వ్యక్తపరచవన్నమాట. పర్యావరణము ప్రయోజకరము కావటానికి అనేక కారణాలు ఉన్నాయనేది మనం గుర్తించాలి. పర్యావరణము వారి ప్రాథమిక పాత్రలు నిర్వహించే ఆహార గొలుసు మరియు విభిన్న ప్రకృతి దృశ్యాలను ప్రజలు చూసి ఆనందిస్తూ ఉంటారు మరియు ఉపయోగిస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఈ కారణాల వల్ల పర్యావరణాన్ని రక్షించాలని మరియు పరిరక్షించాలని యుటిలిటేరియన్లు నిరంతరము కోరుకుంటారనేది ఈ దృక్కోణంలో మనము గమనించవలసిన విషయం. ఇక్కడ సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి దృక్పథము. ఈ యొక్క సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి దృక్పథానికి మనం వచ్చినప్పుడు దీనిలో మనం గమనించవలసిన విషయం ఏంటంటే సుస్థిరాభివృద్ధి, స్థిరాభివృద్ధి అని చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాం. ఇక్కడ ట్రస్ట్ ల్యాండ్ కమిషన్ రిపోర్ట్లో సుస్థిరాభివృద్ధికి చాలా సాధారణముగా ఆమోదించబడేటట్లుగా నిర్వహించారు. మన సాధారణ భవిష్యత్తు ఇది ఈ అభివృద్ధిని ఈ విధంగా నిర్వహిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. తమ అవసరాల పూరికకై ప్రస్తుత అవసరాలను, భవిష్యత్ తరాల సామర్థ్యాలపై రాజీ పడకుండా అభివృద్ధి చెందటంగా చెబుతూ ఉంటుంది. అయినప్పటికీ స్థిరాభివృద్ధి అభివృద్ధికై పేర్కొన్న చాలా లక్ష్యాలను అంకురార్పణగా మనం చెప్పవచ్చు. ఇది మిలీనియం అభివృద్ధి లక్ష్యాలు. విశ్వవ్యాప్తంగా క్షీణిస్తున్న పర్యావరణ వ్యవస్థలు, మిలీనియం పర్యావరణ వ్యవస్థ అంచనా నివేదిక సారాంశము. బోర్డు ప్రేరు ప్రకారము మనము అవసరాలకు మించి నివాసము, ప్రకృతి సంపద, మానవ శ్రేయస్సు, పర్యావరణ వ్యవస్థ సేవలు విలువను గుర్తించడంలో విఫలమవటమే ఈ సమస్యకి ప్రధాన కారణం అనేది ఈ యొక్క ట్రస్ట్ ల్యాండ్ కమిషన్ రిపోర్ట్లో ప్రముఖంగా పేర్కొన్నారు. పరిష్కారంలో భాగంగా ఆర్థిక నేపథ్యాన్ని, నిర్ణయాధికారాన్ని మార్చటం ద్వారా వివిధ తయారీ ప్రణాళికలు, పర్యావరణ వ్యవస్థ సేవలను, మార్కెట్ లేని వాటి విలువలు పరిగణలోకి తీసుకోవాలని నివేదిక ప్రతిపాదిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. దీన్ని సాధించడానికి పర్యావరణానికి సంబంధించిన పరిణామాత్మక సమగ్ర రూపకల్పన అవసరమని, నిర్ణయాత్మకంలో వినియోగిస్తున్న ఆర్థిక వ్యవహారాలను నమ్మకంతో సమగ్రపరచవచ్చు అని ట్రస్ట్ ల్యాండ్ కమిషన్ రిపోర్ట్లో ఎంతో సునిశ్చితంగా పేర్కొన్నారు. సుస్థిరాభివృద్ధికి ప్రపంచ దేశాల చొరవ అనేది ఎంతో ప్రముఖ పాత్ర వహిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. స్థిరాభివృద్ధికై ప్రాంతీయ, జాతీయ స్థాయిలో చేస్తున్న కృషి సరిపోవటం లేదు. దీనికి కారణము ప్రాంతీయ మరియు అనేక తీసుకుంటున్న చర్యలలో ఒక దేశానికి మరొక దేశానికి ప్రాంతానికి తేడాలు ఉన్నాయి. స్థానిక చర్యలు ప్రత్యామ్నాయాల ద్వారా భూమి వేడెక్కటము, ఓజోను క్షీణత సమస్యలు ఎదుర్కోలేమని గుర్తించాలి. పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణ చర్యలకు అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాలు ఎక్కువ ఖర్చు చేయవలసిన పరిస్థితి ఏర్పడవచ్చు. ఎక్కువ మంది ప్రజలు తమ వంతుగా త్యాగము చేయవలసిన అవసరం కూడా ఏర్పడుతుంది. అయితే అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాలు పురోగతి సాధించటం వలన లాభదాయక స్థితిలో ఉండి వీటిని త్వరితముగా స్వీకరించే స్థితిలో ఉన్నారు. అధిక లాభార్జిస్తున్న అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాలు అభివృద్ధి పాలసీలు పర్యావరణ క్షీణతకు ప్రధాన కారణాలు. అంతేకాక భూగృహ సహజ వనరులు, పర్యావరణ ప్రస్తుత భవిష్యత్తు, పౌరుల ఉమ్మడి ఆస్తి, తక్కువ అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాల అవసరాలను తీర్చడంలో పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణ చర్యలలో సమతూకం లేకపోవటము వంటి వాటిని ఉమ్మడి వేదికపై పరిష్కరించాలని, కేంద్రీకృతమైన ఆర్థికాభివృద్ధి నమూనా నుండి కేంద్రీకృతమైన పర్యావరణ అభివృద్ధి నమూనాకు మారవలసిన అవసరం ఉన్నదని, కానీ చాలా మటుకు ప్రపంచ ఆధునిక దేశాలు ఈ ఆలోచన పట్ల అయిష్టంగా ఉన్నాయనేది మనం ఇక్కడ గమనించాలి. అయితే పెరుగుతున్న మానవ చర్యల కారణంగా దీర్ఘకాలంగా భూతాపము, పర్యావరణ మార్పులు, ఆహార భద్రత, నీటి సంరక్షణ, వ్యాధులు, సహజ విపత్తుల బారి నుంచి పర్యావరణము దాని జీవ వైవిధ్యతను మానవ జీవితానికై కాపాడుకోవాల్సిన అవసరము చాలా ఉంది. దీనికై చాలామంది ప్రజానాయకులు, సంస్థలు కలిసికట్టుగా ఉమ్మడి చర్యలు తీసుకోవటము మొదలుపెట్టారు. ఈ సందర్భంలో ఐక్యరాజ్యాలు పరిస్థితిని తగిన విధముగా భూ పర్యావరణము, జీవ వైవిధ్యతను సంరక్షించడానికి వివిధ కార్యకలాపాలను మొదలుపెట్టారు. కొన్ని అంతర్జాతీయ సంస్థలు పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణ అభివృద్ధిలో, అమలులో గణనీయమైన పాత్రలను పోషిస్తూ ఉన్నాయి. ఈ సంస్థలు చాలా వరకు ఈ ఐక్యరాజ్య సమితి ఆధీనంలో ఉంటూ పనిచేస్తూ ఉన్నాయి. వివిధ జాతీయ, అంతర్జాతీయ లేదా ప్రాంతీయ సంస్థల పనికి గ్రీన్ పీస్, ప్రపంచ వైల్డ్ లైఫ్ నిధి, ఫ్రెండ్స్ ఆఫ్ ఎర్త్ వంటి తదితర సంస్థలు అనుకూలంగా ఉన్నాయనేది కూడా మనం ఇక్కడ గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సిన విషయంగా చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాము. ఇది పర్యావరణ అభివృద్ధికి ఎంతో దోహదం చేస్తుంది అనేది మనము నిరంతరము గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సిన అంశంగా చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాం అన్నమాట. ఆ తర్వాత ఈ సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి దృక్పథాన్ని మనము అనేక విధాలా వివరించుకోవచ్చు. సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి అనే భావన మొదట మనకి 1981లో కనిపించింది. ఇది ఒక కీలక పత్రము శీర్షికలో పొందుపరచబడింది. ప్రపంచ పరిరక్షణ భవిష్యము, సస్టైనబుల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ కోసము జీవ వనరుల సంరక్షణ, ఇంటర్నేషనల్ యూనియన్ ఫర్ కన్జర్వేషన్ ఆఫ్ నేచర్ అండ్ నేచురల్ రిసోర్సెస్, ఈ యొక్క అనేక రకాల సంస్థలు ఐక్యరాజ్య సమితి నార్వే ప్రధానమంత్రి గ్రోహ్ అర్లెమ్ ఈ యొక్క బ్రూడ్లాండ్ నేతృత్వంలో పర్యావరణము మరియు అభివృద్ధిపై ప్రపంచ కమిషన్ స్వతంత్ర సంస్థగా ఏర్పాటు చేసిందనేది మనం ఇంతకు ముందు కూడా తెలుసుకున్నాము. అంతర్జాతీయ మరియు జాతీయంగా సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధిపై దృష్టి కేంద్రీకరించబడింది. సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి దిశగా పురోగతి అంచనా వేయటానికి ఈ యొక్క రియో సమావేశము 1977లో న్యూయార్క్లో జరిగింది. మళ్ళీ ఆగస్టు 26 నుంచి సెప్టెంబర్ 4 వరకు 2002 వరకు ఈ యొక్క జోహెనెస్బర్గ్లో వరల్డ్ సమిట్ ఆఫ్ సస్టైనబిలిటీ డెవలప్మెంట్ అనేది జరిగిందనమాట. జోహెనెస్బర్గ్ సమిట్ అని దీన్ని పిలుస్తూ ఉంటాము. మరియు ఇది రియో 10గా కూడా డాక్యుమెంట్ చేయబడింది. ఎజెండాలోని పర్యావరణము మరియు శక్తి వంటి అభివృద్ధికి సంబంధించిన ప్రతి సమస్య ఇందులో పరిగణలోకి తీసుకెళ్ళబడింది. వీటిలో ప్రధానంగా నీరు, పారిశుధ్యము, ఆరోగ్యము మరియు అడవులు, వినియోగ విధానాలు, పేదరికము, వాణిజ్యము మరియు ప్రపంచీకరణ పర్యవసానముగా స్థిరమైన అభివృద్ధి యొక్క పరిధిని ఈ యొక్క సమావేశము విస్తృతం చేసిందనేది చెప్పక తప్పదన్నమాట. ఇది అన్ని దేశాలను ప్రభావవంతంగా ముందుకు తీసుకువెళ్ళడానికి ఎంతో దోహదం చేసిందనేది మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. ఈ యొక్క సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధికి ఈ ఉపన్యాసము ఎలా ఉన్నదనేది కూడా మనం ఇక్కడ చూద్దాము. సుస్థిరమైన అభివృద్ధి భావన యొక్క ప్రారంభ మూలాలను అభివృద్ధి పర్యావరణ చర్యలో గుర్తించవచ్చు మనం నిరంతరము. ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తంగా చాలా దేశాలు అనుసరించిన అభివృద్ధి యొక్క ఆర్థిక వృద్ధి నమూనా మరియు రకరకాల పర్యావరణ క్షీణతలో ఉత్పత్తి చేయబడింది. అభివృద్ధి పర్యావరణము చర్చ యొక్క పెరుగుదలను చారిత్రక సందర్భానికి ఇది అందించిందనేది చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. తక్కువ అభివృద్ధి చెందిన దేశాలు పాశ్చాత్య అభివృద్ధి నమూనాను అనుసరించడం వలన కలిగే పరిణామాలు సానుకూలంగా లేవు అనేది ఈ యొక్క సమస్యలో తెలుసుకున్నారు. ఆర్థిక అభివృద్ధి సంభవించింది, అయితే దేశాల మధ్య విస్తరించిన ఆఘాతము ఉత్తర మరియు దక్షిణాది తోడుగా ఉంది. మరియు ఇది నిర్దిష్ట సమాజాలలో ధనిక మరియు పేద వర్గాల మధ్యక ఆర్థిక అసమానతలను ప్రోత్సహించడానికి కూడా నిరంతరము సహాయపడింది. అభివృద్ధి అనేది కేవలము ఆర్థిక వృద్ధిగా భావించబడినది సరిపోదని ఈ యొక్క భావనగా చెప్పారు. ఆర్థిక అభివృద్ధి తప్పనిసరిగా సమాజంలోని అట్టడుగు వర్గాల అభివృద్ధికి దారితీయదు. ఈ అవగాహన అభివృద్ధి ఆలోచనలో మార్పుకి ఎంతో కారణమైనదిగా మనము గ్రహించవలసిన విషయము. చివరికి ఇది పంపిణీ, న్యాయము లేదా ఈక్విటీ వంటి అభివృద్ధి యొక్క కొన్ని అదనపు ప్రమాణాలను చేర్చడానికి దారితీసింది మరియు ప్రజల మొత్తము జీవన నాణ్యతలో పెరుగుదలకి ఇది దారితీసింది అనేది కూడా మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. అంతేకాకుండా ప్రపంచ పర్యావరణ నాణ్యతపై ప్రపంచ పాశ్చాత్య అభివృద్ధికి నమూనా యొక్క ప్రభావాన్ని పరిశీలించడము ఈ అభివృద్ధి నమూనా యొక్క క్లిష్టమైన పునఃపరిశీలనకు దారితీసిందని గమనించవలసిన విషయం. పారిశ్రామికీకరణలను నిర్లక్ష్యపూరితముగా కొనసాగించడము మరియు అభివృద్ధి కోసము వనరుల దోపిడీ, ఆధునిక సాంకేతికత పరిజ్ఞానాన్ని ఉపయోగించడం వల్ల పర్యావరణము క్షీణించి అన్ని జీవుల ఉనికికి ప్రమాదముగా ఏర్పడిందనేది అన్ని దేశాలు గుర్తించాయి. ఆర్థిక విస్తరణ ముఖ్యంగా యుద్ధానంతర కాలంలో ప్రపంచ పర్యావరణ భయంకరమైన పరిణామాలను కలిగి ఉందని సాధారణ ఒప్పందము ఉందన్నమాట. ప్రకృతి నుంచి శక్తి మరియు పదార్థాల నిరంతర సరఫరా లేకుండా పారిశ్రామికీకరణ సాధ్యం కాదు. ఇది వేగవంతమైన పారిశ్రామిక ఉత్పత్తి మరియు పెరుగుతున్న వినియోగ స్థాయి ఫలితముగా వ్యర్థాలు స్థిరముగా పెరిగిపోవటాన్ని దారితీస్తూ ఉన్నది. ప్రకృతి క్రమముగా క్షీణిస్తూ పోతూ ఉంటుంది. ఈ ప్రక్రియ వలన ఆధునిక పారిశ్రామికీకరణ ఉత్పత్తి రూపము సామాజిక అసమానత మరియు పెరుగుతున్న పర్యావరణ అస్థిరత మరియు అధోకరణలు యొక్క తీవ్ర స్థాయిలను ఇది నిరంతరము ప్రేరేపిస్తుంది అనేది మనము ఇక్కడ తెలుసుకోవాలి. అభివృద్ధి చెందుతున్న దేశాలు పర్యావరణ వ్యవస్థలు మరియు ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థల నేపథ్యంలో అభివృద్ధి యొక్క పాశ్చాత్య నమూనా యొక్క పరిణామాలను పరిశీలించినప్పుడు సునీత సైలెన్ 2002 నుంచి 2013 వరకు పాశ్చాత్య ఆర్థిక యొక్క సాంకేతిక నమూనా అత్యంత భౌతిక మరియు శక్తి ఇంటెన్సివ్, ఇది భారీ పరిమాణంలో జీవక్రియ చేస్తూ ఉంటుంది. సహజ వనరులు మరియు విష పదార్థాలు బాటను వదిలివేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. అత్యంత క్షీణించిన మరియు రూపాంతరము మరియు విష పదార్థాల బాటను ఇవి వదిలివేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. పర్యావరణ వ్యవస్థలు దాని నేపథ్యంలో అభివృద్ధి చెందుతున్న దేశాలు ఆర్థిక మరియు సామాజిక వృద్ధిని కూడా అనుసరిస్తూ ఉంటాయి అనేది మనము గమనించవలసిన విషయము. పెరుగుతున్న ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థలు, కాలుష్యము మరియు పెద్ద ఎత్తున పర్యావరణ విధ్వంసంతో ఒక అసాధారణమైన పేదరికము మరియు అసమానతలకు ఇది దారితీస్తూ ఉంటుందనేది కూడా ఇక్కడ మనము గ్రహించవలసిన విషయము. ప్రారంభంలో అభివృద్ధి మరియు పర్యావరణము అనేవి విభిన్నమైన అంశాలుగా పరిగణించబడ్డాయి మరియు పర్యావరణముపై అభివృద్ధికి మద్దతు ఇచ్చే వారికి మరియు పర్యావరణ అధిక అభివృద్ధి కోసము వాదించే వారికి మధ్య పదునైన విభజన అనేది ఏర్పడింది. ఇక్కడ తాము ప్రత్యర్థులుగా భావించే కథానాయకుల యొక్క రెండు వేరు శిబిరాలు ఉద్భవించాయి. ఇది అభివృద్ధి మరియు పర్యావరణ నిర్బంధానికి దారితీసిందనేది ఈ ప్రక్రియ మనకి చెప్తూ ఉంటుంది. ఏది ఏమైనప్పటికీ చివరికి మానవులకు అభివృద్ధి యొక్క పర్యావరణము రెండూ అవసరమనే అవగాహన కూడా పెరిగింది. అభివృద్ధికి ఎంత ప్రాముఖ్యత ఇస్తున్నామో పర్యావరణకి కూడా అంత ప్రాముఖ్యత ఇవ్వాలనే దృక్పథానికి అందరి దేశాల్లోని శాస్త్రజ్ఞులు వచ్చారు. పర్యావరణము మరియు అభివృద్ధి యొక్క మొత్తం లక్ష్యాలు వైరుధ్యంలో లేవని, వాస్తవాలు ఒకేలాగా ఉన్నాయని గుర్తించడము ఈ యొక్క శాస్త్రవేత్తల్లో పెరుగుతూ వచ్చింది. అవి మానవ జీవన నాణ్యతను మెరుగుపరచడము లేదా ప్రస్తుత మరియు భవిష్యత్ తరాల సంక్షేమము అటువంటి ఆలోచన అభివృద్ధి వర్సెస్ పర్యావరణము అనేది తప్పుడు ద్వంద్వత్వము అనే అభిప్రాయానికి దారితీసింది. ఈ అభిప్రాయము వరల్డ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ రిపోర్ట్ 1992లో డెవలప్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్లో బాగా వ్యక్తీకరించబడింది. ఈ నివేదికలో ఆర్థిక అభివృద్ధి మరియు మంచి పర్యావరణ నిర్వహణ ఒకే ఎజెండా యొక్క పరిపూరకమైన అంశాలు. తగిన పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణ లేకుండా అభివృద్ధి బలహీనపడుతుందని, అభివృద్ధి లేకుండా పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణ విఫలమవుతుందనేది కూడా ఈ యొక్క అభిప్రాయాన్ని శాస్త్రజ్ఞవేత్తలు అనేక కోణాల్లో మనకి తెలియపరిచారు. ఇది ఇప్పుడు మనము సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి అంటే ఏంటి, నిర్వచనము మరియు అర్థము, అవసరాలు, ప్రధాన లక్ష్యాలు, తగిన ఊహ్యాలు ఎలా ఉంటాయో మనం ఇప్పుడు ఈ సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి పద్ధతుల్లో తెలుసుకుందాము. ఇందులో మొదటిది స్థిరమైన అభివృద్ధి. ఈ యొక్క భావన యొక్క నిర్వచనం ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే, భవిష్యత్ తరాల వారి అవసరాలను తీర్చటంలో రాజీ పడకుండా ప్రస్తుత అవసరాలను తీర్చే అభివృద్ధిని సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధిగా చెప్తూ ఉంటాము. ఇందులో రెండు కీలక భావాలను కలిగి ఉంటాయి. ఇందులో మొదటిది అవసరాలు అనే భావన ముఖ్యంగా ప్రపంచంలోని పేద అవసరాలకు అధిక ప్రాధాన్యత ఇవ్వాలని మరియు ప్రస్తుత మరియు భవిష్యత్ అవసరాలను తీర్చగల పర్యావరణ సామర్థ్యముపై సాంకేతికత మరియు సామాజిక సంస్థ యొక్క స్థితిని విధించిన పరిమితుల ఆలోచన ఉండాలనేది ఈ యొక్క అవసరాల యొక్క భావనగా మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. ఈ యొక్క ఆర్థిక అభివృద్ధి సమస్య ఆర్థిక అభివృద్ధి పేదరికాన్ని తగ్గించడానికి మాత్రమే కాకుండా మెరుగైన జీవితము మానవ అవసరాలు మరియు ఆంక్షలను తీర్చడానికి కూడా అవసరమైనదిగా పరిగణించబడుతూ ఉంటుంది. రెండో పాయింట్కి వచ్చేటప్పటికి ప్రస్తుత మరియు భవిష్యత్ తరాల అవసరాలను తీర్చగల పర్యావరణ సామర్థ్యం యొక్క పరిమితుల సమస్య, పెరుగుతున్న సామాజిక అవసరాల వల్ల ఉత్పన్నమయ్యే ఒత్తిళ్ల కారణంగా పరిమితి సహజ వనరులను వెలికి తీసేందుకు మరియు వినియోగించడానికి సమాజాలు ఆధునిక సాంకేతిక పరిజ్ఞానాన్ని ఉపయోగిస్తూ ఉన్నాయి. ప్రస్తుతం ఉన్న పరిమితి సహజ వనరులను మనము దోపిడీ చేస్తూనే ఉంటే భవిష్యత్తు తరాలు తమ అవసరాలను తీర్చుకోలేవు. అందువలన ప్రస్తుత భవిష్యత్తు తరాల అవసరాలను తీర్చగల పర్యావరణ సామర్థ్యాన్ని కొన్ని పరిమితులు ఉన్నాయి. ఇవి ఏమున్నాయో ఇప్పుడు ఎలా ఉన్నాయో తెలుసుకుందాము. స్థిరమైన అభివృద్ధి అవసరాలు ఎలా ఉంటాయో ఇప్పుడు మనం తెలుసుకుందాము. సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధికి అందరి ప్రాథమిక అవసరాలను తీర్చడము అవసరం మరియు మెరుగైన జీవితం కోసము వారి ఆంక్షలను సంతృప్తిపరచడానికి అన్ని అవకాశాలను విస్తరించడము, పర్యావరణ పరంగా సాధ్యమయ్యే పరిమితుల్లో ఉండే వివిధ వినియోగ ప్రమాణాలను ప్రోత్సహించే విలువలను ప్రోత్సహించడము మరియు అందరూ సహేతుకంగా ఆ సమాజాలను ఆకాంక్షించగలరు. ఉత్పాదక సామర్థ్యాన్ని పెంపొందించడం ద్వారా మరియు మారుతున్న పరిస్థితులకు అనుగుణంగా అన్ని జనాభా అభివృద్ధికి సమానమైన అవకాశాలను నిర్ధారించడం ద్వారా మానవ అవసరాలను తీర్చవచ్చు అనే అభిప్రాయాన్ని కలిగి ఉంటాయి. ఈ పర్యావరణ వ్యవస్థ యొక్క ఉత్పాదన సంభావ్యత, కనిష్ట అభివృద్ధి, భూమిపై జనానికి తోడ్పడే సహజ వ్యవస్థలకు ప్రమాదము కలిగించకూడదు. ఈ సారాంశంలోకి వచ్చేటప్పటికి స్థిరమైన అభివృద్ధి అనేది మార్పు ప్రక్రియ. దీని వనరులు దోపిడీ, పెట్టుబడుల దిశ, సాంకేతిక అభివృద్ధి దిశ మరియు సంస్థాగత మార్పు అన్నీ సామరస్యంగా ఉంటూ ఉంటాయి మరియు ప్రస్తుత మరియు భవిష్యత్తు రెండింటినీ కలిసే సామర్థ్యాన్ని ఇవి నిరంతరము మెరుగుపరుస్తూ ఉంటాయని కూడా చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. మానవ అవసరాలు మరియు ఆకాంక్షలు అనేవి నిరంతరము మార్పుకు గురవుతూ ఉంటాయి. ఇవన్నీ సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి ఒక సక్రమ పద్ధతిలో నడిచేటట్లు మనము చూడాలి. సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి యొక్క లక్ష్యాలు ఏ విధంగా ఉంటాయి అన్నట్లయితే, వృద్ధి పునరుద్ధరించడము ఒక మొదటి పాయింట్. రెండో పాయింట్ వృద్ధి నాణ్యతను మార్చటం. మూడో పాయింట్ ఉద్యోగాలు, ఆహారము, శక్తి కోసము అవసరాలను తీర్చటం, నీరు మరియు పారిశుద్ధ్యము. నాలుగో పాయింట్కి వచ్చేటప్పటికి జనాభా యొక్క స్థిరమైన స్థాయిని నిర్ధారించటము. ఐదో పాయింట్కి వచ్చేటప్పుడు వనరుల ఆధారాన్ని పరిరక్షించటము మరియు మెరుగుపరచటము. ఆరో పాయింట్ సాంకేతికతను తిరిగి మార్చటము మరియు ప్రమాదాన్ని నిర్వహించటము. ఏడో పాయింట్ నిర్ణయం తీసుకోవటంలో పర్యావరణము మరియు ఆర్థిక శాస్త్రాన్ని రెండింటిని విలీనం చేయటం. ఈ యొక్క లక్ష్యాలతో మనము ముందుకు పోవాలి సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి పథకంలో. ఈ యొక్క సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి యొక్క ఊహ్యాన్ని కూడా మనం తెలుసుకుందాము. అవి ఏంటంటే, నిర్ణయం తీసుకోవటంలో ప్రభావవంతమైన ఈ యొక్క పౌర భాగస్వామ్యాన్ని సురక్షితం చేసే రాజకీయ వ్యవస్థ అని చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. స్వావలంబన మరియు స్థిరమైన ప్రతిపాదికను, మిగులు మరియు సాంకేతిక పరిజ్ఞానాన్ని ఉత్పత్తి చేయగల ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థ. అసమానమైన అభివృద్ధి వల్ల ఉత్పన్నమయ్యే ఉద్రిక్తలను, పరిష్కారాలను అందించే ఒక సామాజిక వ్యవస్థ. అభివృద్ధి కోసము పర్యావరణ స్థావరాన్ని కాపాడే బాధ్యతను గౌరవించే ఒక ఉత్పత్తి వ్యవస్థ. ఈ యొక్క ఐదో పాయింట్లో కొత్త పరిష్కారం కోసము నిరంతరము శోధించగల ఒక సాంకేతిక వ్యవస్థ. ఈ ఆరో పాయింట్కి వచ్చేటప్పటికి స్థిరమైన వాణిజ్యము మరియు ఆర్థిక విధానాలను పెంపొందించే ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థ. ఈ ఏడో పాయింట్కి అనువైన మరియు స్వీయ దిద్దుబాటు సామర్థ్యాన్ని కలిగి ఉండే పరిపాలనా వ్యవస్థ. ఈ అవసరాలు అభివృద్ధిపై జాతీయ మరియు అంతర్జాతీయ చర్యలకు లోబడి ఉండవలసిన లక్ష్యాలు మనం చెప్పుకున్న ఈ 6 పాయింట్లలో ఉండాలని చెప్తూ ఉంటాం. ఇక్కడ సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి భావనపై అనేక విమర్శలు కూడా ఉన్నాయి. మొదటిది సస్టైనబుల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అంటే లాజికల్ కాంట్రడిక్షన్ మరియు సైమాంటిక్ సందిగ్ధత అని చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాం అన్నమాట. ఇక్కడ సమానత్వంతో వృద్ధి లేదా జీవన నాణ్యతతో మెరుగుదల లేదా ఆధునీకరణ అనివార్యముగా వినియోగ స్థాయి పెరుగుదలకు మరియు సహజ వనరుల దోపిడీకి ఇది దారి తీస్తూ ఉంటదనేది సూచిస్తూ ఉన్నది. రెండో విమర్శకు వచ్చేటప్పటికి సస్టైనబుల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ యొక్క నిర్వచనంలో ఇది మనకి తక్కువ పారిశ్రామికంగా ఉన్న దేశాలు దాని చిక్కులను వర్తింపచేయటం మధ్య వ్యత్యాసాలు తీసుకువస్తూ ఉంటాయి. తర్వాత కోసము మొదటి ఆర్థిక వృద్ధికి సంభావ్యత గ్రహించడం. రెండవది ఇది వినియోగం స్థాయిలో సాధారణ పెరుగుదలను ప్రోత్సహిస్తూ ఉంటుందన్నమాట. ఈ యొక్క పర్యావరణ మరియు అభివృద్ధిపై ప్రపంచ కమిషన్ 1987లో పారిశ్రామిక ఉత్పత్తి అనేది ఆధునిక సమాజాల ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థలను ప్రాముఖ్యత మరియు ఎవరు ఏది చేసినా దాన్ని సమర్థించడంలో వృద్ధి యొక్క అనివార్యమైన మోటారు అయినందున అటువంటి వృద్ధి పారిశ్రామికంగా కొనసాగుతూ ఉంటుంది. తాత్పర్యంగా విభిన్న లక్ష్యాలు, ఊహ్యాలు మరియు అభిప్రాయంలో ఉన్నాయని విమర్శలు ఎదుర్కొన్నది. ఈ యొక్క మూడో పాయింట్కి వచ్చేటప్పటికి కార్యాచరణ పదార్థానికి సంబంధించిన విమర్శ ఎలా ఉందంటే, ఈ యొక్క స్థిరమైన అభివృద్ధి చుట్టూ మొత్తము యుఎన్ యంత్రాంగము సృష్టించినప్పటికీ ప్రపంచము ఇప్పటికీ అకారణముగా ఆకర్షణీయంగా ఉంటుంది. కానీ ఇంకా అస్పష్టమైన యొక్క భావన యొక్క కార్యాచరణము అర్థము వేచి ఉంటుంది అనేది ఈ యొక్క విమర్శన పద్ధతుల్లో ఒక ప్రముఖమైనది. తర్వాత సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి రాజకీయ సంబంధించిన విమర్శకు వచ్చేటప్పటికి సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధికి సంబంధించి అవసరము అనేది ఈ యొక్క ప్రాథమికముగా కాకుండా ఐశ్వర్యము లేదా నీచత్వం కంటే ఐశ్వర్యము అని కూడా అతను ఈ యొక్క నాయరు వ్యాఖ్యానించారు. ఈ యొక్క పేదరికము పెరుగుతున్న కొద్దీ ఊహ సహజ వాతావరణముగా క్షీణించాయి మరియు పర్యావరణము క్షీణించినప్పుడు మరింత జీవనోపాధికి అవకాశాలు తగ్గుతూ ఉంటాయి. పర్యావరణ క్షీణత మరింత ఉత్పన్నమవుతుంది. పేదరికము తద్వారా పేదరికాన్ని సృష్టించే ప్రాథమిక కారకాలు ఈ చట్టంను వెలుపల ఉంచినప్పటికీ ఈ యొక్క సహజ మూలధనాన్ని అధునోకరణము చేసి అసమాన అభివృద్ధి పాత్రను మరియు పేదల యొక్క కృత్రిమంగా పెంచిన ప్రభావం యొక్క సమస్య కూడా ఇది పరిగణించదు. పేదరికము కాకుండా ఇతర కారకాల ద్వారా చలనములో ఉన్న సహజ మూలము యొక్క ఇప్పటికీ తక్కువ నాణ్యతపై ఇది ప్రభావాన్ని చూపుతుంది అనే పద్ధతి ఏర్పడుతూ ఉన్నది. ఇవి ఈ యొక్క పర్యావరణంపై ఈ యొక్క విమర్శనాత్మక పద్ధతులు. ఇక్కడ మనము ఒక కీలక పదాలను మనం చూసుకున్నట్లయితే జీవ సంబంధమైన జీవి యొక్క ప్రపంచము పర్యావరణం అంటే ఉదాహరణ తీసుకున్నట్లయితే మొక్కలు మరియు జంతువులు. ఈ బయోటిక్లు అంటే జీవము లేని మూలక ప్రపంచాలు. దీన్ని ఉదాహరణ తీసుకున్నట్లయితే భూమి అని చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాం అన్నమాట. ఆ తర్వాత ఈ యొక్క ఫ్రెంచ్ ప్రభుత్వము ఎన్విరోస్ అంటే పొరుగు, మరొక మాటలో చెప్పాలంటే ఏదైనా జీవి చుట్టూ ఉన్న ప్రదేశాలు, వ్యక్తులు, వస్తువులు మరియు ప్రకృతిని మనము పర్యావరణం అంటూ ఉంటామని చెప్తూ ఉన్నారు ఈ యొక్క ఫ్రెంచ్ శాస్త్రవేత్తలు. తర్వాత 1972లో రియో డి జెనీ అనే శాస్త్రవేత్త ఈ యొక్క బ్రెజిల్లో జరిగిన ఐక్యరాజ్య సమితి పర్యావరణము మరియు అభివృద్ధి సదస్సులో ప్రపంచ నాయకులు సంతకం చేసిన ఎజెండా 21 ప్రకటనలు. ఇవి ప్రపంచ సిద్ధమైన అభివృద్ధిని సాధించటము మరియు భాగస్వామ్యము, ఆసక్తులు, పరస్పర అవసరాలు మరియు భాగస్వామ్య బాధ్యతలపై ప్రపంచ సహకారము ద్వారా పర్యావరణ నష్టము, పేదరికము, వ్యాధులకు ఎదుర్కోవడానికి ఒక ఎజెండాను లక్ష్యంగా ఏర్పరచుకున్నారు ఈ సమావేశంలో. ఈ యొక్క సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి అంటే పర్యావరణానికి హాని కలగకుండా అభివృద్ధి జరగాలని, మరియు వర్తమానంలో అభివృద్ధి అనేది భవిష్యత్తు తరాల అవసరాలను కలిగి ఉండాలనేది ఈ యొక్క సమావేశంలో, ఈ ప్రపంచవ్యాప్త జరిగిన సమావేశంలో మనకి అనేక విధాలా పేర్కొన్నారనేది మనం ఇక్కడ చెప్పుకోవాల్సిన విషయం. ఇందులో ఇంకా ప్రముఖమైన విషయాలు ఏంటంటే ఇక్కడ ఈ యొక్క పద్ధతుల్లో ఈ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ పర్స్పెక్టివ్లో పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణకి ఎటువంటి చర్యలు ఈ యొక్క పద్ధతులను ప్రపంచవ్యాప్తంగా తీసుకుంటున్నారనేది మనం ఇక్కడ పరిరక్షించుకుంటూ ఉండాలి. ఈ పదకోశంలోకి వచ్చేటప్పటికి పర్యావరణము అంటే పర్యావరణం అనగా జీవ నిర్జీవ పదార్థాల సమూహారము. ఇందులో గాలి, నీరు, భూమి, ఇతర సహజ భౌతిక వనరులు, మానవులు, వృక్షజాలము, జంతుజాలము, వాటి మధ్య అంతర్ సంబంధాలతో కూడుకొని కలిసి ఉంటూ ఉంటాయి. జీవజాలము ప్రకృతిలో నివసిస్తూ పర్యావరణంతో నిరంతరము ప్రభావితం చేస్తూ ఉంటుందనేది కూడా మనం గ్రహించాలి. ఈ జీవావరణము అంటే జీవావరణము ఒక జీవశాస్త్ర విభాగము. ఇది జీవులకు పర్యావరణానికి మధ్య సంబంధాన్ని నిరంతరము మనకు తెలియజేస్తూ ఉంటుంది. పర్యావరణ పరిసరాల గురించి ఒక ప్రత్యేకమైన పదార్థము లేదా జీవిపై ప్రభావాన్ని ఈ జీవావరణము మనకు నిరంతరము వివరిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. జీవ వైవిధ్యం అనగా అనేక రకాల వృక్ష జంతుజాలము. భూగోళ తాపము అంటే హరిత వాయువు ఉద్గారాల ప్రభావం వల్ల భూగోళము, ఉపరితలము, సరాసరి ఉష్ణోగ్రత నిరంతరము పెరుగుతూ ఉండటం వల్ల పర్యావరణంలో అనేక మార్పులు సంభవిస్తూ ఉంటాయి. క్యోటో ప్రోటోకాల్ అంటే అర్థము, ఇది ఒక అంతర్జాతీయ ఒడంబడిక. ఇది వాతావరణ మార్పులపై ఐక్యరాజ్య రాజ్యాల సాంప్రదాయాల అల్లిక. దీనికి జపాన్లోని కోర్చోలో 1977లో డిసెంబర్ 16న ఆమోదించిన 2005 ఫిబ్రవరి 16 నుంచి ఇది అమల్లోకి వచ్చింది. ఓజోన్ పొర క్షీణత. ప్రస్తుత పరిస్థితుల్లో పర్యావరణంలో ఓజోన్ పొర క్షీణత ఎంతో ప్రాముఖ్యత సంతరించుకున్నది. కాలుష్య కారణంగా ఓజోన్ పొర నిరంతరము క్షీణిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. అతిపెద్ద మానవ నిర్మిత రాసాయనిక పదార్థాలు ఓజోన్ పొర తరుగుదలకు, మానవ నిర్మిత రసాయనాలైన క్లోరోఫ్లోరోకార్బనాలు, ఇతర హాలోజినేటెడ్ ఓజోన్ తరుగుదల పదార్థాలు ముఖ్య కారణాలుగా ఈ శాస్త్రజ్ఞులు పేర్కొంటున్నారు. ఇది అభివృద్ధి చెందకుండా నిరంతరము కంట్రోల్డ్గా చేస్తూ ఉండాలి ఈ యొక్క పర్యావరణ పరిస్థితుల్లో. సుస్థిరాభివృద్ధి అంటే అర్థము, సుస్థిరాభివృద్ధి అనగా తమ అవసరాల పూరికకై ప్రస్తుత అవసరాలకు భవిష్యత్ తరాల సామర్థ్యముపై రాజీ పడకుండా అభివృద్ధి చెందడమే ఈ యొక్క సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి యొక్క పద్ధతి. ఈ అనేక రకాల ప్రపంచ సమావేశాలు ఉద్దేశము అన్ని జీవరంగాల నుంచి మంచి వ్యక్తులను, సంస్థలను ఎంపిక చేసి మానవాళి ఎదుర్కొంటున్న పలు సవాళ్లను, సమాధానాలను గుర్తించడం. స్థానిక స్థాయిలో ఎజెండా 21గా పిలువబడే కార్యాచరణను అభివృద్ధి చేయటం. ఈ శిఖరాగ్ర సమావేశంలో 2000 నుంచి 2015 మిలీనియం అభివృద్ధి లక్ష్యాలు, 2015 నుంచి 2030 వరకు ప్రపంచ లక్ష్యాలు ఉద్భవించాయనేది కూడా మనం చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉండాలి. ఈ భూశిఖరాగ్ర సమావేశంలో నిరంతరము పర్యావరణాన్ని ఎలా రక్షించాలనేది 1992లో ప్రఖ్యాత రియో సమావేశాన్ని ఐక్యరాజ్య పర్యావరణ అభివృద్ధి సమావేశం, దీన్ని ఇంగ్లీష్లో యునైటెడ్ నేషన్ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ ఆన్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ అండ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ UNCED అలా చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాము. 1992లో రియో డిజనైరోలో ఏర్పాటు చేయబడింది. పర్యావరణానికి సంబంధించిన ప్రతి అంశాన్ని ప్రభుత్వము బ్లూ ప్రింట్గా ఎజెండా 21 ప్రతి ప్రకారము తయారు చేశారు. పర్యావరణ క్షీణత, కొనసాగుతున్న వనరుల తరుగుదల కారణాలపై, దారిద్ర్యము, ఆకలి, జీవస్థితిగతులపై ఇది విస్తారముగా దృష్టి పెట్టింది. సమతుల అభివృద్ధి రూపకల్పన అయిన బర్లెల్యాండ్ కమిషన్కు చెందిన హార్లెమ్ బ్రస్ట్లాండ్ 1992లో జరిగిన మొదటి శిఖరాగ్ర సమావేశంలో సమతుల అభివృద్ధికై సిద్ధాంతపరమైన ఆధారాన్ని సమకూర్చారు ఈయన. ఐక్యరాజ్య పర్యావరణ అభివృద్ధి సమావేశాన్ని భూ శిఖరాగ్ర సమావేశముగా, ఈ యొక్క రియో డిజెనెరో భూ శిఖరాగ్ర సమావేశంగా, రియో సమావేశముగా, పోర్చుగీస్ భూ శిఖరాగ్ర సమావేశంగా పిలువబడే అతి పెద్ద ఐక్యరాజ్య సమావేశము పర్యావరణ దృక్పథంలో 3 నుంచి 14 జూన్ 1992 వరకు రియో డిజెనెరోలో ఇది అత్యంత గొప్పగా జరిగిందని చెప్పుకోవాలి. ఈ శిఖరాగ్ర సమావేశంలో ఐక్యరాజ్య రూపకల్పన, కన్వెన్షన్, వాతావరణ మార్పుల గురించి అనేక రకాల పరిశోధన పత్రాలు సమర్పించి ఈ యొక్క పర్యావరణాన్ని నిరంతరము ఎలా అభివృద్ధి పథంలోకి తీసుకువెళ్ళాలి అనే దృక్పథాన్ని ఏర్పరచుకున్నారు. ఈ యొక్క శిఖరాగ్ర సమావేశంలో సూచించిన సమస్యలు కూడా మనం చర్చిద్దాం. గ్యాస్లోని లెడ్, విషపూరితమైన వ్యర్థాలు, రేడియోధార్మిక రసాయనాలు తదితరాల ఉత్పత్తి ప్రక్రియలను క్రమబద్ధంగా పరిశీలించడం ప్రస్తుత వ్యవస్థలో ఇది ఎంతో ప్రాముఖ్యత సృష్టించుకున్నది. శిలాజాల ఇంధనాల స్థానంలో ప్రత్యామ్నాయ ఇంధన వనరులను మనం సృష్టించుకోవటము, ప్రజా రవాణా వ్యవస్థపై ఆధారపడటం ద్వారా వాహన కాలుష్యం కారణంగా ఏర్పడే వాహన ఉద్గారాలను, రద్దీ, ఆరోగ్య సమస్యలను తగ్గించటము, పెరుగుతున్న వినియోగము, పరిమితమైన నీటి సరఫరాను కూడా మనము కంట్రోల్ చేసుకోవటము, ఇవన్నీ జరగాలనేవి ప్రముఖ ఈ భూశిఖరాగ్ర సమావేశం 2019లో ఇవి ప్రముఖమైన సమస్యలుగా చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉన్నారనమాట. ఆ తర్వాత మన భారతదేశము ప్రస్తుత పరిస్థితులకు వచ్చేటప్పటికీ భారతంలో పరిశ్రమల నిర్వహణపై పర్యావరణ అనుమతులను, ఈ యొక్క పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణకై వివిధ రకాల రూపకల్పనలు చేశారు. వాటి అమలులో 1985లో ప్రత్యేకమైన పర్యావరణము, అడవుల శాఖ ఏర్పాటు చేశారు. పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణ అభివృద్ధి మన భారతదేశంలో మినిస్ట్రీ ఆఫ్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ అండ్ ఫారెస్ట్స్ MEF బాధ్యత నిర్వహిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. దీనివల్ల కేంద్ర కాలుష్య నిర్వహణ బోర్డులు వంటి ఇతర ముఖ్యమైన ఏజెన్సీలు పర్యావరణ కొరతకు నిరంతరము పనిచేస్తూ ఉంటాయనేది మనం ఇక్కడ తెలుసుకోవాల్సిన విషయం. ఆ తర్వాత ఈ పర్యావరణ పరిరక్షణలో అనేక రకాల పద్ధతులను భారతదేశ ప్రభుత్వము ఈ యొక్క ఇతర ఐక్యరాజ్య సమితి యొక్క సూచనల ప్రకారము ఎంతో అభివృద్ధి పథంలోకి తీసుకువెళ్ళింది అనేది మనము ఇక్కడ గమనించవలసిన విషయము. పర్యావరణంపై మానవ ప్రభావం వల్ల చాలా సమస్యలు ఏర్పడుతూ ఉంటాయి. అవన్నీ మనం ఇంతవరకు పరిశీలించుకున్నాము. వ్యక్తులు, వాణిజ్య సంస్థల లాభార్జనకై వినియోగ ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థ కొరకు ఆమోదయోగ్యమైన ప్రకృతుల వల్ల దోపిడీ కొనసాగుతూ ఉంటుంది. ఈ యొక్క కొనసాగుతున్న గాలి, నీరు, నేల కాలుష్యము పర్యావరణంతో క్రమానుగతమైన మార్పులకి గురవుతూ ఉంటుంది. భూగోళ తాపానికి దారితీస్తూ ఉంటుంది. తద్వారా జీవనోపాధి, ఆహార భద్రత, చివరికి మనిషి జీవితం కూడా కష్టతరముగా ఉంటూ ఉంటుంది. ఈ యొక్క పర్యావరణ క్షీణతకు సంబంధించిన నష్టాల గురించి, ఇది ప్రస్తుత భవిష్యత్తు తరాలపై తీవ్ర ప్రభావము చూపిస్తుందనే అవగాహనలో మానవుల్లో ఏర్పడింది. ప్రజలకు పర్యావరణం పట్ల తమ వైఖరి క్రమముగా వినియోగదారుల నుంచి రక్షకుడుగా రూపొందుతుంది. అదే సమయంలో ప్రకృతి, మానవ అంతర్ సంబంధాలను గౌరవించడము, భూగోళముపై ప్రతి అంశము మనకి సంబంధించిందని అర్థం చేసుకోగలిగి ఈ భావన వల్ల అభివృద్ధి ప్రపంచము సముదాయానికి కొత్త కేంద్రముగా ఆవిర్భవిస్తుంది అనేది ఈ లెసన్లో మనం చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాం. ఈ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ పరిరక్షణ పర్స్పెక్టివ్స్లో ప్రకృతి పరిరక్షణకి నిరంతరం ఎలా కృషి చేయాలి, ప్రజలు ప్రభుత్వము తమ భావాలను ఎలా మార్చుకోవాలి, మానవ మనుగడే పరిరక్షణ పద్ధతుల్లో ముఖ్యమైనది అనేది ఈ లెసన్ ద్వారా మనం గమనిస్తూ ఉంటాం. నమస్తే.
নমস্কাৰ আজি এটা আমি নতুন বিষয় লৈ পেলাই ক্লাছত আহিলো এটো হৈছে অৰ্থনৈতিক ৰাজনৈতিক আৰু ধৰ্মীয় প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহ এতিয়া নৃতাত্ত্বিক দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা from the anthropological point of view how can we study আমি কেনেকে অৰ্থনৈতিক ৰাজনৈতিক আৰু ধৰ্মীয় প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহৰ কি ভূমিকা তাৰ বিষয়ে আমি আলোচনা কৰিম প্ৰথমতে আমি অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহৰ বিষয়ে আমি জানি লওঁ অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহ কেনেকে স্থাপন হ'ল তাৰ ইতিহাসটো কেনেকুৱা আৰু নৃতাত্ত্বিক দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা আমি ইয়াক কেনেকে অধ্যয়ন কৰিব পাৰিম প্ৰথম কথাত অৰ্থনৈতিক বস্তুটো কেনেকে আহিলে আমি নৃতত্ত্বত অৰ্থনৈতিক কি দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা চাওঁ সেইটো কথা প্ৰথমতে আমি জানি ল'ব লাগিব এতিয়া আমি জানো নৃতত্ত্বৰ প্ৰধান দুটা শাখাৰ ভিতৰত আছিলে এটা আবয়িক নৃতত্ত্ব আৰু এটা সাংস্কৃতিক নৃতত্ত্ব আৰু সাংস্কৃতিক নৃতত্ত্বৰ তলত আমি অধ্যয়ন কৰিছিলো অৰ্থনৈতিক নৃতত্ত্ব তাৰ ভিতৰত আমি অৰ্থনৈতিক নৃতত্ত্বৰ ভিতৰত আমি বহু কথা আমি অধ্যয়ন কৰিছিলো প্ৰথমতে আমি জানিব লাগিব অৰ্থনৈতিক নৃতত্ত্বনো হয় কি নাইবা নৃতত্ত্বত অৰ্থনৈতিকৰ কি সম্পৰ্ক থাকিব এইটো কথা আমি জানিব লাগিব গতিকে প্ৰথমতে আমি জানিলো অৰ্থনৈতিক নৃতত্ত্ব হৈছে নৃতত্ত্বৰ এটা প্ৰধান শাখা য'ত আমি অতীতৰ পৰা বৰ্তমানলৈ মানুহে কেনেকে বিভিন্ন প্ৰকাৰে নিজৰ জীৱিকা অৰ্জন কৰিছে জীৱিকা অৰ্জন কৰিবলৈ তেওঁলোকে কেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ উপায় অৱলম্বন কৰিছে গতিকে সেই গুটিখিনি কথা আমি ইয়াত অধ্যয়ন কৰো আমি জানো মানুহৰ উৎপত্তিৰ লগে লগে সমাজত তেওঁলোকে মানুহে কেনেকে জীয়াই থাকিবলৈ বিভিন্ন ধৰণৰ পদ্ধতি অৱলম্বন কৰিছিল মানুহে সময় যোৱাৰ লগে লগে বিভিন্ন পদ্ধতি অৱলম্বন কৰি পৃথিৱীত জীয়াই থাকিবলৈ তেওঁলোকে বিভিন্ন কৌশল ব্যৱহাৰ কৰিছিল যেনেকৈ আমি যদি উৎপাদন জীৱিকাৰ বিষয়ে অধ্যয়ন কৰো তেতিয়া হলে তাৰ আগতে জানিব লাগিব অন্বেষণ জীৱিকা দুই ধৰণৰ আছিল অন্বেষণ আৰু উৎপাদন জীৱিকা গতিকে সময় যোৱাৰ লগে লগে যেতিয়া মানুহে উৎপাদন কৰা আৰম্ভ কৰিলে উৎপাদন কৰা আৰম্ভ কৰাৰ লগে লগে কিন্তু উৎপাদন জীৱিকাৰ প্ৰচলন হ'ল তাৰ আগতে বন মানুহসকলে তেওঁলোকৰ জীৱিকাৰ কাৰণে তেওঁলোকে শিকাৰ কৰিছিল মাছ মাৰিছিল জংঘলে জংঘলে গৈ তেওঁলোকে খাদ্য সংগ্ৰহ কৰিছিল কিন্তু সময় যোৱাৰ লগে লগে যেতিয়া উৎপাদন জীৱিকা আৰম্ভ হ'ল নৱপ্ৰস্তৰ যুগৰ পৰা যেতিয়া উৎপাদন জীৱিকা আৰম্ভ হ'ল তেতিয়া কিন্তু উৎপাদন জীৱিকাৰ বিভিন্ন কৌশলসমূহ উৎপাদন মানে লবলৈ আৰম্ভ কৰিলে আৰু তাৰ লগতে কিন্তু অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানটোৰো কিন্তু আৰম্ভ হ'ল অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানটোৰ ইয়াত বহুত গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ এটা কথা জড়িত হৈ আছে কাৰণ কি সমাজখনত সবেইটো একে ধৰণে জীয়াই থাকিবলৈ একে ধৰণৰ উপায় অৱলম্বন নকৰে জীয়াই থাকিবলৈ সময়ে সময়ে মানুহে বেলেগ বেলেগ ধৰণৰ উপায় অৱলম্বন কৰি আহিছে যেনেকৈ এসময়ত শিকাৰ কৰিছিল শিকাৰ কৰাৰ পিছত জংঘলে জংঘলে গৈ সংগ্ৰহ কৰিছিল সংগ্ৰহ জীৱিকা আছিল তাৰ পিছত মৎস্য জীৱিকা আহিল তাৰপিছত খেতি উৎপাদন জীৱিকা হ'ল উৎপাদন জীৱিকাৰ লগতে পশুপালনৰো আছে কথা গতিকে এই সময় ধাৰাটোত আমি যদি চাও এই সময়ৰ ধাৰাটোত মানুহে কেনেকে ক্ৰমান্বয়ে মানুহে কেনেকে মানে জীৱিকাৰ কাৰণে তেওঁলোকে কেনেকে বেলেগ বেলেগ ধৰণৰ মানে আহিলা তৈয়াৰ কৰিছিল গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানটোত আমি সামগ্ৰী সেৱন আৰু উৎপাদন বিতৰণ ব্যৱহাৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণৰ সমাজখনৰ ভিতৰত কেনেকে গাঁথনিটো আমি মূল গাঁথনিটোৰ বিষয় আৰু প্ৰণালীসমূহ বুজোৱা আমি অধ্যয়ন কৰো ইয়াত কেনেকে ধৰণৰ উৎপাদন সেৱা বিতৰণ আৰু ব্যৱহাৰ কেনেকে নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰি সমাজখন কেনেকে চলিছে এটা গাঁথনিৰ মাজত কেনেকে চলিছে কেনেকে মানুহে সমাজত উৎপাদন বস্তুখিনি কেনেকে বিতৰণ কৰিছে কিমানখিনি উৎপাদন কৰিছে সেই গুটেখিনি কথা কিন্তু আমি ইয়াত অধ্যয়ন কৰো প্ৰথমতে আমি জানিব লাগিব কাৰণে অৰ্থনৈতিক লগত আমাৰ নৃতত্ত্বৰ এটা গভীৰ সম্পৰ্ক আছে এইটো আমি প্ৰথমতে জানি ল'ব লাগিব কাৰণ কি যেতিয়া আমি অৰ্থনীতিৰ লগত যেতিয়া আমি মানুহৰ সংস্কৃতি জড়িত হৈ আছে কাৰণ কি অৰ্থনৈতিক নৃতত্ত্ব হৈছে সংস্কৃতিৰ এটা উপভাগ আৰু তাৰ লগত বিভিন্ন প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহ জড়িত হৈ আছে যেতিয়া মানুহে শিকাৰ কৰিব আৰম্ভ কৰিছিল তেতিয়াও কিন্তু তেওঁলোকে সংগঠিতভাৱেহে আগবাঢ়িছিল সেইটো তেওঁলোকৰ জীৱিকাৰ লগত আছিল তেওঁলোকে সংগঠিতভাৱে কৰিব লগা হৈছিল ঠিক তেনেদৰে খেতি কৰিবলৈ কিন্তু আগতে কি হৈছিল সমূহীয়া খেতি আছিল ব্যক্তি কেন্দ্ৰিক কেতিয়াও কাৰো আগত খেতি পথাৰ নাছিল যেতিয়া খেতি কৰিব গৈছিল মানুহে সমূহীয়াভাৱে এখন ডাঙৰ তেওঁলোকৰ খেতি পথাৰ আছিল তাতে গোটেই গাঁৱৰ ৰাইজে খেতি কৰিছিল যোনটো আগৰ মানে যদি আমি চাওঁ ইতিহাসটো আমি মেলি চাওঁ তাৰ পিছত সময় যোৱাৰ লগে লগে ব্যক্তিকেন্দ্ৰিক কথা আহি পৰিলে যে এইখিনি মাটি এজনৰ এইখিনি মোৰ তোমাৰ সেইখিনি ভাগ বতৰাৰ পিছত হ'ল যোনটো মানে ইন্ডিভিজুৱেল চেন্ট্ৰিকটো পিছত হ'ল আগতে কমিউনিটি এগ্ৰিকালচাৰ আছিল একেলগে এটা কমিউনিটি মিলি জুলি এটা দুখৰত তেওঁলোক খেতি কৰিছিল আৰু ঠিক ধৰণে তেওঁলোক সেইখিনি সময়ত বিতৰণ ব্যৱস্থাটো বেলেগ ধৰণৰ আছিল উৎপাদন কৰি বিতৰণ আৰু ব্যৱহাৰ ব্যৱস্থাটো বেলেগ ধৰণৰ আছিল বৰ্তমান সময়ৰ লগত এটো মিল নাখায় গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানটো এটা সমাজৰ গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ প্ৰতিষ্ঠান তাৰ জৰিয়তে সমাজত বিভিন্ন সামগ্ৰী উৎপাদন সেৱা উৎপাদন বিতৰণ আৰু ব্যৱহাৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰে কাক কিমানখিনি বস্তু উৎপাদন কৰি দিব লাগিব কোনে কিমানখিনি বস্তু পাব যে এতিয়া বৰ্তমান সময়ত যদি আমি যেতিয়াৰ পৰা মুদ্ৰাৰ প্ৰচলন আহিলে মুদ্ৰাৰ প্ৰচলন হোৱাৰ পিছত আমি যিকোনো বস্তু আমি কিনিব পাৰো শ্ৰমৰ বিনিময় আমি মুদ্ৰাৰ জৰিয়তে আমি বিনিময় প্ৰথাৰ মানে প্ৰচলন হৈ গ'ল যেতিয়া বিনিময় প্ৰথা মুদ্ৰাক আমি এক মানে মাধ্যম হিচাপে ব্যৱহাৰ কৰিলো বেচা কিনা যিকোনো বস্তু কিন্তু তাৰ আগতটো নাছিলে তাৰ আগত কি হৈছিলে বিনিময় প্ৰথা আছিলে বাৰ্টাৰ সিস্টেম আছিলে গতিকে সেইখিনি সময়ত কেনেকে ধৰণৰ মানে আমি অৰ্থনীতিটো কেনেকে ধৰণে চলিছিল সেইটো যদি আমি অধ্যয়ন কৰিব যাওঁ তেতিয়া আমি দেখা পাম তাতে জুখমাক বিলাক বেলেগ আছিলে এতিয়াও আমি যদি কাবাক খেতি মাটি কিছুমানে আধি দিয়ে কাম মানে নিজৰ খেতিখিনি বেলেগক কৰিবলৈ দিয়ে তাৰপা তেওঁলোকে এটা মানে পাৰ্ট তেওঁলোকে ৰাখে আৰু বাকিখিনি তেওঁলোকে দি দিয়ে যোনে খেতি কৰিছে গতিকে সেই প্ৰসেসটো কিন্তু জাগালত বেলেগ হ'ব কিন্তু প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে কিন্তু একোটা তেওঁলোকৰ নিজস্ব উৎপাদন ব্যৱস্থা বিতৰণ আৰু ব্যৱহাৰ কৰা নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰা ব্যৱস্থা পোৱা দেখা যায় প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে আছে নহলে যদি এই বিতৰণ ব্যৱস্থা আৰু ব্যৱহাৰ যদি আৰু মানে উৎপাদনৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ নাথাকে সমাজখনত এতিয়া বহুত অৰাজকতা সৃষ্টি হ'ব যোনখিনি মানুহে যিমানখিনি বস্তু পাব লাগে তাতকে পাই তেওঁলোকে বঞ্চিত হ'ব লগা হ'ব পাৰে সেইটো কি কাৰণে হ'ব পাৰে যেতিয়া তেওঁলোকে সেইখিনি মানে প্ৰাপ্য বস্তু পা তেওঁলোকে বঞ্চিত হ'ব পাৰে যেতিয়া তেওঁলোকে এইখিনি পা যোগ্য বুলি ভাবে কিন্তু তেওঁলোকে পোৱা নাই কি কাৰণে যদি কিছু মানে কাঢ়ি পেলাই লৈ গ'ল বস্তুখিনি কিন্তু এসময়ত হৈছিল এনেকুৱা গাৰ জুৰিৰে মানুহে লৈ লৈছিল কেতিয়াবা কিন্তু এতিয়া এনেকে নহব এতিয়া সব বস্তু একোটা সীমাবদ্ধ ধৰি দিয়া হয় এইখিনি বস্তু সেইখিনি পাব এইখিনি বস্তু এইখিনি পাব তাৰ মাজতো হয় বিবাদ হয় কিন্তু তাতে ভাগ বতৰা একোটা নিয়ম আছে খাদ্য উৎপাদন কৰিলে আগত খাদ্য যেতিয়া চাউলৰ খেতি কৰিছিল ধানৰ খেতি কৰিছিল তেতিয়া কি হৈছিল আগৰ সেইখিনি উৎপাদন কৰাৰ পিছত যিখিনি এক্সেস ৰৈ যায় সেইখিনি বিতৰণ কৰি দিছিলে বিতৰণৰ বিনিময় তেওঁলোকে তাৰ বিনিময় অন্য কিছুমান মানে কিছু অন্য শ্ৰম লৈছিলে ধৰি লওক অন্য কিছুমান বস্তু লৈছিলে কিন্তু যেতিয়াবা মুদ্ৰাৰ প্ৰচলন হ'ল সেইখিনি চাউল পাতি মানুহে বেছি পেলাই তাৰ প্ৰতি পইচাৰে তেওঁলোকে অন্য বস্তু কিনিব পৰা হ'ল গতিকে এই যোনটো মানে পৰম্পৰা যে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহৰ যোনটো মানে এটা নিয়ম সেই নিয়মটো হয়তো সমাজভেদে বেলেগ হ'ব কিন্তু এটো নহয় যে একেবাৰে নাই এখন সমাজত এনেকুৱা নাথাকিব এইটো নহয় প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে উৎপাদনৰ কিছু নিয়ম আছে যে এইখিনি মাটি আছে এইখিনি মাটিত ইমানখিনি খেতি কৰিব পাৰিব যে যাৰ মাটি হয় তেওঁ মালিকক এইখিনি বস্তু ধান দিব লাগিব বিতৰণ তেওঁলোকে এইখিনি ধান ইমানখিনি পায় তেওঁলোকে বেচিব আগত হয়তো এনেকুৱা নাথাকিব পাৰে মানুহে এনেই দিছিলে কিন্তু মানুহেটো আজিকালি এনেই নিদিয়ে দিয়ে কেতিয়াবা এনে ধৰি লওক কাবাৰ মানে দিছে কোনবাই দিছে কাৰকে দিছে ঘুৰাই পেলাই কিন্তু আজিকালি মানে সব বস্তু মুদ্ৰাৰ জৰিয়তে বিক্ৰী কৰি পেলাই আৰু তেওঁলোকে তাৰপা পইচা আহৰণ কৰে গতিকে সমাজত যোনটো মানে প্ৰডাকশন কনজাম্পশন ডিস্ট্ৰিবিউশন যোনটো আমাৰ চলি আছে সাইকেলটো এটো প্ৰত্যেকটো মানে সমাজতে হয়তো এটা বেলেগ হ'ব পাৰে কিন্তু প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে এটো প্ৰথাটো আছে মানুহে যেতিয়া পাই উৎপাদন কৰিব পৰা হল বস্তু তেওঁলোকে এটা উৎপাদন কৰাৰ পিছত যেতিয়া তেওঁলোকৰ সীমাত পৰা বেছি তেওঁলোকে উৎপাদন কৰে তেওঁলোকৰ এক্সেস বস্তু কিন্তু তেওঁলোকে কি কৰিব সেইখিনি সময়ত তেওঁলোকে এইখিনি বস্তু ইমানখিনি তেওঁলোকে ৰাখিব পৰা নাছিলে গতিকে যেতিয়াৰ পাই মানে উৎপাদন বেছি হ'ল এতিয়াৰ পাই কিন্তু বিতৰণৰ ব্যৱস্থাটো আৰম্ভ হ'ল উৎপাদন যেতিয়া বেছি হ'ল তেতিয়াবা বিতৰণ কৰিব পৰা হ'ল তাৰ আগত পৰা নাছিলে উৎপাদন যিমান হৈছিল যদি কম হৈছিলে তেতিয়াহলে কি হৈছিল যে সেইখিনি তেওঁলোকৰ সমাজখনতে শেষ হৈ যায় নাইবা তেওঁলোকৰ পৰিয়ালতে শেষ হৈ যায় এটা পৰিয়ালে যেতিয়া ধান উৎপাদন কৰিব তেওঁলোকৰ উৎপাদন বেছি হলেহে তেওঁলোকে এইখিনি বস্তু বিতৰণ কৰিব পাৰিব তেওঁলোকৰ যদি উৎপাদন সীমিত হয় এই সীমিত উৎপাদনৰে তেওঁলোকে কেনেকে বিতৰণ কৰিব বিতৰণ ব্যৱস্থাটো অসম্ভৱ গতিকে সেইখিনি কথা এটা গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ কথা এই প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে সম্পদ কেনেদৰে অৱৰ্তন কৰা হয় সিদ্ধান্ত লোৱা হয় আৰু অৰ্থনৈতিক কাৰ্যকলাপবোৰ সংগঠিত কৰা হয় তেওঁলোকে অৰ্থনৈতিক স্থিৰতা বজাই ৰখাত বিকাশ বৃদ্ধি কৰা আৰু সম্পদ ন্যায়সংগত প্ৰৱেশিকাৰ নিশ্চিত কৰাত এক গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ ভূমিকা পালন কৰি আহিছে গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহৰ অন্য কিছুমান গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ কথা জড়িত হৈ আছে যেনেকে সম্পদসমূহ এটা সম্পদ বেলেগে কেনেকে ল'ব সেই সম্পদটো এটা সম্পদ বেলেগে কেনেকে লৈছে হয়তো পইচা দি কিনি লৈছে নাইবা কোনবাই যদি তাৰ সেইখিনি বিনিময় মৰ্গেজ থৈছে কিছুমান ধাৰে বস্তুখিনি বন্ধক থৈছে তেতিয়া কি হ'ব সেই সম্পদৰ ভাগ এজনৰ পৰা এজনে বেলেগলৈ হস্তান্তৰ হ'ব ঠিক তেনেদৰে সিদ্ধান্ত লোৱাৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত অৰ্থনৈতিক কাৰ্যকলাপ সেই জায়গাখিনি কেনেকে চলাব সেই বস্তুখিনি কেনেকে বিতৰণ কৰিব যেতিয়া মানে আমাৰ যেতিয়া সংবিধান নোহোৱাৰ আগত যেতিয়া আমাৰ মানে সমাজত আইনৰ প্ৰিমিটিভ ল আছিল তেতিয়া কেনেকেনো এইবিলাক মানে বিতৰণ কৰিছিল সম্পদসমূহ গতিকে তাৰ সেইখিনি সময়ত অৰ্থনৈতিক কাৰ্যকলাপসমূহ বেলেগ ধৰণৰ আছিলে তাৰ নিয়ম সংগত বেলেগ আছিলে অৰ্থনৈতিক এই প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহ অত্যন্ত দৰকাৰী কাৰণ কি অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহে অৰ্থনৈতিক স্থিৰতা বজাই ৰখাত সহায় কৰে দেশখন স্থিৰ কৰি ৰাখে যদি এই উৎপাদন বিতৰণ আৰু ব্যৱহাৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণৰ ব্যৱস্থা নাথাকিল হয় তেতিয়া সমাজখননো কেনেকে চলিলহেঁতেন সমাজখনত অস্থিৰতা বিৰাজ কৰিলহেঁতেন সমাজত কি হলহেঁতেন এক শ্ৰেণী মানুহে ধৰি লওক তাৰ পৰা বহুতখিনি সুবিধা লৈ থাকিবহেঁতেন আৰু এক শ্ৰেণী মানুহ তাৰ পৰা তেওঁলোকে বঞ্চিত হ'ব লগা হলহেঁতেন তেওঁলোকে এটা শ্ৰেণীৰ মানুহে তাৰ পৰা বহুতখিনি সুবিধা লৈ তেওঁলোকে আগবাঢ়ি যাব কাৰণ এক শ্ৰেণী মানুহ বিপদ পৰি থাকিব গতিকে সম্পদসমূহ ন্যায়সংগত প্ৰৱেশিকাৰভাৱে এটা সম্পদ এটা কোনোবাই যদি প্ৰপাৰ্টি কিনিছে তেওঁলোকে সেইখিনি প্ৰপাৰ্টি ন্যায়সংগতভাৱেহে ল'ব পাৰিব বেলেগৰ পৰা তেওঁলোকে কাগজ পাতি থাকিব লাগিব গতিকে এই গোটেইখিনি কিন্তু এটা ইকনমিক মানে ইনষ্টিটিউচনৰ ভিতৰত পৰি যায় যে কেনেকে সেই বস্তুখিনি এটা হেৰিৰ পৰা অন্য এটা হেৰিলৈ অন্য এজন লোকলৈ কেনেকে এই বস্তুখিনি মানে দিয়া হয় কেনেকে মানুহে এইখিনি বস্তু গ্ৰহণ কৰে গতিকে অন্ন বস্ত্ৰ আৰু বাসস্থানৰ বাহিৰেও কিন্তু কিছুমান মানুহৰ কিছুমান দৈনিক প্ৰয়োজনীয়তা আছে আৰু সেই প্ৰয়োজনীয়তাসমূহ পূৰণ কৰিবলৈ অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে সবল হ'ব লাগিব আৰু সেই সবল হ'বলৈ যাওঁতে মানুহৰ মাজত কম্পিটিশ্যন ভাৱ হয় যে সম্পদ লৈ পেলাই মানুহৰ কাজিয়া সম্পত্তি লৈ পেলাই হয় এইখিনি সম্পদ আমাৰ সবৰে কি হয় কিছুমান নিডছ আছে আৰু সেইখিনি ফুলফিল কৰিবলৈ যাওঁতে যেতিয়া আমি মেটেৰিয়েল ওয়ান্স বিলাক আমি মানে আমাক যিখিনি বস্তু লাগে আমি সেইখিনি কৰিব যাওঁতে কেতিয়া হয় কাবাৰ বেছি কাবাৰ কম হয় আৰু সেই ধৰণে অৰ্থনৈতিক মানে প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহে কিন্তু কি দেখুৱাই আমাক কি হয় নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰে মানুহক সম্পদৰ আধাৰত নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰে কাৰ কিমান বেছি সম্পদ আছে আৰু তাৰ মাজতে কিন্তু ধনী দুখীয়া আমাৰ সমাজখনত যে ধনী দুখীয়া আছে সেইখিনিও কিন্তু নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰে লগতে কিন্তু আমি এই সম্পদৰ অৰ্থনৈতিকৰ মানে জৰিয়তে আমি ক'ব পাৰো যে কোন বেছি সমাজত প্ৰভাৱশালী হেতু কিন্তু আমাৰ অৰ্থনৈতিক দিশৰ পৰা আমি চালে আমি দেখা পাওঁ আৰু কাৰ হাতত বেছিকে সম্পদ আছে হেতু আমি দেখা পাওঁ যেনেকে কাৰ হাতত যাৰ পাৱাৰ বেছি আছে সম্পদ বেছি আছে সিয়ে বেছিকে ৰজা হ'ব আৰু যাৰ তাত নাই তাৰ তাত নাই গতিকে যাৰ তাত বস্তুখিনি আছে সম্পদখিনি আছে সেইখিনি অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে সবল আৰু যাৰ তাত নাই তেওঁলোকে অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে পিছপৰা গতিকে এইটো সমাজত ধনী দুখীয়া মানে যোনটো ইনইকুৱেলিটি সেইটো কিন্তু দেখুৱাই দিয়ে সেইটো কিন্তু দাঙি ধৰে নৃতাত্ত্বিক দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা সমাজত অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰ কাম কাজ কেৱল ভৌতিক উৎপাদন আৰু বিতৰণৰ বাহিৰেও বিস্তৃত গতিকে আমি নৃতাত্ত্বিক দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা যদি আমি চাওঁ তেতিয়া অকল যে মানে উৎপাদন কৰা বিতৰণ কৰা সেইটোৱে নহয় তাৰ লগত কিন্তু কিছুমান সাংস্কৃতিক আচৰণ কথাও জড়িত হৈ আছে অৰ্থনৈতিকৰ অকল ক্ষেত্ৰত যে মানে উৎপাদনে কৰিব অকল মানে নিজৰ কাৰণে হেৰি কৰিব মানে উৎপাদন কৰি যাব সেইটোকে নুবুজায় তাৰ লগত কিছুমান সাংস্কৃতিক আচৰণৰ জড়িত সামাজিক সংগঠন আৰু এটা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ মূল্যবোধ সৈতে গভীৰভাৱে জড়িত হৈ আছে গতিকে সাংস্কৃতিক আচৰণ মানে বুজাইছে যেনেকে যেতিয়া আমি এটা অন্য এটা ঠাইলৈ যাওঁ তাৰ যেতিয়া আমি সমাজখনৰ বিষয়ে সেই সমাজৰ যেতিয়া আমি কিছু বস্তু আমি কিনো তেতিয়া সেই বস্তুখিনি কিনো কি কৰে এই যে আমি সম্পদটো যেতিয়া আমি আহৰণ কৰিম তেতিয়া সেইখিনি সম্পদটোৰ লগত কিন্তু কিছু কালচাৰেল এলিমেন্ট জড়িত হৈ আছে ধৰি লওক আমি এখন আফ্ৰিকাৰ এটা মানে আমি এটা মুখা এখন কিনিলো ধৰি লওক তেতিয়া আমি তাৰ সেইটো কিনাৰ লগে লগে এটা প্ৰতীক হয় সেইটো আপোনাৰ সম্পদ অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে আপোনাৰ এইখিনি বস্তু আছে কিন্তু তাতে কি ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্ট কৰিছে তাতে সেই জায়গাখিনি কালচাৰটো সোমাই আছে যেনেকে অসমীয়া যদি গহনা সেইটো এটা সম্পদ অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে এটা সম্পদ আহৰণ কৰিছে ব্যক্তি কিন্তু সেই সম্পদৰ লগত কিছু সাংস্কৃতিক আচৰণ জড়িত হৈ আছে এই গহনাৰ লগত এই পৰম্পৰাগত গহনাৰ লগত কিছু কিছু মানে সংস্কৃতি আচৰণ জড়িত হৈ আছে এই ধৰণে জোনবিৰি হওক ঢোলবিৰি হওক সেই সম্পদ সোণৰ যি গহনাসমূহ অসমীয়া পৰম্পৰাগত সোণৰ গহনা সেইখিনি কিন্তু আমাৰ অসমীয়া সংস্কৃতিত লুকাই আছে গতিকে সম্পদ আহৰণ যোনটো অৰ্থনৈতিক মানে দিশৰ পৰা এটা গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ কথা তাৰ লগত কিন্তু সাংস্কৃতিক আচৰণো জড়িত হৈ আছে সামাজিক সংগঠন আৰু এটা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ মূল্যবোধ সৈতে গভীৰভাৱে জড়িত হৈ আছে নীতিত্ববিদসকলে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰক বহল সামাজিক গাঁথনিৰ ভিতৰত অন্তৰ্ভুক্ত বুলি ভাবিব পাৰে যি মানুহৰ আচৰণ সম্পৰ্ক আৰু সাংস্কৃতিক নিয়মবোৰ আকাৰ দিয়ে আৰু প্ৰতিফলিত কৰে গতিকে এই অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে বহল সামাজিক গাঁথনিৰ ভিতৰত পৰি যায় অন্তৰ্ভুক্ত যে ধনী দুখীয়া আমি যে মানে সমাজত ভাগ কৰি দিওঁ সম্পদৰ আধাৰতে ভাগ কৰোঁ সম্পৰ্ক আৰু সাংস্কৃতিক নিয়মবোৰ প্ৰত্যেকটো কিন্তু মানে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহত কিছু কিছু পৰম্পৰা জড়িত হৈ আছে কিছুমান নিয়ম জড়িত আছে যিকেইটা পৰম্পৰা আমি আগৰ পৰা মানি চলি আহিছো আৰু সেই পৰম্পৰাৰ লগত কিছু কিছু আমাৰ সামাজিক গাঁথনি অন্তৰ্ভুক্ত আছে সম্পৰ্ক জড়িত হৈ আছে আৰু সাংস্কৃতিক নিয়মবোৰ আমি আকাৰ দিয়ে উদাহৰণস্বৰূপে মই যেনেকৈ অসমীয়া গহনাৰ কথা ক'লো সেই গহনাৰ লগত যাৰ বেছিকে আছে তাৰ সমাজত সি ধনী বুলি ধৰিলে আৰু সেই গহনাৰ লগত কিন্তু আমি একোটা পৰম্পৰাগত যোনটো আমাৰ কালচাৰ সেইটো কিন্তু আমি দেখা পাওঁ আমাৰ সেই সংস্কৃতিখিনি আমাৰ চকুত প্ৰতিফলিত হয় এই সংস্কৃতি কেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ পৰম্পৰা আছে সেইখিনি আমি ইয়াত দাঙি ধৰিব পাৰোঁ এতিয়া সমাজত অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানৰ কাৰ্য নৃতাত্ত্বিক দৃষ্টিভংগীৰ পৰা আমি ইয়াৰ কাৰ্যসমূহ কেনেকৈ আমি অধ্যয়ন কৰি যাওঁ ইয়াৰ কেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কাৰ্য হ'ব পাৰে ইয়াৰ কাৰ্যটো যদি আমি নৃতাত্ত্বিক দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা চাওঁ তেতিয়াহ'লে প্ৰথমটো হৈছে মৌলিক প্ৰয়োজনীয়তা ব্যৱস্থা যোনটো আমাৰ বেছিক নিডছ সেইখিনি ফুলফিল কৰা হৈছে ইকনমিক মানে ইনষ্টিটিউচনৰ প্ৰথম যেনে খাদ্য অন্ন আৰু বাসস্থান খাদ্য আশ্ৰয় আৰু বাসস্থানটো হৈছে মানে আমাৰ মৌলিক প্ৰয়োজনীয়তা বেছিক নিডছ বুলি ক'ব পাৰোঁ খাদ্য আশ্ৰয় আৰু কাপোৰ যিকেইটা মানে অত্যন্ত দৰকাৰী মানুহে বেলেগ বস্তু কিনক নিকিনক বেলেগ বস্তু তেওঁলোকৰ থাকক নাথাকক যদি বেছিক খাদ্যখিনি পায় সেই মানুহজনৰ যদি এটা আশ্ৰয়স্থল আছে আৰু লগত যদি তেওঁৰ কাপোৰ আছে পিন্ধিবলৈ তেতিয়াহ'লে তেওঁ অন্য বস্তুতকৈ এইকেইটা হৈছে অত্যন্ত মানে গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ মানুহে খাদ্যৰ অবিহনে কেনেকৈ জীয়াব তেওঁ বেলেগ যিমান ধৰণৰ তেওঁ এটা লেভিছ লাইফষ্টাইল জীয়াওক কিন্তু তেওঁক বেছিক বস্তুটো লাগিব তেওঁক খাদ্যটো দৰকাৰ হ'ব আশ্ৰয় সেনেকৈ ঠিক ঠাক লাগিব আৰু কাপোৰ এইকেইটা অত্যন্ত দৰকাৰী অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰ জীয়াই থকাৰ বাবে প্ৰয়োজনীয় সম্পদ উৎপাদন বিনিময় আৰু বিতৰণৰ নিশ্চিত কৰে যেনেকৈ প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহ জীয়াই থাকিবলৈ সম্পদসমূহ লাগিব সম্পদ যদি উৎপাদন নকৰে উৎপাদনৰ জৰিয়তে যদি বিনিময় নকৰে তেতিয়া মানুহে কেনেকৈ পাব এতিয়া আমিতো প্ৰত্যেক বস্তু আমি নিজে উৎপাদন কৰিব নোৱাৰোঁ যিখিনি মানুহে চহৰত থাকে খেতিৰ লগত যিখিনি জড়িত নহয় সেই লোকসকলে কেনেকৈ গোটেইখিনি বস্তু পাব গতিকে তাৰ কাৰণে আমাৰ সমাজত যদি অৰ্থনৈতিক মানে ব্যৱস্থাটো চলাই ৰাখিবলৈ এটা তাৰ মাজত এটা মানে বুজাবুজি আছে যেনেকৈ কাৰোবাৰ যদি কোনোবাই যদি খেতি কৰা নাই তেওঁ গৈ পেলাই তেওঁ চাউলখিনি কিনিব পাৰিব গৈ পেলাই গতিকে তেওঁ হয়তো খেতি কৰিব নোৱাৰিব পাৰে কিন্তু তেওঁ সেইখিনি বস্তু মুদ্ৰাৰ জৰিয়তে তেওঁ সেইখিনি কিনিব পাৰিব গতিকে নিজৰ প্ৰয়োজনীয়তা সম্পদসমূহ যেনেকৈ অন্য বস্তু আছে যিবিলাক আমাৰ ঔষধ পাতি সেইবিলাকতো একোটা মানে প্ৰচেছ হৈ পেলাই বনোৱা গৈছে একোটা অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠান সেইবিলাকৰ পৰা বস্তুখিনি মানে লোৱা হৈছে বাহিৰৰ পৰা ঔষধ পাতি অন্য বেলেগ খাদ্য সেই বস্তুসমূহ বেলেগ জাগাৰ পৰা আহৰণ কৰা হৈছে গোটেই বস্তুটো মানুহে তৈয়াৰ নকৰে এতিয়া ঔষধ পাতিটো মানুহে প্ৰত্যেক ঘৰে ঘৰে নিজে ঔষধ নবনায় সেইখিনি বস্তু তেওঁলোকে বেলেগৰ পৰা ডিপেণ্ডেণ্ট হৈ ল'ব লাগিব সেইকাৰণে গতিকে সেইটো এটা কোঅপাৰেশ্যন থাকিব লাগিব যেনেকে আগতে কি হৈছিল চিকাৰজীৱী সম্প্ৰদায়সমূহে তেওঁলোকে যেতিয়া চিকাৰত তেওঁলোকে পাৰ্গত তেওঁলোকে চিকাৰ কৰি পেলাই সেইখিনি বস্তু তেওঁলোকে অস্ত্ৰ যোনে তৈয়াৰ কৰিছিল অস্ত্ৰ বনোৱা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ লগত তেওঁলোকে সেইখিনি বিনিময় কৰিছিল গতিকে সেই বিনিময় প্ৰথাটো হয়তো পইচাৰ সময়ৰ লগত বেলেগ হৈছে কিন্তু এতিয়া পইচাৰ জৰিয়তে হলেও কিন্তু মানুহে বস্তুখিনি মানে নিজৰ মৌলিক প্ৰয়োজনীয়খিনি পূৰণ কৰি আহিছে পৰম্পৰাগত সমাজত ইয়াৰ জীৱিকা পালন কৰাৰ সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ চিকাৰ প্ৰথা অন্তৰ্ভুক্ত থাকিব পাৰে যে জীৱিকাৰ লগত মই যোনটো ক'লো যে চিকাৰ প্ৰথা জড়িত হৈ আছে মানুহে কি ধৰণৰ বস্তু চিকাৰ কৰিব চিকাৰৰ লগত তেওঁলোকে সেই চিকাৰৰ বস্তুখিনি তেওঁলোকে তাৰ বিনিময়ত কিবা এটা কিনিব তেওঁলোকে চিকাৰৰ ওপৰতে তেওঁলোকে অস্ত্ৰ কিনিব যোনটো আছিল সময়ত প্ৰথা গতিকে সেই ধৰণৰ প্ৰথা এতিয়াও আছে মানুহে হয়তো মানে বস্তুৰ প্ৰতি বস্তু নলব কিন্তু তেওঁলোকে মুদ্ৰাই এনেকুৱা এটা মাধ্যম যাৰ জৰিয়তে তেওঁলোকে মানে সকলো বস্তু কিনিব মানে বেচিব পাৰে নেক্সট পইণ্টটো হৈছে সামাজিক সংগঠন আৰু সংহতি অৰ্থনৈতিক কাৰ্যকলাপে প্ৰায় সামাজিক ভূমিকা আৰু সম্পৰ্ক নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰে উদাহৰণস্বৰূপে আত্মীয়তা নিৰ্ধাৰণ অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে পাৰিবাৰিক সম্পৰ্ক অনুসৰি সম্পদ বিতৰণ আৰু কৰে আৰু আনহাতে বজাৰ অৰ্থনৈতিক শ্ৰমিক আৰু উদ্যোগী আৰু গ্ৰাহকৰ দৰে ভূমিকাৰ জৰিয়তে উৎপাদন সংগঠিত কৰে গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক কাৰ্যকলাপৰ কি হয় সাধাৰণতে সামাজিক ভূমিকা আছে প্ৰায় আৰু এটা সম্পৰ্ক নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰে যে সম্পৰ্ক কেনেকে ধৰণৰ অৰ্থনীতিৰ লগত আমি যেতিয়া বস্তু কিনা বেচা কৰে তেতিয়া বস্তু কিনা বেচা কৰিলে আমি কিন্তু দেখো এটা সম্পৰ্ক হয় যেনেকে দোকানী আমি যি দোকানত যাওঁ যিখিনি মানুহৰ পৰা বস্তু কিনি তেওঁলোকৰ লগত যে অকল মানে আমি মানে অকল যে বস্তুখিনি কিনিলো সেনেকুৱা নহয় কেতিয়াবা আমাৰ কি হয় বহুতখিনি পুৰণা কিছুমান গ্ৰাহক থাকে মানুহৰ দোকানীবিলাকৰ তেতিয়া তেওঁলোকে তাৰ পৰাই বস্তুখিনি লয় তাৰ পৰাই তেওঁলোকে কিনা বেচা কৰিলে গতিকে তাৰ মাজতে কিন্তু তেওঁলোকৰ আস্তে আস্তে এটা মানে সম্পৰ্ক গঠিত হৈ যায় সামাজিক সংগঠন হৈ যায় যেনেকে আমি দেখিছো বহু ক্ষেত্ৰত বহুবিলাক মানে বিজনেছ মানুহবিলাকে একগোট হৈ পেলাই এটা সংগঠন তেওঁলোকে সৃষ্টি কৰি লয় এই সংগঠনটোৱে কি কৰে তেওঁলোকৰ মানে যিখিনি ডিমান্ড তেওঁলোকে যিখিনি বস্তু বিচাৰিছে তেওঁলোকৰ যিখিনি প্ৰব্লেম তেওঁলোকে সেইখিনি বস্তু মানে দাঙি ধৰিব পাৰে যে এইখিনি বস্তু তেওঁলোকক সলনি পাৰস্পৰিকতা আৰু সামাজিক বান্ধোনৰ ওপৰত গুৰুত্ব দিয়ে যেনেকে সাংস্কৃতিক এটা মানে কালচাৰেল এক্সচেঞ্জ বুলি ক'ব পাৰি এটা মানে সাংস্কৃতিক মানে বন্ডিং এইটো কেনেকেনো হয় ইয়াটোৰ জৰিয়তেও হয় কিন্তু অৰ্থনৈতিক অনুশীলনে যেতিয়া মানুহৰ মাজত যেতিয়া অৰ্থনৈতিক কিনা বেচা যেতিয়া হ'ব তেতিয়া কি হয় কেতিয়াবা কি হয় কিছুমান মানে সমাজত আমি দেখা পাওঁ উপহাৰ দিয়ে অৰ্থনৈতিক লাভৰ সলনি তাতে কোনো ধৰণৰ মানে লাভ নাচায় তেওঁলোকে বস্তুটো দিলে সেইটো মানে এটা উপহাৰ হিচাপে দিলে মানে যাতে তেওঁলোকৰ মাজত মানে এটা ভাল বন্ডিং থাকে দেখা পাওঁ যে কিছুমান আগত বিশেষকৈ আগৰ মানে সৰল সমাজত আমি দেখিছিলো যাতে কি হৈছিলে অন্য এটা সমাজৰ লোকে বেলেগ এটা সমাজৰ লোকক তেওঁলোকে কি কৰে তেওঁলোকে উপহাৰ দিয়ে বিভিন্ন উপহাৰসমূহ দিয়ে উপহাৰ কিয় দিয়ে যাতে সেই উপহাৰখিনি বদলি তেওঁলোকৰ মাজত এটা ভাল সুসম্পৰ্ক থাকে আৰু এই সুসম্পৰ্কটো যাতে সদায় বজি থাকে সদায় যাতে তেওঁলোকৰ মাজত মানে সহায় সহযোগ থাকে সেইকাৰণে বহু ক্ষেত্ৰত আমি দেখা পাওঁ বিশেষকৈ গাঁওসমূহত যেতিয়া কাবাৰ খুবেই মানে দৰকাৰ হৈ যায় মানে অভাৱ পৰে তেতিয়া কি হয় মানুহে সহায় কৰে তাতে কোনো ধৰণৰ তেওঁলোকে অৰ্থনৈতিক লাভৰ কথা চিন্তা নকৰে ইজনে সিজনক সহায় কৰাটো আমি দেখা পাওঁ সৰল সমাজত খুবেই আছে মানে আৰু তাৰ বিনিময়ত কি হয় তাৰ বিনিময়ত তেওঁলোকৰ মাজত এটা ভাল বন্ডিঙৰ সৃষ্টি হয় সামাজিক পদানুক্ৰমৰ ৰক্ষণাবেক্ষণ অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহে সম্পদসমূহ কি কৰে অৱৰ্তন কৰি সামাজিক স্তৰকৰণৰ শক্তিশালী কৰি তোলে কিছুমান সমাজত সম্পদ আৰু সম্পদ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ স্থিৰ আৰু শক্তিশালী কেন্দ্ৰস্থল হৈ পৰে সামাজিক পদানুক্ৰমৰ ৰক্ষণাবেক্ষণ যে আমি এনেকুৱা এটা সদায় ধাৰণা আছে যে যাৰ সম্পদ বেছি সি বেছিকে সমাজত শক্তিশালী নাইবা তাৰ স্থান ওপৰত আমি এজন ব্যক্তিক মানে কেনেকে নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰো প্ৰথম কথা সেই ব্যক্তিজনক আমি বহু কথাত চাই পেলাইহে আমি কওঁ যে তেওঁ খুবেই ভাল মানে এইটো মানে তেওঁ খুবেই প্ৰভাৱশালী নাইবা তেওঁৰ মানে খুবেই ধনী দুখীয়া আমি কেনেকে নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰো আমি ধনী দুখীয়া নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰো কেনেকে তেওঁৰ অৰ্থনৈতিক কিমানখিনি সবল গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক মানে দিশৰ পৰা যদি আমি চাওঁ তেতিয়া আমি দেখা পাম এজন ব্যক্তি কেনেকে শক্তিশালী হ'ল তেওঁ যদি সামাজিক স্তৰকৰণত শক্তিশালী হ'বলৈ হলে তেওঁ সামাজিক মানে অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে তেওঁ সবল হ'ব লাগিব সম্পদ আৰু সম্পদৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণৰ ওপৰত আমি শক্তিশালী আমি কোন শক্তি কোন মানে দুৰ্বল আমি নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰো যেনেকে উদাহৰণ স্বৰূপে যাৰ সম্পদ বেছি যোনে সম্পদৰ লগত ওপৰত তেওঁলোকৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ বেছিকে আছে আমি কি কৰো সেইজন ব্যক্তিক আমি ধনী বুলি কৈ দিলো কাৰণ কি তেওঁৰ সম্পদৰ ওপৰত নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ বেছি আৰু যাৰ কম ধৰি লওক আমি তেওঁক দুখীয়া বুলি ক'লো তেওঁলোকৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ বেছি কম মানে তেওঁৰ হাতত বেছিকে আছে আৰু আমাৰ কমকে আছে গতিকে তাৰ জৰিয়তে কিন্তু আমি সমাজত পদানুক্ৰমৰ সৃষ্টি কৰো যে আমি ধনী দুখীয়া আমি মিডল ক্লাস আমি যে ভাগ কৰিলো কিহৰ আধাৰত কৰো বেলেগ গুণটো নাছে মানুহেজন ভাল তেওঁৰ মানে যিমানখিনি সম্পদ আছে অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে তেওঁ কিমানখিনি সবল তাৰ আধাৰতে আমি কিন্তু মানুহজনক নাইবা সেই লোকসকলক আমি ভাগ কৰিলো যে ধনী দুখীয়া আমি হেনেকে মানে ভাগ কৰো নেক্সট পইণ্ট হল সম্পদৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ বহুতো সমাজে দুৰ্লভ সম্পদ ৰক্ষা কৰিবলৈ নিয়ম বা ৰীতি-নীতি বিকাশিত কৰে যেনে সাম্প্ৰদায়িক ভূমিকাৰ ন্যায় পানী ভাগ বতৰা প্ৰথা বা চিকাৰৰ নিষিদ্ধতা বিনিময়ৰ প্ৰণালী আৰু একত্ৰীকৰণৰ গতিকে আমি যদি চাওঁ যে সম্পদৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰাৰ কোনো এটা আমি প্ৰথাৰে আমি কিন্তু দেখা পালো যে কিছুমান সম্পদৰ লগতটো কিন্তু যেতিয়া আমি অৰ্থনৈতিক দিশৰ পৰা চালো যে কিছুমান সমাজত এইখিনি বস্তু তেওঁলোকৰ এইখিনি সম্পদে আছে তাৰ বাহিৰে নাই গতিকে আমি তেওঁলোকে এইখিনি বস্তু স্বীকাৰ কৰিব নোৱাৰে তাৰ লগত এটা পৰম্পৰাগত মানে আহি যায় যে পৰম্পৰাগত যেনেকে কিছুমান মানে ট্ৰেডিশন থাকি যায় যে এটো স্বীকাৰ কৰিব নালাগে স্বীকাৰ কৰিলে তেওঁলোকৰ হেতু মানে বেয়া ঠিক তেনেদৰে কিছুমান মানে যেনেকে গড়ৰ খৰ্গটো মানে কাটি লৈ পেলাই মানে কি কৰিছে এটো মানে ইলিগেলি হেৰি কৰিছে কিন্তু এটো যদি আমি এটা মানে তাৰ এটা যদি টেবু এসোসিয়েট কৰি দিও তেতিয়া কি হ'ব তেওঁলোকে এইখিনি বস্তু মানে নকৰিব আৰু তাৰ লগত তেওঁলোকে এইখিনি কাম কৰিবলৈ মানে হেৰি কৰিব ঠিক তেনেদৰে খেতি কৰা হাল বোৱাটো সাধাৰণতে কি আছিল আগতে আমাৰ সমাজত আছিল কি পুৰুষসকলে কৰিব কিন্তু এতিয়া কিয় মহিলাসকলেও খেতি কৰিব পাৰে কিন্তু এসময় নাছিল তাৰ লগত কিছুমান নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ আছে যেনেকে এসময়ত সম্পত্তি অধিকাৰ মানে কি হৈছিল পুৰুষসকলে পাইছিল মহিলাসকলক দিয়া নাছিল সম্পত্তিৰ অধিকাৰ গতিকে তেতিয়া সেই সমাজত হেদেকে সম্পদ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰিছিল এইখিনি সময়ত যে এইখিনি সম্পদ নাপাব এইখিনি মানে এইখিনি যিখিনি সম্পদ এইখিনি মহিলাসকলে নাপাব পুৰুষসকলে তাতে অকল ভাগ পাব গতিকে এনেকে প্ৰকাৰে হলো কিন্তু সমাজত সম্পদৰ কিছু মানে নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰিছিল আৰু কিছু নীতি নিয়ম জড়িত হৈছে ৰীতি-নীতি জড়িত হৈ আছে যেনেকে এইখিনি বস্তু মানে লব নোৱাৰে এইখিনি জায়গাত মানুহে স্বীকাৰ কৰিব নোৱাৰে গতিকে কিছু সমাজত আমি কিছুমান মানে নিয়ম দেখা পাম সেই নিয়মসমূহ একদম আগৰ পৰাই চলি আছে পৰম্পৰাগতভাৱে আৰু সেই নিয়মসমূহ কোনো উলংঘন কৰিব পৰা নাই আৰু কৰিলে হয়তো কিছুমান তাতে মানে কিছু কথা জড়িত আছে হয়তো এইখিনি ভয়তে মানুহে নকৰে গতিকে তাৰ লগতো কিন্তু সম্পদৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কথা জড়িত হৈ আছে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে বিনিময় প্ৰণালীৰ সুবিধা প্ৰদান কৰে যেনে বিনিময় পুনৰ বিতৰণ বা বজাৰ বাণিজ্য উদাহৰণ স্বৰূপে থলুৱা প্ৰান্তৰ মহাসাগৰীয় উত্তৰ পশ্চিম সংস্কৃতিত পটলেক্স অনুষ্ঠানবোৰে অৰ্থনৈতিক আৰু সামাজিক দুইটা অনুষ্ঠান হিচাপে কাম কৰে গতিকে পটলেক্স যোনটো মানে পৰম্পৰা সেইটো পৰম্পৰা কিন্তু অৰ্থনৈতিক আৰু সামাজিক দুইটাত বুজায় তাতে কি হয় ধৰি লওক যাৰ সম্পদ বেছি আছে তেওঁলোকে সেইখিনি মানে মানে তেওঁলোকে কি কৰে সেইখিনি তেওঁলোকে গিফ্ট হিচাপে দিয়ে চেৰেমনিয়েল এক্সচেঞ্জ অফ গিফ্ট তেওঁলোকে কি কৰে এটা পৰম্পৰাগত হেৰি ৰাখি পেলাই তেওঁলোকে মানে উপহাৰ দিব আৰু যোনে যিমান বেছি উপহাৰ দিব পাৰে দামী তেওঁ বেছি মানে প্ৰভাৱশালী ভাবে আৰু নাইবা এনেকুৱাও দেখা যায় মানে যিসকলৰ মানে অৱস্থা ভাল তেওঁলোকক ভাল সম্পদ দিব আৰু যাৰ কম মানে তেওঁৰ ইকনমিক হেৰিটো চাই পেলাই অৰ্থনৈতিক হেৰি দিশটো চাই পেলাই তেওঁলোকক সম্পদ দিয়া হয় গতিকে এনেকুৱা এটা পৰম্পৰাও আমি পোৱা যায় তাৰ লগতে আমি মেলিনস্কি কুলা এটা মানে এক্সচেঞ্জৰ এটা পৰম্পৰা তেওঁ পাইছিল তেওঁ ট্ৰবিয়ান মানে দ্বীপপুঞ্জত তেওঁ যেতিয়া অধ্যয়ন কৰিছিল তেতিয়া তেওঁ পাইছিল যে কুলা এক্সচেঞ্জ বুলি তাতে ব্ৰেচলেট আৰু নেকলেছৰ যোনটো মানে এক্সচেঞ্জ হৈ থাকে তাৰ এটা তেওঁ মানে খুব উদাহৰণ দেখাইছে আৰু যাৰ হাততে এই দুটা বস্তু থাকে তেওঁকে খুবেই পলিটিকেলি আৰু মানে ছ'চিয়েলি খুবেই পাৱাৰফুল শক্তিশালী বুলি ধৰা হয় গতিকে এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কিছুমান মানে কথা জড়িত হৈছে যে সম্পদটো যাৰ তাত আছে তেওঁ মানে তেওঁ আটাইতকৈ শক্তিশালী বুলি কৰা গতিকে এইটো এটা মানে কুলাৰ ৰিংটো এটা মানে পৰম্পৰা কিন্তু তেওঁলোকৰ যাৰ সেই মানে চাৰ্কল হৈ যায় যি ঘূৰি থাকিব এবাৰ এজনৰ পৰা এজন সম্প্ৰদায় এটাৰ পৰা অন্য এটা পৰিয়াললৈ যাব গতিকে এই গোটেই এটা মানে সাইক্লিক উইথ যে ঘূৰি থাকে মানে নেকলেছ আৰু ব্ৰেচলেট সেইটো মানে যাৰ হাততে থাকে তেওঁলোকে আটাইতকৈ শক্তিশালী আৰু তেওঁলোকৰ প্ৰভাৱশালী বুলি ধৰা যায় এইটো দুটা সাইডৰ পৰা অৰ্থনৈতিক দিশৰ পৰা আৰু লগতে ৰাজনীতিক দিশৰ পৰাও ধৰা যায় গতিকে এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ কিছুমান মানে কথা জড়িত হৈছে যে এটা সম্পদ কাৰ হাতত আছে যদি সেই মানুহজনৰ তাত আছে তেওঁ খুবেই মানে পাৱাৰফুল আৰু খুবেই ধনী এনেকুৱা আমি মানে ভাগ কৰো সমাজত পৰিৱেশৰ সৈতে অভিযোজন অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে স্থানীয় পৰিস্থিতি বা উপযুক্ত সম্পদ ব্যৱহাৰ ৰাজনীতি বিকাশিত কৰে সমাজবোৰক তেওঁলোকৰ পৰিৱেশৰ সৈতে খাপ খোৱাবলৈ সক্ষম কৰে যেনে শুকান অঞ্চলৰ যাযাবৰৰ জাক বা বানপানীত ধান খেতি গতিকে পৰিৱেশৰ সৈতে অভিযোজন পৰিৱেশৰ লগত অভিযোজনটো বুজায় অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে যেনেকে যাযাবৰসকল যে ঘূৰি ফুৰে কিয় তেওঁলোকে এটা অঞ্চলৰ পৰা অন্য অঞ্চললৈ জাক পাতি তেওঁলোকে যায় কিয় যায় জাক পাতি কাৰণ কি এটা অঞ্চলত তেওঁলোকৰ খাদ্য মানে কম হৈ যায় সংকটত পৰি যায় গতিকে তেতিয়া কি হয় তেওঁলোকে অন্য এটা অঞ্চললৈ যাব লাগে অন্য অঞ্চললৈ গৈ পেলাই তেওঁলোকে সেইখিনি জেগা যেতিয়া খাদ্য আকৌ মানে দিগদাৰ হ'ব প্ৰব্লেম হ'ব তেতিয়া তেওঁলোকে এটা অন্য অঞ্চললৈ গুচি যায় গতিকে সম্পদৰ ব্যৱহাৰ লগতো কিন্তু ৰণনীতি বিকাশিত কৰা হয় সম্পদৰ ব্যৱহাৰৰ ওপৰত যদি সেইখিনি সময়ত সম্পদ নাই সেইখিনি জেগাত যদি সম্পদ নাই তেওঁলোকে কি কৰে অন্য এটা জেগালৈ গুচি যায় যিখিনি মানে যাযাবৰসকল গতিকে সেনেকেও কিন্তু মানে সময়ে সময়ে এইবিলাক বস্তু হৈ থাকে গতিকে ৰাজনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে স্থানীয় পৰিৱেশৰ পৰিস্থিতিৰ বাবে উপযুক্ত সম্পদ ব্যৱহাৰ যিখিনি উপযুক্ত হয় সেইখিনি সম্পদ ব্যৱহাৰৰ ওপৰত সদায় বিকাশিত কৰি আহিছে সমাজবাদ তেওঁলোকে পৰিৱেশতে খাপ খাবলৈ যেনে পৰিৱেশৰ লগত খাপ খাবলৈ তেওঁলোকে কি কৰে ঘূৰি ফুৰে যাযাবৰসকল যেনেকে ঠিক তেনেদৰে বানপানী যি বসবাস কৰে বানপানী অঞ্চলত ধান খেতি বেছিকে হয় ধান খেতি কিয় হয় কাৰণ কি সেইখিনি জেগাসমূহত মানে পানী খুবেই দৰকাৰ আৰু পানী সেইখিনি জেগা যদি কৰিবলৈ যাওঁ তেতিয়াহ'লে আমাৰ কি হ'ব আমি পানী অঞ্চলতে খেতি কৰিব পাৰিম গতিকে মানে যোনটো পানী খেতি সেইটো সাধাৰণতে বানপানী অঞ্চলত বেছিকে মানে য'ত পানী থাকে পানীৰ বেছিকে পোৱা যায় গতিকে সেই অঞ্চলত বেছিকে হয় আৰু তাৰ পৰা তেওঁলোকে বেছিকে আয় অৰ্জন কৰে গতিকে পৰিৱেশৰ লগত কিন্তু অৰ্থনৈতিকৰ এটা গোপন সম্পৰ্ক জড়িত হৈ আছে আগৰ পৰাই পৰিৱৰ্তনৰ মধ্যস্থৰতা গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে নতুন প্ৰণালীৰ সৈতে পৰম্পৰাগত পদ্ধতিৰ মিশ্ৰণ কৰি বিশ্বায়ন উপনিৱেশ স্থাপন বা প্ৰযুক্তিগত উদ্ভাৱনৰ দৰে বাহ্যিক প্ৰভাৱ মধ্যস্থৰ হিচাপে কাম কৰে পৰিৱৰ্তনৰ মধ্যস্থৰ পৰিৱৰ্তন পৰম্পৰা পদ্ধতিৰ লগত তেওঁলোকে মিশ্ৰণ কৰি কাম কৰে প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে যেনেকে উদাহৰণস্বৰূপে খেতি কৰা পদ্ধতিৰ কথাই ক'লো খেতি কৰা পদ্ধতি এতিয়া আমি যদি খেতি কৰা পদ্ধতি চাওঁ সেই আগৰ খেতি কৰা পদ্ধতিৰ লগত একেই আছে নেকি নাই তাৰ লগতে আমি এইটো চাব লাগিব আগৰ যিবিলাক মানে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠান বিশেষকৈ খেতিৰ লগত যিবিলাক জড়িত তেওঁলোকে এতিয়াও সেই বিতৰণ ব্যৱস্থা একেধৰণে চলাই জানো জানো তেওঁলোকে মানুহক বিতৰণ কৰি দিয়ে নেকি সেইটোতো কেতিয়াও নিদিয়ে তেওঁলোকে কি কৰে তেওঁলোকে যিখিনি মানে বেছিকে বস্তু ৰৈ গৈছে সেইখিনি বস্তু তেওঁলোকে মানুহক এনে বিতৰণ কৰি নিদিয়ে তেওঁলোকে তাৰ বিনিময়ত আজিকালি খেতিয়কসকলে বিক্ৰী কৰিব বস্তুবিলাক তেওঁলোকে নিদিয়ে গতিকে মুদ্ৰাৰ প্ৰচলন হোৱাৰ পিছত তাতে কিন্তু পৰম্পৰাৰ পদ্ধতিত পৰিৱৰ্তন হৈছে কিন্তু এইটো নহয় যে তেওঁলোকে কেতিয়াও কাকো এনেও নিদিয়ে পৰম্পৰা পদ্ধতিত মিশ্ৰণ কৰা হৈছে পৰম্পৰা পদ্ধতিত কেনেকে মিশ্ৰণ কৰা হৈছে কাৰণ কি আমি দেখিম তেতিয়া কি কৰে তেওঁলোকে কিবা অনুষ্ঠান প্ৰতিষ্ঠান নাই বা গাঁওখনত কিবা যদি বিশেষ কিবা মানে পৰম্পৰাগত কিবা যদি উৎসৱ পাৰ্বণত হয় তেতিয়া কিন্তু তেওঁলোকে তাতে অৰ্থনৈতিক লাভৰ কথা নাচায় যাৰ সম্পদ বেছি তেওঁলোকে কি কয় দি দিয়ে দান দিয়ে হয়তো তেওঁ এটা গিফট হিচাপে দিলে নাই বা তেওঁ এখিনি বস্তু চাউল দান দিলে হেৰি সমাজৰ গতিকে এনেকুৱাও যে আছে যে একেবাৰে যে সেই পৰম্পৰা নোহোৱা হৈ গৈছে মানুহৰ মাজত সব মানুহে যে অৰ্থনৈতিক লাভৰ কাৰণে চিন্তা কৰিব সেইটো নহয় অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰৰ নতুন প্ৰণালীৰ সৈতে মানে পৰম্পৰাগত প্ৰণালী এটা সংমিশ্ৰণ হৈ নতুন এটা দিগন্তলৈ আগবাঢ়ি গৈছে নতুন প্ৰণালীবিলাক পৰিৱৰ্তন হৈছে মানুহে আজিকালি আগৰ নিচিনাকে নি দিব নোৱাৰে হয়তো এতিয়া মানে মানি মাইণ্ডেড হৈছে কিন্তু তাৰ লগতে কিন্তু এইটো আমি চাব লাগিব যে সহায় সহযোগিতাটো আছে যেতিয়া বিপদ আপদ হলে তেতিয়া সহায় কৰে যেতিয়া মানে সমাজখনত দৰকাৰ হল আকাল পৰিল তেতিয়া কিন্তু সহায় কৰা আমি দেখা পোৱা যায় লগতে আমি এইটো দেখা পাইছো যে প্ৰযুক্তিবিদ্যাৰ উদ্ভাৱনৰ বাবে বাহ্যিক প্ৰভাৱৰ মধ্যস্থ হিচাপে কাম কৰে যেনেকে এতিয়া আমি যদি চাওঁ অনলাইন বিজনেস আৰম্ভ হৈছে মানুহে আগৰ নিচিনা যে দোকানত বস্তু বিক্ৰী কৰে কিন্তু তাৰ লগতে কিন্তু এতিয়া কি হৈছে মানুহে বজাৰলৈ নাযায় ঘৰতে বহি তেওঁলোকে মানে অনলাইন তেওঁলোকে মাৰ্কেটিং কৰিব অনলাইন তেওঁলোকে বিজনেস কৰিব এইবিলাক ধৰণৰ নতুন প্ৰযুক্তিবিদ্যাৰ প্ৰভাৱত হৈছে পৰম্পৰাগত আছে এতিয়াও যে দোকান উঠি গৈছে মই এইটো ক'ব বিচাৰ নাই এতিয়াও কিন্তু আছে দোকান কি তাৰ লগতে তেওঁলোকৰ যোনটো মানে এক্সচেঞ্জৰ যোনটো মানে হেৰিটো মানে যোনটো কেনেকে তেওঁলোকে এক্সচেঞ্জ কৰে বস্তুখিনি তাৰ বহু পৰিমাণে পৰিৱৰ্তন হৈছে যেনেকে এতিয়া কি হৈছে মানুহৰ হাতত যদি পইচা নাথাকিলে কেশলেছ যোনটো মানে আজিকালি ট্ৰেডিশন যোনটো মানে গুগল পে হওক এয়া হওক এতিয়া মানুহে কি কৰিছে হেনেকে ধৰণে তেওঁলোকে বিনিময় প্ৰথা আৰম্ভ কৰিছে এক্সচেঞ্জো হেনেকে কৰিছে আগততো পইচা দিছিলে এতিয়া পইচা নাথাকিলেও নাই মানুহে অনলাইন পে কৰি দিয়ে গতিকে তাতে কিমানখিনি পৰিৱৰ্তন হৈ আছে সমাজত মানে সমাজত সময় যোৱাৰ লগে লগে তাতে বহুতখিনি সমাজত পৰিৱৰ্তন আহিছে সমাজত পৰম্পৰা পদ্ধতিত বহুতখিনি পৰিৱৰ্তন হোৱা আমি দেখা পাইছো বহল প্ৰভাৱ অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে নৃতাত্ত্বিক দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা বিচ্ছিন্ন সত্তা নহয় কিন্তু সামাজিক সাংস্কৃতিক আৰু পাৰস্পৰিক সম্পৰ্কৰ এক অন্তঃসংযোজিত জালত অংশ বুলি হিচাপে আমি ধৰিব পাৰো অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠান নৃতাত্ত্বিক দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা আমি কেতিয়াও তাক বেলেগ ধৰিব নোৱাৰো কাৰণ কি যেতিয়া অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহ সমাজত বসবাস কৰে সমাজত বসবাস কৰাৰ লগে লগে সেই অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহত কিন্তু কিছুমান সংস্কৃতি জড়িত হৈ আছে কিছু পৰম্পৰা জড়িত হৈ আছে যেনেকে আমি যদি বিনিময় প্ৰথাটোৰ কথাই কলো যোনটো এতিয়াও বৰ্তমান মানে এটা জায়গাত এদিনৰ কাৰণে হলো মানে চেৰিমনিয়েল এক্সচেঞ্জ হিচাপেও মানে এইটো পাতি আহিছে যেনেকে মৰিগাঁও ডিস্ট্ৰিক্টত এতিয়াও মানে বিহু দিনাখন এইটো পৰম্পৰা চলি আছে সময়টো হেনেকুৱাই হৈছিলে বস্তুৰ বস্তু কিন্তু এতিয়া কি হৈছিলে সেইটো পৰম্পৰা এইটো ট্ৰেডিশন এতিয়াও কিন্তু চলি আছে গতিকে সেই ট্ৰেডিশনটো যদিও মানে সময়ৰ লগত চেঞ্জ হৈছে সময়ৰ লগত যদিও মানে নতুন কথা আহি গৈছে নতুনত্ব আহিছে কিন্তু তেতিয়াও কিন্তু মানুহে সেইখিনি বস্তু পাহৰি যোৱা নাই এতিয়াও কিন্তু তাৰ লগত কিছুমান কালচাৰেল কথা জড়িত হৈছে যেনেকে সেইদিনাখন যোনদিনাখন মানে এক্সচেঞ্জ হয় তাখিনি সময়ত মানে আহি পেলাই গুহাৰজা আহি পেলাই তেওঁলোকে মানে সেই পৰম্পৰাটো আৰম্ভ কৰে গতিকে এটা ৰাজ দৰবাৰ বহে গতিকে তাতে কিন্তু এটা ইলাবৰেট মানে এটা কালচাৰ আৰু ট্ৰেডিশন এণ্ড নৰ্মছ তাতে জড়িত হৈ আছে গতিকে সেইটোৱে অকল যে মানে আমি মানে অকল মানে বস্তু আহৰণ কৰাৰ লগতে নহয় তাতে বহুতখিনি কথা জড়িত হৈ আছে আৰু পাৰস্পৰিক সম্পৰ্ক প্ৰথম কথাটো সেইটো এটা গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ কথা যে মই অলপ আগত ক'লো যে মানে অৰ্থনৈতিক লাভৰ কাৰণে আগত চিন্তা কৰা নাছিল আগত কি হৈছিল কাবা কোনবাই সহায় কৰিলে তাৰ বিনিময় তেওঁলোকে বস্তু বিচাৰা নাছিল যে এখিনি মই সহায় কৰি দিলো তাৰ বিনিময় মোক এখিনি বস্তু লাগিব এখিনি মোক পইচাই লাগিব যে পইচাৰ বিনিময় মানুহে পইচাই লয় কিন্তু মানে যেনেকে এসময় যেতিয়া চাউলৰ বিনিময় তেওঁলোকে চাউলে লৈছিল কিন্তু কেতিয়াবা কি হৈছিল তেওঁলোকে নিস্বাৰ্থভাৱে সহায় কৰিছিলে গতিকে পাৰস্পৰিক সম্পৰ্কৰ ওপৰত সদায় গুৰুত্ব দিছিলে সমাজে যাতে মানে মানুহখিনি মিলি থাকে যাতে তেওঁলোকে ইজনে সিজনক সহায় সহযোগিতা থাকে যাতে তেওঁলোকে পাহৰি নাযায় গ্ৰাম্য অঞ্চলত আমি দেখা পাওঁ কি হয় যে ইজনে সিজনক সহায় সহযোগিতাৰ ওপৰত সদায় গুৰুত্ব দিয়ে তেওঁলোকে অৰ্থনৈতিক লাভৰ বাবে চিন্তা নকৰে কিন্তু ঠিক তেনেদৰে এতিয়া বৰ্তমান সময়ত সবখিনি মেটেৰিয়েলিষ্টিক সবেখিনি ব্যক্তিকেন্দ্ৰিক হয় কোনো মানে বিনা মানে এনেই কোনো নিদিয়ে বস্তুটো দিব পাৰে কেতিয়াবা কিবা কাৰণে কিন্তু তাৰ বিনিময় সদায় মানুহে বিচাৰে গতিকে যোনটো পাৰস্পৰিক সম্পৰ্কৰ মানে মিলাই ৰাখিবলৈ যদি শক্তিশালী কৰিবলৈ কিন্তু বহু সময়ত কিন্তু এই অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰে কাম কৰে যেনেকে মই উদাহৰণ দিছিলো অলপ আগতে যেনেকে সময়ত যেতিয়া কি হৈছিল চিকাৰ সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ লোকসকলে চিকাৰ কৰিছিল আৰু তেওঁলোকে অস্ত্ৰ বনোৱা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ লোকৰ পৰা তেওঁলোকে অস্ত্ৰসমূহ লৈছিল গতিকে সেইটো প্ৰচেছত যাওঁতে কি হৈছিল তেওঁলোকৰ মাজত এটা ভাল সম্পৰ্ক জড়িত হৈ গৈছিল ঠিক তেনেদৰে এটা কাবাৰ ঘৰ যদি মানে এতিয়া বৰ্তমান সময়ত আমি দেখা পাওঁ কাবাৰ যদি মানে বিয়াজ বাৰু যেতিয়া কি হয় মানুহে যেতিয়া গিফট দিয়ে সেই তাৰ বিয়াত এইখিনি বস্তু দি পইচা দি সহায় কৰিলে নাইবা শ্ৰম দি হলেও সহায় কৰিলে কিবা গিফটে দিলে তেতিয়া কি হয় তেওঁ সেইখিনি বস্তু মানে পইচা দি কিনি নলয় তেওঁ কি কৰিব তেওঁ কি তাৰ বদলি তেওঁ কিবা এটা মানে অন্য বস্তু হয়তো দিব তেওঁ যেতিয়া দৰকাৰ হ'ব গতিকে অকল যে মানে সব বস্তুত যে মানে অকল অৰ্থনৈতিক লাভৰ জড়িত হৈ আছে এইটো আমি ক'ব নোৱাৰো তাৰ লগত কিন্তু কিছু কথা জড়িত হৈ আছে অন্য কথা যেনেকে খেতি পথাৰৰ লগত খেতি কৰাৰ লগতে যোনটো আমি ধান চপোৱাৰ ধান কাটা তাৰপিছত যেতিয়া আমি মানে বিতৰণ কৰো তাতে কিন্তু প্ৰত্যেকটো কথাতে একোটা মানে পৰম্পৰা জড়িত হৈ আছে ধান যেতিয়া কাটি আনিব ধান কটাৰ সময়ত কিছু পৰম্পৰা আছে আকৌ ধান ৰোৱাৰ সময়ত কিছু পৰম্পৰা আছে গতিকে সেই উৎপাদন কৰাৰ পিছত যেতিয়া সেইখিনি বস্তু বিতৰণ কৰিব তাতো তেওঁলোকৰ কিছু পৰম্পৰা আছে গতিকে প্ৰত্যেকটো কথাতে কিন্তু কিছু ট্ৰেডিশন জড়িত হৈ আছে তেওঁলোকে প্ৰকাশ কৰে যে সমাজে কেনেদৰে প্ৰতিযোগিতা সহযোগিতা স্থিৰতা বা ব্যক্তিবাদৰ দৰে মূল্যবোধক অগ্ৰাধিকাৰ দিয়ে গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহত আমি দেখা পাওঁ ব্যক্তিকেন্দ্ৰিক এতিয়া যোনটো বৰ্তমান প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহত সেইবিলাকত সদায় মানে কি হয় ব্যক্তিবাদৰ দৰে মানে মূল্যবোধৰ ওপৰত গুৰুত্ব দিয়ে তেতিয়া ইকনমিক ইণ্ডিপেণ্ডেন্টৰ ওপৰত ইকনমিক্যালি মানে যেতিয়া কি হয় ইকনমিক্যালি তেওঁলোকে ভাবে কি নিজৰ ব্যক্তিকেন্দ্ৰিকটো আহি যায় ইয়াতে কি হয় প্ৰতিযোগিতা আছে যেনেকে আমি উদাহৰণ স্বৰূপে যদি আমি এটা বিজনেছৰ কথাই কলো যেতিয়া 10 জন মানুহ বিজনেছ কৰিছে তেওঁলোকৰ মাজত কম্পিটিশন থাকিব সহযোগিতা থাকিব কিন্তু প্ৰতিযোগিতাও থাকিব আৰু তাতে ব্যক্তিবাদ মূল্যবোধৰ সদায় তেওঁলোকে আগস্থান দিয়ে যে এইখিনি বস্তু মই বিক্ৰী কৰি এইখিনি বস্তু পাবই লাগিব এইখিনি বস্তু ধান বিক্ৰী কৰি মই ইমানখিনি পইচা পাবই লাগিব গতিকে তাতে সহযোগিতাও আছে কিন্তু প্ৰতিযোগিতাও আছে কম্পিটিশনো থকা আমি দেখা পাওঁ বিভিন্ন সংস্কৃতিত অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠান অধ্যয়ন কৰিলে নৃতত্ত্ববিদসকলে সময় আৰু স্থানৰ মানৱ অভিযোজন স্থিতিস্থাপকতা আৰু বৈচিত্ৰ্য বুজাত সহায় কৰে এইটো এটা গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ কথা যে বিভিন্ন সংস্কৃতিত অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহ যেতিয়া আমি অধ্যয়ন কৰিব যাওঁ তেতিয়া আমি দেখা পাম বিভিন্ন বৈচিত্ৰ্য দেখা পাম বৈচিত্ৰ্যময় আমাৰ পৃথিৱীত বিভিন্ন ধৰণৰ বিভিন্ন ধৰণৰ শিকাৰ কৰা কৌশলে হওক নাইবা জীৱিকাৰ বিভিন্ন কৌশলে হওক সেই কৌশলসমূহ বেলেগ গতিকে আমি যদি অধ্যয়ন কৰি চাওঁ তেতিয়া আমি দেখা পাম মানে ইমান বৈচিত্ৰ্যময় আছে যে শিকাৰ কৰাৰ কাৰণে তেওঁলোকে বেলেগ পদ্ধতি ব্যৱহাৰ কৰিলে খেতি কৰাৰ কাৰণে বেলেগ নিয়ম আছে নাইবা দোকান এখন খুলিবলৈ এতিয়া যদি আধুনিক যুগতে আমি কলো যে বেলেগ এখন ঠাই মানুহ ইয়াতে দোকান খুলিলে তেওঁ কিছুমান নিয়মৰ মাজেৰে চলিব লাগিব তেওঁ কি এতিয়া আমাৰ ইয়াৰ মানুহ যদি বেলেগ ঠাইত গৈ পেলাই তেওঁটো ডাইৰেক্ট এখন মানে বিজনেছ কৰিব নোৱাৰিব নাইবা তেওঁ পটকে দোকান কৰিব নোৱাৰিব তেওঁ কিছুমান তাতে নিয়ম মানি চলিব লাগিব গতিকে সেইটো এটা কথা জড়িত হৈ আছে তেওঁ কিছুমান মানে নিয়মৰ মাজেৰে চলিব লাগিব আৰু ঠিক তেনেদৰে প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে মানে উৎপাদন বিতৰণ আৰু মানে গ্ৰহণৰ যোনটো মানে ব্যৱস্থা কনজামচনৰ যোনটো মানে প্ৰথা সেইটো বেলেগ কিছু সমাজত আমি দেখা পাম মানে তেওঁলোকৰ সমাজত ধৰি লওক আমি দেখিলো মানে তেওঁলোকে সদায় ব্যক্তিকেন্দ্ৰিক নহয় আৰু কিছু সমাজত দেখিলো তেওঁলোকৰ মানে সদায় সমাজৰ হতে একেলগে গৈ পেলাই কাম কৰে বিতৰণ ব্যৱস্থাটো বেলেগ ধৰণৰ গতিকে সমাজভেদে বেলেগ আছে যেনেকে সময়ত মানে কৰ লোৱাৰ কাৰণে কি কৰিছিলে ৰজাই তেওঁলোকে প্ৰত্যেক ৰাজ্যৰ পৰা তেওঁলোকে ধান লৈছিলে ধান চাউল এইবিলাক কৰ হিচাপে লৈছিলে কিন্তু পিছত গৈ কি হ'ল কোন গহনা লৈছিলে কোন ৰূপ লৈছিলে কিন্তু পিছত এতিয়া পইচা লয় যে চৰকাৰে গতিকে সময় গৈ যোৱাৰ লগে লগে মানে ইয়াৰ যোনটো ডিস্ট্ৰিবিউশন যোনটো কনজাম্পশন সেইখিনি প্ৰথা বদলি গৈছে কিন্তু প্ৰথাটো চলি আছে সেই প্ৰথাই চলি আছে কিন্তু তাৰ নিয়মবিলাক বেলেগ বেলেগ প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে তাৰ মানে দিশটো বেলেগ বেলেগ এই দৃষ্টিভংগীয়ে গুৰুত্ব আৰোপ কৰে যে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰণালীবোৰ কেৱল সম্পদ সৃষ্টিৰ বিষয়ে নহয় কিন্তু এটা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ সাংস্কৃতিক আৰু সামাজিক গাঁথনিক বজাই ৰখাটো সহায় কৰে গতিকে আমি ইয়াৰ পৰা এইটো কথা ক'ব পাৰো যে অৰ্থনৈতিক যি মানে প্ৰণালীসমূহ এইবোৰে অকল মানে সম্পদ আহৰণ কৰাকে নুবুজায় যে সম্পদ আহৰণ কৰি ইমানখিনি সম্পদ আহৰণ কৰিলে মানে ইমানখিনি বস্তু পালে সেইটোকে নুবুজায় তাৰ লগত এটা সংস্কৃতিৰ একতাকো বুজায় এই সংস্কৃতিৰ সমন্বয়কো বুজায় এটা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ এটা বিশেষ সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ যিটো সংস্কৃতি সেই সংস্কৃতিটো ৰিপ্ৰেজেন্ট কৰে যেনেকৈ আমি মাছ মৰা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ কথাই ক'লো মাছ মৰা সম্প্ৰদায়সকলে যেতিয়া তেওঁলোকে মাছ মৰাৰ প্ৰচেষ্টাত আগবাঢ়িব তেতিয়া কি হয় তেওঁলোকে কিছুমান পৰম্পৰা ফলো কৰে তেওঁলোকে কিছুমান নিয়ম কানুন আচাৰ ব্যৱহাৰ তেওঁলোকে কিছুমান মানি চলে মাছ মৰাৰ লগত আছে বিতৰণৰ লগত নিয়ম আছে সেই নিয়মসমূহ তেওঁলোকে মানি চলিছে গতিকে আমি সেই মাছ মৰা সম্প্ৰদায় তেওঁলোকৰ জীৱিকাৰ লগত জড়িত আছে আৰু সেই জীৱিকাই তেওঁলোকৰ গোটেই মানে হেৰিটো সমাজ ব্যৱস্থাটো দাঙি ধৰিছে ঠিক তেনেদৰে আমি গাখীৰ উৎপাদন কৰা যদি আমি সমাজত নেপালী সম্প্ৰদায় যদি আমি চাওঁ বিশেষকৈ গাখীৰ উৎপাদন তেওঁলোকৰ সমাজত খুবেই বেছি গতিকে আমি যদি সেনেকে অধ্যয়ন কৰিব যাওঁ তেতিয়া দেখা পাম তাতে কিছুমান নিয়ম আছে তাতে কিছুমান মানে ডিস্ট্ৰিবিউশন হেতু বেলেগ গাখীৰ তেওঁলোকে কেনেকৈ উৎপাদন কৰি কেনেকৈ বিতৰণ কৰিছে এই বিতৰণ ব্যৱস্থা বেলেগ হ'ব আৰু সেই বিতৰণ ব্যৱস্থাত কিছুমান পৰম্পৰা জড়িত হৈ থাকিব গতিকে সমাজ ভেদে বেলেগ বেলেগ আৰু সামাজিক গাঁথনিটো কিনো বুজায় যেনেকৈ এসময়ত খেতি কৰিতে যোন মালিক থাকে যেনেকৈ জমিদাৰ থাকে জমিদাৰৰ খেতি মানে তলত কাম কৰা লোকসকলে জমিদাৰসকলৰ মানে মাটিত কাম কৰে গতিকে তাৰে এটা সৰভাগ জমিদাৰে পায় আৰু তাৰ মানে সৰু সৰু ভাগসমূহ যোনে কাম কৰে তেওঁলোকে পায় গতিকে তাতে কি হয় এই সম্পদে কিন্তু ধনী দুখীয়া তাৰ সেইটো কিন্তু নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰে তাৰ লগতে সমাজ ব্যৱস্থাটো নিৰ্ধাৰণ কৰে যেনেকৈ এসময়ত মই যোনটো জমিদাৰী প্ৰথা আছিল জমিদাৰী প্ৰথাত কেনেকুৱা আছিল যাৰ জমি বেছি সিয়ে জমিদাৰ বুলি জমিদাৰ অৰ্থটো হৈছে যাৰ জমিনৰ ওপৰত অধিকাৰ বেছি আৰু যাৰ বৃহৎ সংখ্যক জমি মানে মাটি আছিল গতিকে তেতিয়া কি হয় মানে যাৰ মাটি বেছিকে আছে তেওঁলোকে মাটি মানে সম্পদৰ বেছিকে গৰাকী হয় আৰু ঠিক তেনেদৰে তেওঁলোকৰ সমাজখনত তেওঁলোকৰ এটা বেলেগ ধৰণৰ স্থান থাকে সামাজিক গাঁথনি সেইখিনি ধৰণৰ দাঙি ধৰে সামাজিক গাঁথনিটো কেনেকুৱা গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহে সমাজখনৰ মানে গোটেই মূল ধাৰাটো আমাক বুজায় সমাজখন কেনেকৈ চলি আহিছে সমাজত যিবিলাক পৰম্পৰাগত নিয়ম পদ্ধতি আছে সেই পদ্ধতিসমূহ দাঙি ধৰে আমাক কেনেকৈ চলি আহিছে কিমান নিয়মত আৰু সেই পদ্ধতিসমূহ হয়তো সময়ৰ লগে লগে পৰিৱৰ্তন হ'ব সেই পদ্ধতি যে একেই থাকিব কিন্তু সেই গোটেই পদ্ধতিটো কিন্তু প্ৰডাকশ্যন কনজাম্পশ্যন ডিস্ট্ৰিবিউশনতে সীমাবদ্ধ থাকে উৎপাদন তাৰপিছত সংগ্ৰহ তাৰপিছত আকৌ বিতৰণ সেই গোটেইখিনি বস্তু কিন্তু সেই প্ৰচেছটো প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে চলি আহিছে আৰু প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে হয়তো বেলেগ হ'ব পাৰে তাৰ প্ৰণালী বেলেগ হ'ব পাৰে এখন সমাজত যিখিনি বস্তু আছে সেইখিনি বস্তু অন্য এটা সমাজত বেলেগ হ'ব কিন্তু প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে কিন্তু তাৰ একোটা বিশেষ মানে ভূমিকা আছে আৰু সেইটো আমি কেতিয়াও নুই কৰিব নোৱাৰো গতিকে যেনেকৈ মই কৈছিলোঁ যে কোলা পৰম্পৰাটো তো আন্দামান আইলেণ্ডৰ মানে দ্বীপপুঞ্জৰ লোকসকলৰ মাজত মেৰিনোস্কি এইটো পাইছিল য'ত মানে কি হয় তেওঁলোকে এটা মানে এক্সচেঞ্জ কৰে ব্ৰেচলেট আৰু নেকলেছ তেওঁলোকে মানে এক্সচেঞ্জ কৰে আৰু এইটো কি হয় যাৰ হাতত আছে দুটা বস্তু তেওঁলোকে সাধাৰণতে কি হয় শক্তিশালী বুলি ধৰা যায় সেইখিনি বস্তু সেইখিনি সময় তেওঁলোকৰ হাতত এই বস্তুটো সম্পদটো আছে যেতিয়াই নাই তেওঁলোকৰ হাতত এইখিনি মানে পাৱাৰ নাথাকে গতিকে সেইটো আমাক কি বুজাইছে যে সেইখিনি বস্তু আছে সেইখিনি সময়ৰ কাৰণে তেওঁৰ হাতত সেইখিনি শক্তি আছে নাইবা তেওঁ মানে পাৱাৰফুল হৈ যায় আৰু গতিকে এইটো কোলা ৰিং বুলি কয় গতিকে সেই বস্তুটো অকল অৰ্থনৈতিকভাৱে নহয় সামাজিক আৰু ৰাজনৈতিকভাৱেও তেওঁ সেই ব্যক্তিজনক নাইবা সেই পৰিয়ালটোক মানে শক্তিশালী বুলি ধৰে সেই সময়খিনিৰ কাৰণে। কাৰণ কি তেওঁলোকৰ মাজত সেইখিনি বস্তু আছে, কাৰণে সেইখিনি তেওঁলোকক শক্তিশালী বুলি ধৰে। গতিকে এইটো এটা ৰিং যোনটো চলি থাকে, যোনটো সমাজত ঘূৰি আছে, যে এজন ব্যক্তিৰ পৰা অন্য ব্যক্তিৰ পৰা এজন বেলেগ ব্যক্তিলৈ। গতিকে সেইটো প্ৰথাটো চলি সমাজত আগৰ পৰাই চলি আছে, যোনটো আমি সমাজত দেখি আহিছো। গতিকে এই প্ৰথাটো মানে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহ সমাজত কিন্তু এক বিশেষ স্থান আছে আৰু বিশেষ ভূমিকা আছে, আৰু এই ভূমিকাৰ পৰাই আমি কিন্তু সমাজখনৰ সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ সংস্কৃতিটো আমি দাঙি ধৰো। যেনেকে মাছ মৰা সম্প্ৰদায়টো কথাটো ক'লো, মাছ মৰা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ লগত তেওঁলোকৰ জীৱিকাৰ কাৰণে তেওঁলোকে কেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ মানে মাছ মৰা কৌশল ব্যৱহাৰ কৰে, আৰু সেই কৌশলটো অন্য মাছ মৰা সম্প্ৰদায়তকে বেলেগ হ'ব। এটা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ এই সম্প্ৰদায়টো যেনেকে ধৰণৰ কৌশল ব্যৱহাৰ কৰিছে অন্য সম্প্ৰদায়তকে বেলেগ হ'ব। ঠিক তেনেদৰে সামাজিক গাঁথনিটো বেলেগ হ'ব, সেই সমাজখনৰ মাছমৰীয়া সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ মানে গাঁথনিটো বেলেগ হ'ব। আমি যদি অসমৰ কথা কওঁ, যদি হীৰা কমিউনিটিৰ কথা ক'লো, হীৰা সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ যদি আমি উদাহৰণ চাওঁ, তেওঁলোকে মাটিৰ মৃৎ শিল্পীৰ লগত জড়িত হৈ আছে, আৰু তাতে কি হয়, তেওঁলোকৰ কিছু পৰম্পৰা আছে, কিছুমান পৰম্পৰা জড়িত হৈ আছে, তেওঁলোকৰ মানে এক বিশেষ ধৰণৰ সংস্কৃতি তাতে জড়িত হৈ আছে, আৰু সেইটো তেওঁলোকৰ মানে অৰ্থনীতিৰ লগত সম্পৰ্ক হৈ আছে। গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানবোৰ সমাজত মানে বিশেষ স্থান আগৰ পৰা লৈ আছে। যেতিয়াৰ পৰাই সমাজত মানে মানুহে জীৱিকাৰ কাৰণে বিভিন্ন যেতিয়া কৌশল ল'ব আৰম্ভ কৰিলে, তেতিয়াৰ পৰাই কিন্তু বিভিন্ন মানে উপায়ৰ জৰিয়তে মানুহে জীয়াই থাকিবলৈ বিভিন্ন কৌশল মানে পদ্ধতি তেওঁলোকে লৈছিল। আৰু সময় যোৱাৰ লগে লগে যেতিয়াবা খেতি কৰা আৰম্ভ কৰিলে, তেওঁলোকে কি কৰিছে, মানুহে খেতি কৰা বিভিন্ন কৌশল লোৱা আৰম্ভ কৰিলে। গতিকে সেই বস্তুখিনি যিখিনি উৎপাদন হ'লে, সেই উৎপাদন বস্তুখিনি যাৰ হাতত বেছিকে আছে তেওঁৱে বেছিকে গৰাকী হৈ গ'ল, আৰু যাৰ হাতত কম আছে তেওঁৰ হাতত কম। সেইখিনি লোকসকলৰ মানে তেওঁলোকৰ পাৱাৰটো কম বুলি ধৰা যায়। গতিকে সমাজত আমি যদি চাওঁ, অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহৰ যোনটো ভূমিকা, সেইটো মানে অত্যন্ত গভীৰ। আৰু সেই দৃষ্টিকোণৰ পৰা চালে আমি এইটো কথাই ক'ব পাৰো যে অকল মানুহৰ মানে খাদ্য, অন্ন, বস্ত্ৰ আৰু বাসস্থানেই কিন্তু প্ৰধান খাদ্য নহয়, তাৰ লগতে কিন্তু মানুহে জীয়াই থাকিবলৈ সমাজত বিভিন্ন সময়ত বিভিন্ন মানে সম্পদৰ জড়িত হয়, সম্পদৰ তেওঁলোকৰ প্ৰয়োজন হয়। অকল অন্ন, বস্ত্ৰ আৰু বাসস্থানৰ তেওঁলোকে সীমিত নাথাকে। গতিকে সেই বস্তুখিনি কাৰ হাতত বেছিকে আছে, অন্য সম্পদ আহৰণ কৰিবলৈ যাওঁতে কি হয়, প্ৰতিযোগিতা আৰম্ভ হৈ যায় মানুহৰ মাজত, যোনটো প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে আমি দেখা পাওঁ যে কাক কিমান বেছি লাগে। এটাই কথাই আছে যে হিউমেন ওৱান্টছ আৰ আনলিমিটেড, মানুহৰ মানে ওৱান্টছ কেতিয়াও শেষ নহ'ব। গতিকে এই যে প্ৰতিযোগিতা, যে সম্পদ আহৰণ কৰা প্ৰতিযোগিতা, সেই প্ৰতিযোগিতাত মানে নামতে কি হয়, কেতিয়াবা আমি দেখা পাওঁ যে কাৰোবাৰ হাতত সম্পদ বেছি হৈ যায়, কাৰোবাৰ হাতত কম হৈ যায়, আৰু সেইটোৱে কিন্তু আমাৰ সমাজখনক মানে ধনী দুখীয়া সেইটোৰ মাজত আমাৰ ডিভাইড কৰি দিয়ে। হাইৰাৰ্কিত আমি ভাগ কৰি দিওঁ মানুহক, ধনী দুখীয়া, মিডিল ক্লাছ, ইনিকুৱেলিটি আমি যে ভাগ কৰি দিওঁ, সেইবিলাক আমি কিহত আধাৰ ভাগ কৰো, আমি সম্পদৰ আধাৰ। আৰু এই সম্পদৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰাটোৱে কিন্তু এটা মানে গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ কথা, যে মানে যোনে সম্পদৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰি ৰাখিছে তেওঁ সেই লোকৰ কিন্তু ৰাজনৈতিকভাৱে আৰু সাংস্কৃতিকভাৱেও মানে খুবেই প্ৰভাৱশালী। যেনেকে মই জমিনদাৰৰ কথা ক'লো, যি সম্পদৰ তেওঁলোকৰ মাটি বহুতখিনি আছে, নাইবা ৰজাৰ কথাই ক'লো, ৰজা এজন, নাইবা অন্য লোক আমাৰ সমাজত যাৰ মাটি সম্পত্তি বেছি, আমি কি কৰো, তেওঁ ধনী বুলি ক'লো, কি আধাৰত ক'লো, কাৰণ সম্পদ তেওঁৰ হাতত বেছি আছে। সম্পদ বেছিকে আছে কাৰণে তেওঁক আমি ধনী নাইবা দুখীয়াৰ শ্ৰেণীত আমি অন্তৰ্ভুক্ত কৰিলো। গতিকে আমি আজি এই ক্লাছত আমি দেখা পালো যে মানে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানৰ গুৰুত্বটো কি হয়, অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানটোৰ সমাজত কেনেকুৱা গুৰুত্ব, কেনেকে সময় যোৱাৰ লগে তাৰ এটা মানে গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ কথা জড়িত হৈ আছে। আমি যে সমাজত প্ৰত্যেকে চব বস্তু আমি উৎপাদন নকৰো। আমাৰ কি হয়, আমি যিসমূহ সম্পদ আমি উৎপাদন কৰো, সেইখিনি সম্পদ হয়তো অন্য লোকে উৎপাদন নকৰিব পাৰে। যেনেকে উদাহৰণস্বৰূপে ঔষধ পাতিটো আমি ঘৰত উৎপাদন নকৰো, আমি তাৰ কাৰণে কিনিব লাগে। গতিকে সেই কিনিবলৈ আমি কি কৰিব লাগিব, আমি মুদ্ৰাৰ জৰিয়তে আমি বস্তুখিনি কিনিব লাগিব, পইচাৰ জৰিয়তে। গতিকে আমাৰ মানে সমাজত যিখিনি বস্তু ডিস্ট্ৰিবিউট কৰা আছে, যিখিনি এক্সচেঞ্জ কৰা আছে, সেইখিনি বস্তু আমি কি কৰিব লাগিব, আমি মানে ল'ব জানিব লাগিব। ল'ম কেনেকে? মুদ্ৰাৰ জৰিয়তে। গতিকে যাৰ হাতত পইচা বেছি, আমি কি কওঁ, তেওঁলোকে বেছিকে আমি মানে মানে ইকনমিকেলি যোনে মানে ষ্টেবল, তেওঁলোকক আমি ধনী বুলি কওঁ, আৰু যাৰ মানে উইক, তেওঁলোকক আমি দুখীয়া বুলি কওঁ। গতিকে এই যে আমাৰ সমাজত ইনইকুৱেলিটি, সেইটো আমাৰ কেনেকে হৈছে? বিকজ অফ আমাৰ ইকনমিক, অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানসমূহে এইটো ভাগ কৰি দিছে। ধনী দুখীয়া সেইখিনি ক্ষেত্ৰত তেওঁলোকে সমাজখনত আমাক মানে ভাগ বতৰা কৰি দিছে, আৰু তাৰ লগতে কিন্তু আমাৰ সমাজ ব্যৱস্থা চলি আছে। এইটো কথা যে এজন ব্যক্তিয়ে যে উৎপাদন বস্তুখিনি কৰিছে, তেওঁ কেনেকে বেচিব, তেওঁ এটা ভাল এটা প্ৰচেছ থাকিব লাগিব। গতিকে যেনেকে কোঅপাৰেটিভ ছ'চাইটি আছিলে, তাতে বস্তুখিনি কি কৰে, এটা মানে এটা ৱেট বিক্ৰী কৰিছিল আগত, যেনেকে গাখীৰ উৎপাদন কৰিছিল গাঁৱে গাঁৱে, সেই গাখীৰখিনি আনি পেলাই এক জেগাত সংগঠন কৰি পেলাই বস্তুখিনি সংগঠিত কৰি পেলাই বস্তুখিনি বিক্ৰী কৰা হয়। গতিকে এটা প্ৰচেছৰ মাজতে যায়। গতিকে আমি প্ৰত্যেক সমাজতে কিন্তু অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানৰ এটা ভূমিকা আছে। সামাজিক যেনেকে প্ৰতিষ্ঠানৰ যেনেকে এটা মানে বিশেষ ৰোল আছে, ঠিক তেনেদৰে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানৰ এটা মানে ভূমিকা আছে, আৰু সেই প্ৰতিষ্ঠানটোৱে সমাজখনত এই যে সম্পদসমূহ মানে ভাগ বতৰা কৰাত সহায় কৰে। হয়তো এই পইচাৰ জৰিয়তে হওক লাগিলে। এজন মানুহে যেতিয়া, ব্যক্তি এজনে যেতিয়া তেওঁ মানে কিবা এটা সম্পদ মানে ক্ৰয় কৰিব যাব, তেতিয়া কি হয়, তেওঁ এইখিনি মিনিমাম এইখিনি পইচা ভিতৰত যে কিনিবলৈ যাব লাগিব। গতিকে এই সম্পদটোৰ এটা নিৰ্ধাৰিত দাম ধৰি দিয়া হয়। আৰু ঠিক তেনেধৰণে আমাৰ পৰিয়ালত যেনেকে কামৰ বিতৰণ, ডিষ্ট্ৰিবিউশ্যন অফ মানে আমি মানে লেবাৰ, ডিভিজন অফ লেবাৰ যেতিয়া আমি ভাগ কৰি দিয়া হয়, যেনেকে এইখিনি কাম কোনে কৰিব লাগিব, সেইটো এটা কিন্তু ইকনমিক ডিষ্ট্ৰিবিউশ্যন বুলি আমি ক'ব পাৰো। কোনে কেনে কাম কৰিব, কোনে এইখিনি কাম কৰিব। গতিকে আমাৰ সমাজত কিন্তু অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানৰ এক বিশেষ ভূমিকা আছে, আৰু সেই ভূমিকাসমূহে সমাজত ধনী দুখীয়া আৰু সম্পদৰ নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰি আহিছে, সম্পদসমূহ বিতৰণ কৰিছে, আৰু আমাক যিখিনি দৰকাৰ, সেইখিনি দৰকাৰৰ বাহিৰে আমাৰ যিখিনি সম্পদ, সেই মানে এক্সেছ বস্তুখিনি কি হয়, ডিষ্ট্ৰিবিউট কৰা হয়, যোনটো প্ৰথা আমাৰ সমাজত আগৰ পৰাই চলি আহিছে। অতীতৰ পৰা আমি দেখা পাওঁ কি হয়, যিখিনি মানে এক্সেছ বস্তুখিনি, যে এক্সেছ ধান হওক, খেতিৰে হওক, অন্য বস্তু, সেইখিনি কি কাৰণে কৰে? কৃষকসকলে খেতি কৰি পেলাই সেইখিনি বিক্ৰী কৰে। চবেইটো বস্তু উৎপাদন কৰিব নোৱাৰিব। গতিকে সেইখিনি বস্তু অন্য লোকসকলে ক্ৰিয়া কৰে, কিনি পেলাই আনি তেওঁলোকে নিজৰ যিখিনি নিজখিনি ফুলফিল কৰে। গতিকে আমাৰ ছ'চাইটিত, আমাৰ সমাজত অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানৰ বিশেষ ভূমিকা আছে, আৰু সেই ভূমিকাখনটোৱে আমাৰ সমাজ ব্যৱস্থা পৰিচালিত কৰিবলৈ সহায় কৰে, সামাজিক আৰু সাংস্কৃতিক সম্প্ৰীতি ৰক্ষা কৰাত চেষ্টা কৰে, আৰু লগতে সমাজখন যাতে সুব্যৱস্থাভাৱে আগবাঢ়ি যায় তাৰ কাৰণে সহায় কৰে। গতিকে অৰ্থনৈতিক প্ৰতিষ্ঠানৰ সমাজত গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ ভূমিকা পালন কৰি আহিছে, বিশেষকৈ সমাজখন সুস্থিৰভাৱে চলাত, সমাজত যাতে মানে ইকুৱেলি ডিষ্ট্ৰিবিউট হয়, তাৰ কাৰণে যথেষ্ট পৰিমাণে সহায় কৰি আহিছে। গতিকে ইমানতে আজি মোৰ ক্লাছটো সামৰি মাৰিলো। নমস্কাৰ।